Upon hearing Zhang Sanfeng's words, Song Yuanqiao and the others' eyes lit up, and they began to look forward to the match. As Ning Changge gradually revealed his extraordinary abilities, they had been pondering this question for a long time. Who was stronger, their master or their junior? Now that Zhang Sanfeng had brought it up, their anticipation was heightened. Ning Changge smiled and seemed eager to give it a try. After stepping on the path of immortal cultivation, he had a rough understanding about his strength, but he had never benchmark from which he could truly measure it clinically. Even if Song Yuanqiao and the others were promoted to the Grandmaster realm, they were still too weak for Ning Changge. "Then, I shall offend you, Master," Ning Changge said with a nod. On the martial arts training ground, Zhang Sanfeng and Ning Changge stood facing each other. One was elderly, and the other was young, both wearing Taoist robes and exuding an aura that set them apart from ordinary people. All the disciples of Wudang watched in excitement. It was a sparring match between their founder and their junior martial uncle, an event that was truly inspiring. These two individuals were undoubtedly the most respected figures in Wudang, and among many of the third-generation disciples, Ning Changge's reputation even surpassed that of Zhang Sanfeng. There was no denying that in the past year, Ning Changge had displayed numerous miraculous abilities, and many people had gradually come to know that the martial arts he practiced were created by his own hand. "Who do you think will have the upper hand?" the third-generation disciples whispered among themselves. Although they didn't dare to voice their opinions openly, Song Yuanqiao and the others had no such reservations. Mo Shenggu's words had piqued their interest. "I think Master has a better chance of winning," Song Yuanqiao hesitated before saying. "Although junior brother is extraordinary, he is still young. Master seems to have gained a lot during his recent seclusion." Song Yuanqiao was the earliest disciple Zhang Sanfeng had accepted, and he held deep affection and admiration for his master. However, Zhang Quizhen shook his head in disagreement. "I'm not so sure. Senior brother, don't forget that junior brother once easily defeated a grandmaster with just a talisman. His strength is at least on par with a transcendent. When two experts like junior brother and master clash, victory or defeat may depend on timing and circumstances. I believe anything is possible." Zhang Quizhen's opinion was more balanced, and the others nodded in agreement. Zhang Songxi smiled and suggested, "Why speculate so much? Let's just watch. Master wants us to observe the battle to gain insight." "Yes, yes." Everyone immediately stopped their discussions and focused their attention on the two figures on the field. A battle between experts at the transcendent level was an extremely rare sight. If one could gain some insights from this face-off, they could deepen their martial foundation. There were numerous precedents in the world where such fights caused the onlookers to gain enlightenment. This was also one of the reasons why people from 9 provinces would immediately flock around a fight between strong individuals. At this moment, Zhang Sanfeng and Ning Changge stood calmly, each with an air of superiority that was undeniable. Zhang Sanfeng smiled and said, "Changge, be careful. This is the unique power of the transcendent realm, the harmony of heaven and earth." Without any hesitation, Zhang Sanfeng made the first move. A thunderous explosion shook the area as he raised his hand, and the martial arts training ground seemed to undergo an instantaneous transformation. The clouds in the sky appeared to move faster, and the air became dense, with a fierce wind starting to howl. Song Yuanqiao and the others couldn't help but feel a sense of oppression, and they instinctively retreated several steps. Even the third-generation disciples, who were closer to the battlefield, had to move back to catch their breath. They realized that just resisting this oppressive force was no easy task for ordinary martial artists. The disciples watched in awe as Zhang Sanfeng unleashed the unique power of the transcendent realm, manipulating the natural forces. They couldn't breathe just from facing it standing on the sidelines. It wasn't easy for ordinary martial artists to face such situations. However, to their surprise, Ning Changge remained calm. He wore a faint smile and didn't even furrow his brow. His Taoist robe fluttered gracefully as if unaffected by the pressure. It was as if he felt no pressure at all. This left Zhang Sanfeng astonished. Ning Changge seemed completely unfazed. Ning Changge had long realized that martial artists couldn't perceive the true nature of spiritual energy. But transcendent-level martial artists could use their martial energy to influence and manipulate spiritual energy, creating phenomena known as the harmony of heaven and earth. For Ning Changge, this was like showing off in front of an amateur. The essence of his cultivation was based on the Tao of spiritual energy manipulation. The so-called harmony of heaven and earth was child's play to him. He could easily generate a much more potent phenomenon. Ning Changge laughed and said, "Master, would you like to experience my spiritual pressure?" He casually waved his hand, and in an instant, an invisible ripple radiated from him. The greenish-blue spiritual energy manifested itself, creating a horrifying vortex of spiritual energy in the sky. The center of the vortex was Zhang Sanfeng. Boom. Song Yuanqiao and the others were unaware of the changes, but Zhang Sanfeng's expression changed drastically. Experts like him would realize when something big was about to take place. Compared with the general phenomenon of heaven and earth of the mortal realms, the immortal spiritual pressure was obviously much more precise, and the effects localized only on Zhang Sanfeng. He felt as if the world around him was turning against him, pressing down on him relentlessly. To resist this oppressive force, he had to use his martial energy. Good. Very good. Zhang Sanfeng's eyes lit up and he couldn't help but laugh heartily. He had become thoroughly interested. Changge, be careful. Let me show you what I've gained during this recent seclusion. Under the pressure of the spiritual energy, Zhang Sanfeng decided to take the initiative. Behind him, a faint Tai Chi diagram could be seen circulating, and the black and white martial energy surged within his body. In an instant, he leaped dozens of feet, pointing a finger lightly. Black and white radiance bloomed as martial energy burst forth, dispelling the overwhelming spiritual pressure exerted by Ning Changge. There was no doubt that Zhang Sanfeng had comprehended the essence of the Tao of Tai Chi. Once perfected, it would mark his ascent to the realm of a land immortal. Ning Changge smiled slightly. He suddenly appeared on the other side of the training ground. This time, it was the Earth Escape technique, part of the 5 elements escaping arts. Except for the Golden Escape technique, Ning Changge had mastered 4 out of the 5 elements and had reached the peak of proficiency. Standing on solid ground, the Earth Escape technique made Ning Changge nearly invincible. However, he too was taken by surprise. The strength of the transcendent Qi was not inferior to his current spiritual power. It truly lived up to being a realm that could correspond to the immortal foundation establishment realm in his deductions. Although martial artists had a short lifespan, the martial energy, formed from the condensation of a person's essence and vitality, was equally powerful. Just that, Ning Changge's strength couldn't be measured by common standards. Regardless of whether it was the verdant immortal technique or numerous magical techniques at his disposal. He firmly believed that even if there were other cultivators, he would unquestionably surpass those of the same level. As Zhang Sanfeng sensed Ning Changge's aura appearing 10 zhang behind him, he was immensely shocked. He dared to affirm that this was absolutely not some kind of body movement technique. It was as if he was traversing space and instantly arriving on the other side. Zhang Sanfeng's gaze grew solemn, his figure darted, and he attacked again. Ning Changge evaded again, his figure appeared on the other side. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The sound of the fierce winds howling filled the air. For a moment, the 2 figures on the field kept changing, leaving Song Yuanqiao and the others utterly dumbfounded. This form of teleportation and rapid movement was simply beyond their belief. Their master's speed was so fast it was absurd, and their junior martial brother seemed to be everywhere all at once. The 3rd-generation disciples watched in fascination. Both of their strengths exceeded the limits of their understanding, and they could only see countless afterimages flashing on the field, as if the master was chasing the junior martial brother in a flicker, and then it seemed like the junior martial brother was chasing, and the master was flickering. Everyone's eyes darted around, afraid of missing any details. The black and white transcendent Qi of Zhang Sanfeng made their hair stand on end, and Ning Changge's surging green spiritual energy also stole their concentration. Suddenly, the residual images on the field slowly dissipated, and Ning Changge looked at Zhang Sanfeng, who was staring at him without a word. A sly smile appeared, and he thought that if he kept playing like this, he might end up in a real duel in the end. Ning Changge's gaze gradually turned serious. "Master, I have comprehended a sword manipulation technique. I would like you to evaluate it." Zhang Sanfeng was about to speak when his pupils suddenly constricted. Everyone watched in shock as Ning Changge opened his mouth, and a fiery red glint shot out from it, instantly transforming into a spinning, fiery red spirit sword. The sword is named Xianxia, and it's crafted by your disciple from a naturally born sword embryo. "Master, please be careful," Ning Changge said with a serious expression. Song Yuanqiao and the others were all amazed. Such a method was beyond belief. To spit out a flying sword from one's mouth was like witnessing a myth coming to life. The third-generation disciples stared with wide-open mouths, hardly believing their eyes. Zhang Sanfeng's expression was equally unprecedentedly serious. A good sword? With his knowledge, he could fully sense the terrifying nature of this spirit sword. What was typically referred to as divine weapons in the martial world couldn't hold a candle to it. Especially the sword's surging radiance, its edge peerless, made it unmatched even by legendary swordsmen. Previously, he thought that his disciples' advantage in the cultivation of the immortal path lay in longevity, with other aspects not necessarily being strong. But now it seemed that their combat ability was also top-notch. Zhang Sanfeng became exceptionally focused. He exerted his legs, and his hands traced a profound trajectory, while the black and white celestial chi spun, forming a faintly visible Tai Chi diagram. Everyone became excited. It was apparent that their junior martial uncle and master were about to decide the outcome in a single move. Ning Changge pinched a sword seal. The previously spinning Xianxia sword abruptly stopped, and its edge surged. In the next moment, it transformed into a streak of crimson spiritual light, slashing towards Zhang Sanfeng. Its speed was inconceivable. In an instant, it launched dozens, if not hundreds, of strikes. The red spiritual light interwove like a heavenly net, continuously slashing around Zhang Sanfeng. Ding, 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 ding. Clanging sounds rang out incessantly, as if metal was clashing, the red spiritual light and the black and white celestial chi intertwining. Zhang Sanfeng's expression grew solemn. He stood in place, using stillness to control motion, exhibiting formidable defensive capabilities. The black and white Tai Chi seemed like a tangible entity, impervious to any of the flying sword's strikes. He was immensely shocked. Although it seemed like he was dealing with it easily, only he was fully aware of the true power of the flying sword. Ordinary Grandmaster-level figures would hardly withstand a single strike. If he hadn't gained insight during his recent seclusion and deepened his understanding of the Tai Chi way, this battle wouldn't have been this effortless. Everyone's breath seemed to freeze. Ning Changge's sword manipulation technique was simply terrifying, unlike any swordsmanship seen in the martial world. The spirit sword acted like an extension of Ning Changge's body, as agile as a fish, spinning and slashing, occasionally splitting into sword shadows. I've heard of swordsmen like Ximen Chuixu and Yi Gacheng controlling swords with their chi, but compared to your sword manipulation technique, I'm afraid they are far inferior, Song Yuanqiao and the others exclaimed. They had attended several competitions in the Divine Sword Villa, but they had never seen swordsmanship that was similar to Ning Changge's. This was the first time he was facing against someone from the transcendent realm. Whether it was the grand-scale power of the world, as we saw earlier, or Zhang Sanfeng's manipulation of spiritual energy to form a Tai Chi diagram now. It all indicated that in martial cultivation, when you reach a certain level, you can also utilize spiritual energy. The difference lies in how you use it compared to the immortal path. It seems my previous knowledge was too shallow, Ning Changge thought to himself. After this sparring, he realized that even though martial experts couldn't refine spiritual energy, they could harness it. It was no wonder that starting from the transcendent realm, martial experts had greatly enhanced destructive power, and could even split a river with one sword or cleave mountains with another. In essence, it was still related to spiritual energy. However, martial cultivation involved using their internal celestial chi to manipulate spiritual energy. Ning Changge, on the other hand, directly refined spiritual energy, so these two methods couldn't be directly compared. Ning Changge understood it thoroughly. In simpler terms, martial cultivation at an advanced level was what they referred to as connecting with the powers of heaven and earth to amplify their own strength. Immortal cultivation, on the other hand, was directly refining the powers of heaven and earth. The former was like wearing armor, enhancing and enlarging one's strength, while the latter was about self-strengthening. The merits and demerits were clear without saying much. But for me, this is actually a good thing. In the future, I'll spar with more individuals in the transcendent realm and even earthly immortals. Naturally, I'll gain more insights, Ning Changge smiled. This exchange was a great benefit for him. He felt that there were countless rays of inspiration flashing before him. Zhang Sanfeng's Tai Chi philosophy amazed him. His thoughts changed course. Ning Changge pinched his sword seal, and the spirit sword flew back and rotated slowly by his side. Disciple has one more sword technique, named Wood Element Azure Dragon Sword Chi. Zhang Sanfeng, who had just relaxed a bit, was suddenly surprised. He immediately focused his full attention, and the black and white celestial chi surged, with a powerful wind howling around him. Everyone's eyes were fixed, eagerly anticipating Ning Changge's next sword technique. This was especially true for Song Yuanqiao and the others, as they had used the Qianho Vermilion Bird Sword Chi once with the power of talismans on Song Mountain. Now, they were naturally curious about the might of this other sword chi. Ning Changge's expression remained calm, like a tranquil pool. He pinched the sword seal. The art of controlling a sword had the advantage of flexibility and endurance. However, this wood element dragon sword chi emphasized overwhelming and fierce power. Boom! In an instant, Xianxia soared into the sky, turning into a crimson pillar of light that connected to the heavens and earth. Then, from within that pillar of light, terrifying crimson sword chi shot out, taking the form of the vermilion bird. Zhang Sanfeng felt an unprecedented pressure, despite being in the transcendent realm. In the transcendent realm, there were 9 levels. He had already reached the peak of the transcendent realm, but in the face of this formidable Qianho Vermilion Bird Sword Chi, he felt immense pressure. Tai Kai splits into 2. Zhang Sanfeng used his sword for the first time. Martial energy gushed out of him, and the Tai Kai sword gently swung. The Tai Kai diagram instantly expanded, facing the overwhelming Qianho Vermilion Bird Sword Chi. Bang, 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 bang. The dense sound of collisions reverberated across the sky. The sword light and martial energy were dazzling, forcing Song Yuanqiao and the others to close their eyes. Their hearts were filled with shock, listening to the deafening clashes as if the end of the world had come. After a while, the radiance gradually dissipated. Song Yuanqiao and the others eagerly looked towards the field. To their surprise, Ning Changge had already arrived in front of Zhang Sanfeng. He supported Zhang Sanfeng, and master and disciple walked away together, talking and laughing, leaving everyone baffled. Zhang Quizin and Song Yuanqiao exchanged glances. "Who do you think won?" Zhang Quizin asked. "I can't tell. If both grandmasters couldn't figure it out, how could we?" Song Yuanqiao replied. The others scratched their heads. If their master didn't speak, they didn't dare to ask. "You 2 grandmasters can't figure it out, so we're even more clueless," Mo Shengu said in a calm voice. "But I can't help but feel that junior disciple seems to have a slight advantage. Did you notice that he was supporting the master just now? It seems the master's strength was somewhat depleted." He had gauged this from Ning Changge and Zhang Sanfeng's performances. The others were dumbfounded. Then their eyes filled with amazement. Does that mean junior disciple has surpassed the master? Junior disciple is now the top martial artist at Wudang. The 3rd-generation disciple's eyes were filled with admiration and enthusiasm. On the 2nd floor of the scripture library, Zhang Sanfeng received the spirit tea prepared by Ning Changge and looked at him with a mix of surprise and delight. "Changge, master is getting old," he said. As Mo Shengu thought, their previous spar was a close match, but technically speaking, Ning Changge had a slight advantage. Zhang Sanfeng's Tai Kai defense was impeccable, but he couldn't withstand Ning Changge's overwhelming spiritual power and ferocious sword energy attacks. After a short while of continuous strikes, Ning Changge voluntarily withdrew his red heaven sword. After all, Zhang Sanfeng was his beloved master, not an enemy that he had to fight to death. Through this exchange, Ning Changge also gained a better understanding of his own combat abilities. He was undoubtedly one of the top experts among the Transcendent Realm Masters. As for the land immortals, he hadn't encountered any yet, so he couldn't say for sure. However, the spar with his master was just that, a friendly exchange. So many of their techniques and skills were left unused. Hearing Zhang Sanfeng's sigh, Ning Changge chuckled. "Master, you're only in your prime, how can you call yourself old? If you hadn't gone easy on me, I probably wouldn't have performed so well." Zhang Sanfeng took a sip of the spirit tea, feeling the fragrance on his lips and teeth. He had sensed that his slightly tired spirit was revitalized. "Good tea!" he exclaimed. This tea came from a part of the Wudang's backyard where Ning Changge had found and cultivated some spirit tea leaves. He had been researching how to grow spirit tea, as it had a calming and concentrating effect, making it a precious treasure. "You rascal, you just gave your master a good thrashing, and now you think you can get away with it by offering some good tea." Zhang Sanfeng laughed heartily. "I'll need enough to last for several months at least." Ning Changge smiled and said, "Don't worry, master. I will cultivate this spiritual tea in a while and will take care of it for you." "Changge, you've certainly achieved something extraordinary by delving into the path of immortality." Whether in terms of combat or longevity, you will surpass the realm of martial arts. Your vitality is tremendous, and I suspect you might even outshine the land immortals, Zhang Sanfeng said. Although he lost the spar, Zhang Sanfeng wasn't the least bit disheartened. He was genuinely happy for Ning Changge's success. Ning Changge replied with a nod. Thank you, Master. Let me share with you the essence of the immortal path I've comprehended. For Ning Changge, sharing his insights with someone like his master, who had deep knowledge and experience, was invaluable. They were about to have a meaningful discussion. Zhang Sanfeng's eyes brightened as he eagerly prepared to listen. In the exchange just now, he had also learned much from his disciple. Ning Changge's voice resonated as he began. The foundation of the immortal path is called spiritual energy. It exists between heaven and earth. In martial arts, when one reaches the transcendent realm, they can command the grand circulation of heaven and earth, which essentially means manipulating the spiritual energy to form the heavenly and earthly forces, or, as you've mentioned, the power of heaven and earth. If I'm not mistaken, Ning Changge continued, in the transcendent realm, martial artists can invoke the power of heaven and earth, receiving its blessings. Their might surpasses that of grandmasters, with unmatched strength in every move. However, the realm of land immortals should go even further. It's possible they can establish a certain level of resonance with spiritual energy, thus harnessing even more of the power of heaven and earth. Ning Changge started with martial arts to provide context for his insights. He was curious about the transcendent realm and land immortal levels, which was why he explained it in this way. However, Zhang Sanfeng was struck as though by a thunderbolt. He couldn't help but mutter, "Spiritual energy, the power of heaven and earth, land immortals, invoking the resonance of heaven and earth." His eyes became incredibly bright. It was as if, from Ning Changge's words, he saw the gates to the realm of land immortals swinging wide open to him. Ning Changge was elaborating on martial arts from the perspective of immortal Tao, and it was undoubtedly profound. Zhang Sanfeng's white beard trembled with excitement, and he repeatedly exclaimed, "Changge, continue. Please continue," Ning Changge continued. In my opinion, the reason why martial arts are said to have a limit in the realm of land immortals lies in this point. Regardless of how much one's connection with the power of heaven and earth grows, it's still external power. Ultimately, there's a limit to how much it can enhance oneself. This is what you, Master, said back then. Land immortals have limited lifespans, yet boundless strength. In essence, it comes down to who can connect with more power of heaven and earth. In my opinion, land immortals have limits because of the constraints of the physical body. Once the resonance with the power of heaven and earth reaches a certain point, it becomes difficult to increase it further. Ning Changge was becoming increasingly clear about his own ideas, and his thought process was remarkably lucid. But immortal Tao is different from this. It starts by directly refining the power of heaven and earth to incorporate into oneself. Not only does it grant a long lifespan and the hope of immortality, but the strength continues to grow without limits. The stronger one's spiritual energy, the more tremendous their control over the energy of heaven and earth. According to my deductions, immortal Tao can be divided into stages like Qi refinement, foundation building, and golden core, among others. Right now, I'm in the first stage of immortal Tao, the Qi refinement stage, which means refining spiritual energy. With just this, I already have a lifespan of a few centuries. Ning Changge elaborated on the differences between martial arts and immortal Tao, using the concepts of the transcendent realm and land immortal realm as references. Zhang Sanfeng listened attentively, and his mind seemed to be struck by flashes of lightning. He felt like a new world's gate was opening before him. A stick of incense later, Ning Changge stopped with a smile. I see. Zhang Sanfeng couldn't help but applaud. He looked at Ning Changge and sincerely praised, "My disciple, you indeed possess extraordinary insight." The first time he understood what immortal Tao truly was from Ning Changge's mouth left him in awe. It was difficult to express the level of shock he felt. This was akin to telling him that martial arts land immortals were just guarding a treasure mountain without being able to enter it, only crudely using spiritual energy as a weapon. However, soon he chuckled and said, "Changge, now that you have a lifespan of a few centuries, it seems Master also has to work hard to strive for promotion to a land immortal. That way I can accompany you for a longer part of your journey so you won't feel lonely." Ning Changge was surprised. He hadn't expected that Zhang Sanfeng's thoughts would go in this direction. He was moved inwardly and said, "Master, there's no need to worry about that." When I gain deeper insights into immortal Tao, regardless of whether you can ascend to become a land immortal or not, we can both practice immortal Tao. With your talent, achieving a lifespan of over 10,000 years in the future is not an unattainable goal. Ning Changge was confident about this. Zhang Sanfeng shook his head and said, "We'll talk about the future when it comes. If I can ascend to become a land immortal, I can certainly offer you more guidance. I've benefited greatly from listening to you just now, but don't think that master is old and useless." He then sipped his tea with a smile. As your immortal Tao is in its early stages, it's the time when you need lots of references. Just now, when I was listening, I felt that the insights I've gained into the Tai Chi Tao during this time will also be of some help to you. So listen carefully. Zhang Sanfeng was also an extraordinarily gifted individual. He realized that both the transcendent realm and land immortal realm involved the use of spiritual energy, and perfecting immortal Tao would certainly be beneficial for his young disciple. Ning Changge refilled Zhang Sanfeng's cup with spirit tea as Zhang Sanfeng began to explain his newfound insights into the application of the Tai Chi. Tai Chi is the ultimate principle of yin and yang, Zhang Sanfeng began. It manifests the chaos above and the 5 elements below, containing the essence of all things in heaven and earth. Zhang Sanfeng's tone was solemn as he elucidated the knowledge he had accumulated throughout his life. This time was different from several years ago when Ning Changge was just 4 years old and had first comprehended the Tai Chi slashing technique from Zhang Sanfeng's teachings. Now, after several years had passed and Ning Changge had achieved the initial stages of his path of immortality, Zhang Sanfeng had a different level of understanding of the Tai Chi Tao. Listening to his explanations, Ning Changge gained new insights. Countless flashes of enlightenment flickered in his mind, and his eyes shone brightly. Zhang Sanfeng might not have Ning Changge's extraordinary comprehension abilities, but he was exceptionally intelligent. His thoughts and ideas provided Ning Changge with new directions, and sometimes all Ning Changge needed was a spark of inspiration. Gathering the wisdom of all living beings and treading the eternal path of immortality was Ning Changge's journey. As Zhang Sanfeng's deep and resonant voice continued to fill the air, Ning Changge occasionally asked questions and made connections, fueling Zhang Sanfeng's enthusiasm and sparking his inspiration. Master and disciple sat down to discuss their insights on the Tao, creating a perfect picture. Unbeknownst to them, the day turned into night. You have listened to Zhang Sanfeng's exposition on the principles of yin and yang in Tai Chi, and you have gained an understanding that Tai Chi encompasses yin and yang give rise to the 5 elements. You have created the Taoist technique of mental escape. You have realized the transformation of yin and yang into the 5 elements, and the harmonization of the 5 elements with yin and yang. You have integrated the metal escape, wood escape, water escape, fire escape, and earth escape techniques, creating the Taoist technique of 5 elements escape. Ning Changge continuously had new insights. It wasn't until Zhang Sanfeng's voice stopped after half an hour that he slowly opened his eyes. "Master, I thank you for your teachings," he said solemnly, paying his respects. Zhang Sanfeng had held nothing back, sharing all his insights into martial arts over the past century. He wasn't afraid of teaching his disciple everything, treating Ning Changge as if he were his own son. Ning Changge gained immensely from this experience. Not only had he created the 5 elements escape technique, but he had also developed spatial and temporal restrictions. The former would allow him to move freely among the 5 elements, establishing an unassailable position. The latter was equally valuable. Spatial restrictions were necessary for crafting storage-type artifacts, and while his understanding of temporal restrictions was still superficial, they had great potential, especially for nurturing spiritual treasures. Most importantly, whether it was Tao of the 5 elements, the Tao of space, or the Tao of time, they were all great Tao, paths to the Tao. Ning Changge's ability to comprehend even a bit of them now meant that he would walk these paths more smoothly in the future. Zhang Sanfeng raised his hand and smiled. "This is all your master has to offer. If it benefits you, then it's the best. If not, consider it a chat between master and disciple." Ning Changge couldn't help but chuckle. "Master, you underestimate yourself. I have benefited a lot from you. After some time, when I go into seclusion again, I won't come out until I become a land immortal. By then, you should take care of Wudeng while I'm away." Zhang Sanfeng smiled contentedly as he looked at Ning Changge. What made him happiest about this trip was seeing Ning Changge's progress. Ning Changge had grown to such an extent that he might even surpass Zhang Sanfeng in the future. With a solemn nod, Ning Changge said, "Master, you can rest assured and go into seclusion with peace of mind. As long as your disciple is at Wudang, nothing will go wrong." Zhang Sanfeng simply smiled and said, "It's not time yet. Let's talk about it in some time. You should continue your cultivation here. If you need help, you can always come to me." He didn't waste any time and with his steps was already outside the scripture chamber. Ning Changge chuckled lightly and began to review his insights from their discussion. The 5 elements escape technique is finally complete. From now on, I'll keep comprehending the 5 elements and strive to master the 5 elements principles and even the Tao of the 5 elements. My wood element Azure Dragon Sword Chi and Kyanho Vermilion Bird Sword Chi both draw inspiration from the 5 elements spirits. With the completion of the 5 elements escape technique, I can work towards perfecting the 5 elements spirit sword Chi. Ning Changge contemplated, his eyes gradually shining brighter. As for spatial and temporal restrictions, I've only scratched the surface for now, but they have significant utility. Spatial restrictions will aid me in crafting storage-type artifacts. Combining these 2 aspects, I may even be able to create Tao artifacts like immortal abodes in the future. Of course, for now, creating regular storage-type artifacts should be entirely achievable. Ning Changge felt a growing anticipation. After becoming a cultivator, he increasingly realized the inconvenience of not having a storage-type artifact. Many of his spiritual treasures couldn't be carried around with him, such as the mountain and river gathering spirit furnace. He couldn't lug it around when he went down the mountain. The few artifacts he had refined were exceptions. The Xianxia sword in particular was special. Its size could be adjusted at will, and it could be kept within his dantian for constant nourishment with spiritual energy. Other artifacts couldn't do that. However, Ning Changge estimated that he would have to wait until he reached the foundation establishment stage. At that point, his spiritual energy would liquefy, allowing him to easily refine each artifact and store it within his dantian. But for now, after today's discussion with Master, I realize one thing. The transcendent realm of the 9 provinces and the realm of the land immortals truly bring significant benefits to me. If I could observe the paths of these martial experts and learn from them, I'd undoubtedly gain many insights. Ning Changge marveled. Those who could reach the pinnacle of martial arts in the 9 provinces were truly extraordinary individuals with exceptional intelligence and wisdom. Occasionally, their insights could provide a new direction for him, offering valuable feedback. If one day the world of cultivation becomes widespread, I wonder what kind of sparks will there be, he thought, his eyes filled with anticipation. He even had the urge to leave the mountain immediately and explore the world, witness the paths of various martial experts, and experience the worldly affairs, as he believed that would be even more beneficial for him. But there's no rush. I should fully digest these accumulated insights first. Once I've deepened my cultivation, I can always travel later. Ning Changge had plenty of time. With a lifespan of 10 centuries, he was just 9 years old at the moment, barely any different from a young sapling. Moreover, he hadn't completely absorbed the martial techniques from the 5 great sword sects yet, and his supply of spirit herbs was still sufficient. He would travel once he reached a point where there was nothing more to gain. With these thoughts in mind, Ning Changge slowly rose to his feet. He began selecting suitable materials from his collection of spiritual ores to craft a storage-type artifact for himself. TL, please do leave comments on this book so that I can read your thoughts on this new project of mine. Hope you're liking it so far. Also, this book is in the trial phase, and if you have enjoyed the book so far, do become a VIP to ensure the book continues. Thank you for all your support. Ning Changge's spiritual ores came from the Wudang treasure vault and the spoils from the 5 great sword sects he had encountered earlier. Besides the spirit-gathering stones and the naturally formed sword embryos, which he had used to create the mountain and river-gathering spirit furnace and the Xianxia sword respectively, he had kept some other valuable materials. Originally, he had contemplated refining the solid spirit stone into a defensive weapon, but the quantity was too limited, so he had been accumulating it. Now, since he had comprehended spatial restrictions, he decided to use it to craft a storage-type artifact. To have a significant storage capacity, he needed a material with exceptional toughness. Ning Changge took a deep breath, his eyes gradually becoming focused. Crafting a storage-type artifact was no small feat, and it posed a challenge for him. Engraving spatial restrictions alone consumed a considerable amount of time and required intense concentration. With a wave of his hand, a stream of green spiritual energy sealed off the second floor of the scripture repository. Then he began to form hand seals, and in the next moment, spiritual flames gushed forth, enveloping the solid spirit stone completely. He waved his hand. A ray of blue spiritual power sealed the second floor of the scripture chamber. He manipulated his fingers, and a ray of spiritual fire spurted out from them and wrapped the spirit stone entirely. True to its reputation as the most resilient and capable of holding spiritual energy, the spiritual flames produced by this technique burned very slowly. It took half a day to process a small fist-sized piece of the spiritual ore. Ning Changge furrowed his brow. I need to study the spirit fire technique again. I must enhance the power of this spiritual fire. Spirit fire was crucial. For alchemy and artifact refining, it could significantly increase success rates and efficiency. Without strong enough spirit fire, even precious materials might fail to be properly refined. Of course, the best spirit fire came from the heaven and earth profound fire, but Ning Changge didn't have access to it right now. Therefore, he had to rely on his own techniques to activate the spirit fire. As he watched the shrinking mass of green liquid before him, Ning Changge's eyes gradually became more focused. His fingers danced as he formed various hand seals, causing spiritual energy to surge and create subtle spatial fluctuations. The liquid gradually took on the shape of a ring. On Wudang Mountain, after Zhang Sanfeng had departed from Ning Changge, he summoned Song Yuanqiao and the others to learn more about the events that had unfolded during his 6-month seclusion. This disciple acted on his own initiative by going to Mount Song to study the 5 great sword sects techniques. I ask Master to punish me, Song Yuanqiao said, recounting the battle between the Wudang and Mount Song disciples, as well as the conflict between Zhu Lengchen. He knelt down seeking punishment. Zhang Sanfeng waved his hand to help Song Yuanqiao up and said, Mount Song has fallen into the demonic path, committing senseless killings. It was right to eradicate them, but you made 2 mistakes. First, you acted without knowing the full situation, rushing to Mount Song and putting your junior brothers and sisters in danger. This is your failure as the eldest senior disciple. If it weren't for your junior brother's seal, you might not have passed that ordeal. When you travel the Jianghu, you must never rely on such a stroke of luck. Second, while it's acceptable to accept the disciples from the 4 great sword sects, you should have established rules and protocols to clarify responsibilities and prevent misunderstandings. We've maintained a clean reputation for decades, and we can't afford to act recklessly. Song Yuanqiao felt remorseful, and the other disciples, including Zhang Songxi and Yu Danan, also knelt down. Zhang Sanfeng raised his palm to help them up. I don't blame you, but I hope you'll act more prudently in the future. The disciples nodded in agreement, and Zhang Sanfeng continued. I've been in seclusion for a long time and haven't been able to teach you properly. Now that your cultivation is deepening, you should gradually comprehend my Tao of Tai Kai. Starting tomorrow, I'll teach you in the martial arts hall every 3 days. After that, I'll continue my seclusion. Zhang Sanfeng had heard the disciples mention the extraordinary phenomena during Ning Changge's recent lecture. Although he was surprised, he also realized that he hadn't taught them martial arts for a long time. He felt somewhat guilty. Song Yuanqiao and the others were delighted, as this had always been their greatest wish. Zhang Sanfeng's Tai Kai techniques were extremely profound and challenging to master. However, as they were now masters, with Song Yuanqiao and Yu Danan even reaching the rank of grandmasters, they were qualified to learn. But Zhang Sanfeng continued. However, it seems that Changge's talismans are quite extraordinary. When you rushed to Mount Song earlier, you relied on these talismans' power. Relying too much on external objects is not a good thing. For now, hand them over to me to hold onto. Focus on cultivating yourselves. I'll return them to you later. Song Yuanqiao and the others quickly retrieved a stack of talismans from their possessions. These had been unused for a long time. Zhang Sanfeng nodded and took them. I'm not doing this to scold you. It's for your own good. Now let's move on. As they left, Mo Shengu chuckled. Do you guys think that Master took our talismans because he wants to play with them? When I mentioned the riding the wind and controlling the cloud talisman earlier, Master's eyes lit up. Song Yuanqiao quickly scolded him. Junior brother, don't make baseless speculations about Master. He's doing this for our benefit. Before he could finish, a rush of wind sounded from behind them. Instinctively, they all turned to look. In the distance, they saw a white-haired figure soaring into the sky, riding the wind and clouds with laughter echoing. The disciples froze for a moment, then hurriedly turned back and walked away, their faces filled with both embarrassment and amusement. Yin Liting's suspicious voice slowly sounded. "Senior brother, if I understand it correctly, it seems that..." Song Yuenkio's faint voice cut it. "No, you got it wrong." They strode away, their foreheads covered in black lines, but the corners of their mounts had curled up subconsciously. Their master at times was a bit playful and mischievous, like an overgrown child. In the scripture chamber, a few more days had passed. Ning Changge had already extinguished the spirit fire long ago. A pale blue ring hovered in the air, adorned with patterns resembling stars, suns, and moons. Faintly visible were two small characters, Na Yuan. Ning Changge's fingers danced as the final spatial seal was inscribed into the ring. The light blue ring suddenly emitted a brilliant light and then gradually concealed itself. Ning Changge's eyes revealed a joyful expression. "The storage ring is complete." Putting forth all of his effort and concentration, he had succeeded on the first try, which left him very satisfied. As his spiritual awareness entered the ring, a rich smile appeared on his lips. "This Na Yuan ring can hold 8 spatial seals. It can be considered a top-notch item among first-tier magical tools. It can accommodate an area of about 3 square zhang. It's more than enough for general use." With so much space, it was almost the size of a small room, and it could easily store all of Ning Changge's collected items. He was full of joy. With a thought, one item after another, whether spiritual treasures or scrolls, was stored within the Na Yuan ring. He had so much fun moving in and out. He even directly stored the mountain and river, gathering spirit furnace inside. As a result, the entire second floor of the scripture repository became much more spacious. Ning Changge took a leisurely step outside, observing the sky, and saw a handsome figure of a Taoist on the horizon, above the clouds in the sky. He was slightly surprised, then he smiled. "It looks like I need to spend some time making more wind-riding talismans." With his current level of spiritual power, he could effortlessly create a pile of materials by soaking talisman paper in the spiritual liquid from the mountain and river, gathering spirit furnace. The scarcity of jade and spiritual materials was no longer an issue. Scripture chamber. Ning Changge looked at the thriving spirit tea growing in the cultivated soil before him, his thoughts wandering as he contemplated whether he should find a larger place. The scripture chamber was good, but the space was a bit limited. In the future, if he needed to cultivate more spiritual items, he might run out of room. "I'll wait until this batch of spirit tea has matured," Ning Changge thought, a faint smile on his lips. He watered this spirit tea with the spiritual liquid produced daily by the mountain and river gathering spirit furnace, and it was now under the influence of a time restriction, which could accelerate its growth. Soon he would reap the rewards. Thinking about this, Ning Changge couldn't help but reflect. Time restrictions are even more challenging than spatial restrictions. While I have grasped a bit of spatial restrictions, time restrictions are like the minutiae within the minutiae. He had tried to comprehend both types of restrictions continuously, hoping to derive time and space techniques from them. But it was incredibly difficult. The escape technique was somewhat related to spatial techniques, but time techniques seemed completely out of reach. In the end, he concluded, his spiritual power was too weak. It was insufficient to support techniques of this level, which might be closer to divine arts. He gently flicked his finger, and 9 drops of spiritual liquid flowed into the growing spirit tea in front of him. Ning Changge turned and picked up a Taoist scripture, silently perusing it. His Taoist aura became even more profound. At this point, the Taoist scriptures of the 5 great sword sects had mostly been assimilated into his foundation. He felt that he had a clue about the foundation cultivation chapter of the eternal verdant art and might be able to create it in a few days. Based on my calculations, once I reach the perfection stage of chi refinement, I should be comparable to lesser land immortals. As for the foundation establishment stage, I should be able to surpass most lesser land immortals. To truly become invincible in this world, I might need to reach the golden core stage, Ning Changge mused. He had never encountered land immortals, but during these days of discussion with Zhang Sanfeng, he had gained some insights and discerned certain things from Zhang Sanfeng's knowledge and cultivation. Martial cultivation had levels. The difference between the transcendent realm and the land immortals was 1 step away, but that step was extremely far apart. And even among land immortals, there were distinctions as well. They too were divided into 3, 6, or 9 levels with a huge gap between each successive level. As Zhang Sanfeng had said, lesser land immortals had limited lifespans but boundless battle power. Ning Changge felt that he should at least reach the perfection stage of qi refinement to have the qualifications to travel the world. At that point, he might not be invincible, but few would be able to harm him. He shook his head, temporarily setting aside these thoughts. As he continued reading the Taoist scriptures, he immersed himself fully, unaware that clusters of spiritual fire were rising and falling beside him. Ning Changge was searching for inspiration in the scripture to further develop his spiritual fire. He held a scroll called Cultivating True Qi, Techniques of Igniting True Fire, and continued reading. The Taoist principles were becoming increasingly intense. The correct technique requires the presence of an inner elixir and the pure yang energy within it. It is also known as the true fire. Using internal observation, righteous fire can eliminate the 3 corpses. Using internal observation, it can exorcise the 7 souls. Using internal observation, it can subdue hordes of demons. Using internal observation, it can annihilate the 5 fiends. Using internal observation, it can expel the 9 worms. Using internal observation, it can heal illnesses. Using internal observation, it can refine one's physical form. After some time, Ning Changge closed the scripture. His eyes were clear. The 3 samadhis of true fire, igniting the inner elixir with the primordial spirit, primordial qi, and primordial essence, this is the 3 samadhis. With my current cultivation, it's very difficult to control the 3 samadhis of true fire. It's better to take a step back and master the primordial qi true fire first. This is the pure yang, Ning Changge concluded. These days of reading the Taoist scriptures had brought him flashes of insight. Suddenly, he felt a surge of inspiration. With a flash of the 5 elements escape technique, he appeared high in the sky, riding the wind and clouds. Ning Changge basked in the sunlight, his eyes directed at the sky. He felt the brilliance of the sun and its pure yang essence at its zenith. You've studied the Taoist scriptures and comprehended the 3 samadhis of true fire, as well as observed the brilliance of the sun, gaining insights into the dominance of pure yang. You've created a Taoist technique, pure yang true fire? A smile played on Ning Changge's lips. He extended his hand, and with a flicker of spiritual power, a spark of true fire emerged, burning brightly with a deep cyan color. He could clearly feel that the power of this pure yang true fire was several times greater than the previous spiritual fire technique he had learned. Excellent! Today, I've comprehended pure yang true fire and also gained insights into the path of the 3 samadhis of true fire. In the future, with sufficient spiritual power, I can create divine fire and essence fire, true divine arts. Ning Changge rejoiced. With this pure yang true fire, his efficiency in refining elixirs and crafting artifacts would greatly increase, and he could even use it offensively. Furthermore, he could channel it into his dantian and purify his spiritual power, enhancing its purity. With this thought, Ning Changge couldn't help but summon the Xianxia sword. With a flash of crimson sword light, it soared into the sky, dancing and spinning in jubilation. Several days later, the scripture chamber received some guests. Ning Changge appeared before Song Yuanqiao and Zhang Quizhin, among others, with a smile. "Are my senior brothers be missing wearing your swords?" Song Yuanqiao and the others were startled by Ning Changge's sudden appearance, but upon hearing his words, their faces lit up. "Have the swords been forged already?" A few days ago, after Ning Changge had achieved the pure yang true fire, he had taken all the swords of the 7 heroes of Wudang to experiment with. The results proved that the pure yang true fire was indeed formidable. After adding some spiritual minerals and refining them with the true fire, the heroes' swords had undergone a transformation, becoming true magic weapons. Strictly speaking, they could be considered semi-magic artifacts. It wasn't that Ning Changge was being stingy, but if he fully refined them into magic artifacts, they might become harder to control. In their current state, they possessed some magical powers while still being manageable by their wielders, greatly increasing their strength. Ning Changge waved his hand, and the 7 longswords flew out from the Nuyuan ring one by one, landing in front of the 7 heroes. Each sword emitted a chilling radiance, with sharp edges that could easily cut through iron and stone. Without even using their true qi, these treasures could easily sever metal and sunder stone. Placing these in Jianghu automatically elevated them to the status of divine weapons. I'm afraid it's no less impressive than the heaven-defying sword used by Mistress Miayu of the Amei sect, which can cut through gold and jade. Zhang Sanfeng couldn't help but exclaim. Everyone was extremely satisfied. "Thank you, junior brother." Ning Changge casually waved his hand. These weapons were considered top-notch treasures among the martial arts world, but to him they were nothing more than trifles. When the Xianxia sword appeared, even without using spiritual power, these swords wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow. Observing their expressions, Ning Changge smiled and said, "I suppose you didn't all gather here just to retrieve your swords." Song Yuanqiao's expression turned serious and he said, "We knew we couldn't keep this from you, junior brother. Something has happened in the martial world, and the dragon-slaying sword has reappeared." The dragon-slaying sword? Ning Changge was slightly surprised. He was naturally familiar with this weapon, not because he considered the sword to be powerful, but because in his previous life's understanding, the heaven-defying sword and dragon-slaying sword had been intertwined with the rise and fall of the entire Wudang sect. Of course, in this multifaceted 9-provinces world, that resulted from the fusion of various worlds, the origins of the dragon-slaying sword and heaven-defying sword were different from what they used to be. According to the legends, these two weapons were keys to open a certain treasure, and if one could obtain both divine weapons, they had a chance to acquire unparalleled treasures in that chest, filled with divine techniques, miraculous medicines, and more, all of which could turn one into a supreme master. However, the origins of the dragon-slaying sword and heaven-defying sword in this new world were still a mystery. People in the Jianghu, always chasing after fame and fortune, couldn't resist being attracted to these rumors. In the past, the dragon-slaying sword was in the possession of golden-haired lion King Zai Zun, a member of the Ming cult, while the heaven-defying sword was carried by Miayu Shitai of the Imei sect. The Ming cult was mighty with the leader, the left and right emissaries, and the 4 great guardians being formidable figures. Similarly, the Imei sect was no longer under the sole control of Miayu Shitai. Both male and female disciples were skilled in martial arts. Figures like Master Shen Zai, Master Jin Guang, and the reclusive Dugu Yi were among the formidable experts. There were also the 3 heroes and the 4 talents, rising stars among their ranks. 2 major powers held these divine weapons, and it was enough to keep the covetous desires of people in the Jianghu at bay. However, in the recent years, the Ming cult leader, Yang Dingshan, had mysteriously disappeared. The Ming cult's internal turmoil had created a situation where no one could control anyone, leading to a fragmented state within the sect. Golden-haired lion King Zai Zun, who was both feared and respected, left Jianghu, and some ambitious individuals found it challenging to restrain their desires. Even for those who were strong, a lack of support could expose them to potential attacks. Some years ago, Zai Zun went on a rampage with the dragon-slaying sword. The 7 heroes of Wudang were also involved in the turmoil at that time. Fortunately, their cultivation was much stronger than before, so there were no accidents. When everyone in the world thought that the dragon-slaying sword was going to be lost like this, the golden retriever Lion King unexpectedly appeared again the month before. At this moment, on the True Martial Temple's premises, Wudang's 7 heroes and others were gathered. They were listening to Song Yuanqiao's account of recent events. Song Yuanqiao looked around at everyone and slowly continued his narration. A few months ago, golden-haired lion King Zai Zun suddenly reappeared. He seemed to be blind and was on the verge of madness. At times he was lucid, at times he was delirious. He wreaked havoc in the Great Ming's martial world, particularly in the vicinity of Shaolin, where he killed numerous people, including many monks from the Shaolin temple. When the dragon-slaying sword resurfaced, Zai Zun began a chaotic killing spree, provoking many who tried to seize the sword from him. For a time, bloodshed spread across the Jianghu, and there were fights everywhere. Today, Shaolin has just sent us an invitation, inviting various martial sects of the Great Ming to participate in the dragon-slaying contest. The purpose is to retrieve the dragon-slaying sword and then come up with a thorough plan to prevent further chaos in the martial world. Song Yuanqiao's expression was grave, and the other 6 Wudang heroes had similar expressions. "Master, junior brother, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Should we accept the invitation for this dragon-slaying contest?" He hesitated for a moment. The recent turmoil in the Jianghu was a major concern. If they accepted this invitation to the dragon-slaying contest, Wudang would become entangled in this conflict and could not remain neutral. On the other hand, if they refused, Wudang's reputation would undoubtedly suffer, and over time people would look down on them. In the Jianghu, it was impossible to have it both ways. Zhang Sanfeng appeared regretful and said, I have met Zai Zun before, though he was a member of the Ming cult. He had a sense of righteousness and integrity. It's unfortunate that he's fallen into this state. The disputes in the Jianghu lead to senseless killings. The dragon-slaying sword is causing chaos wherever it goes, and resolving this matter would be a good thing. He looked at Wudang's 7 heroes and continued, Yuanqiao, Lianzhu, you have reached a profound level in your cultivation. Sooner or later, you will have to stand on your own. This matter you should decide for yourselves. Regardless of your decision, I will stand behind you. Song Yuanqiao and the others were moved by this gesture and quickly paid their respects. Zhang Sanfeng had always been like this, fiercely supportive of his disciples. If someone thought he was old and no longer effective, he didn't mind demonstrating his abilities to the people of Jianghu. Many years had passed since he last fought, and perhaps some had forgotten his fame. Ning Changge chimed in, we can avoid it for now, but we can't avoid it forever. Master founded Wudang, and we can't let the reputation of Wudang fall. Since Shaolin has sent us an invitation, we should go. Song Yuanqiao and the others were taken aback for a moment, then expressions of guilt appeared on their faces. What my junior brother said makes sense, but we are the ones who are cowardly. Since the 5 sword peaks became the vassal of Wudang, they have had more things to consider and had become a little unsteady. Ning Changge smiled and said, although junior brother can't leave the mountain for now, I can still contribute in my own way. With a turn of his hand, a stack of talismans appeared, some of which contained jade and stone symbols. As Ning Changge's cultivation deepened, the talismans he crafted had become more powerful. Song Yuanqiao and the others' eyes lit up, and even Zhang Sanfeng couldn't resist looking over. This is the Pure Yang True Fire Talisman. This is the Cayenne Vermilion Bird Sword Talisman. This is the Wood Element Azure Dragon Sword Talisman. This is the 5 Elements Escape Talisman. This is the Wind Riding Cloud Control Talisman. Ning Changge's voice rang out slowly, and the others' eyes became even brighter. When he mentioned the Wind Riding Cloud Control Talisman, they instinctively lowered their gaze and focused on their breathing. Zhang Sanfeng, on the other hand, cleared his throat twice and seemed to be lost in thought. Ning Changge smiled faintly. A while back, Zhang Sanfeng had playfully borrowed a few disciples' talismans, claiming it was for safekeeping, but he never returned them. Instead, he asked Ning Changge to craft another batch for Song Yuanqiao and the others. Ning Changge knew that Zhang Sanfeng had become quite fond of the wind-riding cloud control talismans, and he didn't want to return them, fearing it would give him away. So he decided to craft another batch to gift to his master, a minor request he was more than willing to fulfill. With these thoughts in mind, he turned to Song Yuanqiao and the others and said, when you go down the mountain to participate in the dragon-slaying contest, my fellow senior brothers, please stick together. With these talismans in your possession, even if you encounter a transcendent realm expert, you can easily escape. Be flexible in your approach when the time comes. This was one of the reasons why Ning Changge didn't want to go down the mountain. The dragon-slaying contest might be lively, but it was highly unlikely that there would be any land immortals present, and even high-level transcendent realm experts were uncertain. With these talismans to help, Song Yuanqiao and the others had no need to fear for their lives, so he had no motivation to leave the mountain. He thought that he could use this time to continue practicing on the Tianzhu Peak, working towards the foundation establishment stage and developing his foundation method. As for the so-called dragon-slaying sword and treasure legends, he didn't pay them much attention. Song Yuanqiao and the others received the talismans with great joy. Thank you so much, junior brother, for your help. Junior brother can just live here and cultivate on the mountain. Why should you take action against such trivial matters on your senior brothers aren't just for show. Everyone divided the talismans and guarded them like wolves, for fear that someone would snatch them, and Song Yuanqiao took on the responsibility of safeguarding several crucial talismans. Zhang Sanfeng watched this with a wry smile, feeling like they were conspiring against him. The group chuckled and then respectfully withdrew. The next day, the 7 heroes of Wudang got ready to go, accompanied by some third-generation disciples who were just beginning their cultivation. They prepared to descend the mountain. The Wudang 7 heroes, accompanied by some exceptional third-generation disciples, set out for the dragon-slaying conference. This resulted in a noticeable reduction in people on Wudang Mountain. However, Ning Changge continued to live his tranquil life as usual. He simply stayed in the scripture chamber, reading scriptures and practicing cultivation. Occasionally, he contemplated the mysteries of nature. His life was quite comfortable. Zhang Sanfeng hadn't gone into seclusion, and there was no need for him to conduct lectures at the moment. Among the third-generation disciples, there were capable individuals who managed the mundane affairs efficiently. The Lingkao Dao group in the martial arts square had almost become Zhang Sanfeng's exclusive seat. As Ning Changge chose not to attend, Song Yuanqiao and the others didn't feel they had the right to use it. However, Zhang Sanfeng was easygoing and didn't mind at all. He felt that he would soon go into seclusion to break through to the realm of a land immortal. Therefore, he took this opportunity to share martial arts insights and philosophical teachings with his disciples and grand disciples. Although Zhang Sanfeng couldn't illustrate abstract concepts as vividly as Ning Changge with his spirit vision, decades of experience allowed him to convey wisdom and insights that surpassed what Song Yuanqiao and the others could provide. The third-generation disciples were captivated by his teachings. Ning Changge occasionally hid among the clouds and listened to these public lessons, which also provided him with a unique perspective and valuable knowledge. One day, he flew above the clear skies, drifting through the clouds, and slowly descended behind Tianzhu Peak. Tianzhu Peak was enormous. Wudang sect's various halls and pavilions only occupied a small portion of it. The rest of the mountain was left in its natural state, making it one of Ning Changge's favorite places to relax when he wasn't in the scripture chamber. Ning Changge wore a black and white Taoist robe and stood barefoot on the ground. A green aura circulated around him, giving him the appearance of an exiled immortal. As he extended his spiritual awareness, he was momentarily surprised. There was a commotion in the distance. Roar, hiss. Two distinct roars and growls followed one after the other. Ning Changge's spiritual awareness clearly observed the events happening in the distance, and his eyes revealed astonishment. In the woods, a large and small creature were locked in a fierce battle. The larger one was nearly 9 feet long, with a hanging white forehead. It was the king of beasts, a fierce tiger. The smaller one, however, was somewhat unusual. Covered in golden fur, it stood on 2 legs and reached about the height of Ning Changge's chest. It was a golden monkey. This golden monkey bared its teeth and brandished a crude stone spear, though calling it a spear was generous. It was more like a wooden stick with a slightly sharpened tip. Its eyes sparkled with intelligence, and it seemed lean but had the appearance of a steel frame, allowing it to wrestle with the fierce tiger. Despite multiple collisions, it remained unscathed. Whenever they clashed, crashing into tree trunks or boulders, the monkey would quickly get up. It was the stone spear that occasionally left wounds on the tiger, causing it to bleed and boosting the monkey's confidence. Sizzle, the golden monkey, hissed triumphantly, raising its head high. Fear began to appear in the tiger's eyes, and after another round of struggle, it couldn't contain its fear any longer and fled. The golden monkey cheered in excitement, overjoyed with its victory. Ning Changge's eyes widened in astonishment. I didn't expect such a spiritual creature on Tianzhu Peak. As he activated his spirit vision, he could clearly see that the golden monkey's body contained traces of spiritual energy. Although not abundant, it was enough to enhance its physical strength, allowing it to battle a tiger despite its small size. He quietly observed, making no effort to conceal his presence. However, the monkey suddenly felt a tremendous pressure shrouding it, and it instinctively turned around. Its pupils shrank as it saw a figure in a black and white Taoist robe standing there. Ning Changge was taken aback. The monkey, with cautious movements, tossed aside its crude stone spear and approached him, gesturing with its hands and making respectful salutes. It was overflowing with gratitude. Although the monkey couldn't speak, it was intelligent. It realized that the source of its newfound intelligence and abilities was related to Ning Changge. It had observed Ning Changge's visit when he created the celestial phenomenon and absorbed the spiritual energy on Tianzhu Peak. Therefore, upon recognizing Ning Changge, it immediately expressed its gratitude. Ning Changge felt a surge of emotion. He patted the monkey's head gently and said, "While I played a part, it was your own fate that led to this. Since you have this opportunity, make the most of it in the future." The monkey's eyes sparkled with joy and excitement as it listened. It may not have fully understood Ning Changge's words, but it could sense his emotions. Seeing Ning Changge preparing to leave, the monkey became anxious. It tugged at his Taoist robe and clumsily gestured. Ning Changge raised an eyebrow, trying to understand the monkey's signs. "Are you saying that I should stay here?" He made a gesture in response. The monkey nodded eagerly, and when it saw Ning Changge nod in agreement, it quickly leaped onto a tree branch and disappeared into the distance. Ning Changge's curiosity was piqued. Why did the monkey want him to stay? It didn't take long for his question to be answered. The monkey returned, slightly out of breath. Its eyes were filled with excitement, and it carefully held out a red spiritual fruit and presented it to Ning Changge. Ning Changge was moved. Even without using his spirit vision, he could sense that this spiritual fruit contained abundant spiritual energy, surpassing any spiritual herbs he had possessed before. The monkey's offering was truly remarkable. The monkey's eyes gleamed with joy and excitement. It rolled and leaped around in jubilation. The spiritual monkey's eyes were filled with caution. In reality, this was one of the sources of its transformation. On that day when Ning Changge triggered the spiritual storm and it was soaked in spiritual energy, it discovered two spiritual fruits. After consuming one, it had awakened its spiritual wisdom, and spiritual energy had permeated its body, strengthening its bones and muscles day by day. Originally, it had intended to consume the second fruit, but its instincts told it that there was no need. So it had kept it until now, treasuring it as its most precious possession. Perhaps in the future, when it found a mate or had offspring, it would offer them this treasure. But today, it had encountered Ning Changge. This was the only thing it could offer. It instinctively wanted to approach Ning Changge and express its gratitude. Without Ning Changge, it wouldn't be what it was today. Ning Changge sighed lightly, sensing the monkey's sincerity. He accepted the spiritual fruit, and the monkey immediately danced with excitement, making Ning Changge smile involuntarily. He spoke softly. "This spiritual fruit is indeed useful to me, so I'll accept it. But I won't take advantage of you. I'll return your kindness." He placed the spiritual fruit into his yuan ring and then gestured for the monkey to sit down. The monkey seemed to understand, squatting in front of Ning Changge, looking up at his hand, and Ning Changge smiled. "Since you've had the opportunity to help you transform and our meeting was predestined, I don't owe you any karma. This time, the purification of your spiritual power will further open your spiritual wisdom and strengthen your body. Your future depends on your own efforts." His voice resonated like a bell, entering the monkey's mind, leaving it momentarily stunned. In the next instant, Ning Changge lightly stroked the monkey's head, and a surge of green spiritual power surged forth. The monkey's soul let out a cry of surprise but quickly fell silent. It felt a vibrant force of life coursing through its body. In the past, Ning Changge had developed the spiritual cleansing technique for the 7 heroes. Today, he used it on the monkey. Moreover, the monkey's bones and muscles were superior to humans, and it had absorbed spiritual energy. The effect far surpassed what Xianxia and the others had experienced. As time passed, as the spiritual power continued to cleanse the monkey's body, brown impurities gradually emerged on its skin and were instantly dissolved by the spiritual power. The monkey's golden fur became even more radiant, making it look like a golden monkey made of gold. Its bones and muscles became visibly stronger, to the point where even innate realm martial artists might not be able to harm it. Furthermore, the monkey's eyes became increasingly clear. It now understood things that had previously perplexed it, and its gaze towards Ning Changge grew more respectful. After a while, Ning Changge gently moved his right hand away, and the purification of the monkey's spiritual power was complete. It had undergone a transformation. The monkey respectfully saluted, and this time it didn't seem as awkward as before, almost resembling a human. Ning Changge smiled. "This time we've settled our karma." But before he could finish his sentence, his expression changed, and he seemed to have an insight. His mind was suddenly filled with flashes of inspiration, forming into a coherent concept. In your encounter with the spiritual monkey in the mountains, you initially wanted to settle your karma. However, you had an epiphany and comprehended the principles of the Book of Changes, creating the Taoist technique, minor causality art. The minor causality art allowed one to perceive karma but not manipulate it. It enabled one to adapt to the natural order, avoiding unnecessary karma and acting in harmony with the world, ultimately achieving the path to immortality. In the path of cultivating immortality, seeking longevity, this technique could safeguard one's path. Ning Changge looked at the monkey before him and calculated with his finger. He had initially planned to leave, but now he realized that there was still some karma between them. However, it was not for the present moment. He said calmly, "You should focus on honing yourself. Don't misuse your spiritual nature to do wrong or engage in senseless killings. If you violate the laws of nature, you will bring calamity upon yourself. I shall take my leave." With that, he didn't hesitate further and controlled his sword light to soar into the sky. The monkey watched this scene, kneeling on the ground and kowtowing in the direction of Ning Changge. It had a visible expression of loss in its eyes, and even tears could be seen. It looked toward the Wudang halls and gradually made a determined expression. Ning Changge also had some emotions in his heart. Such an encounter in the mountains made him feel that in this world, all things, every little action, have their own principles. He didn't want to disturb the karma between him and the spiritual monkey, so he simply let it be, thinking that there was no backlash in these small actions. He then let go of his worries. He was also somewhat curious about how this karma would unfold. The sword light descended. Returning to the scripture chamber, Ning Changge collected his stray thoughts, setting them aside. After all, this wasn't a big matter and wouldn't significantly affect his path of cultivation. Even if he completely ignored it, he could withstand it. He just wanted to let things take their course. Now, he had something more important to do. That was to turn the spiritual fruit offered by the spiritual monkey into a spiritual pill. Only by doing so could he maximize the medicinal power of this fruit. Spiritual fruits were rare, and he didn't want to squander them. It's just right that my ascension pill can't keep up with the pace of my advancement. I might as well make the spiritual fruit the main ingredient and work out a pill formula. He decided to act on it. With a flash of spiritual light, the crimson spiritual fruit flew out from his Yuan ring, floating in the air. Ning Changge's eyes rotated, and he extended his spiritual consciousness to gain a deeper understanding of the nature of this spiritual fruit. He analyzed it one by one, the knowledge he had gained from his daily readings in alchemical texts now becoming the foundation and fueling his understanding. A day later, you have analyzed the nature of the vermilion fruit deeply, based on the ascension pill, combined with various alchemical theories. Using the vermilion fruit as the main ingredient and supplemented by other spiritual herbs such as ginseng and lingjai, you have created the formula of transformation pill. With the pill formula completed, Ning Changge's eyes were filled with joy. Without hesitation, the mountain and river gathering spirit furnace flew out of nowhere and landed steadily in front of him. The spiritual fruit fell into it. Ning Changge formed a technique with his hand, and the pure yang true fire surged out instantly. The spiritual fire formation inside the mountain and river gathering cauldron and the pure yang true fire worked together perfectly, and the liquid from the fruit was quickly refined. There was even an extraordinary fragrance. His fingers moved like phantoms, and one by one, spiritual herbs flew out from his Yuan ring and entered the cauldron in an orderly manner. Up to this day, the lesser alchemy Tao he created was now more perfect, and he could produce pills with ease. With a top-notch tool like the mountain and river gathering spirit furnace and the assistance of pure yang true fire, it was even easier for him. He even had the spare capacity to use his spiritual consciousness to observe every corner of the scripture chamber. 3 hours later, the mountain and river gathering spirit furnace suddenly burst out with a brilliant light, and Ning Changge's face lit up. He saw a total of 12 vermilion pills lying in it. Transformation pills accomplished. Taking a transformation pill, Ning Changge could feel its medicinal power surpassing that of the ascension pill by several times. This kind of pill was perfect for shattering the mirror. He couldn't help but smile knowingly. This was also considered part of his destiny. With these pills, he could break through the 9th layer of qi refinement today. Afterward, when combined with the ascension pill, it was highly likely that the 10th and even 11th layers could be reached. As the sun set and the moon rose, Ning Changge absorbed the essence of the moonlight to temper his spiritual sense. Practicing the heavenly phenomenon spirit tempering technique was a required course for him. His spiritual sense had grown significantly stronger. Although there were no others to compare to, he felt that his spiritual sense might rival the foundation establishment stage if there were other cultivators. Adjusting himself to the optimal state, a glint of light flashed in Ning Changge's eyes. This is the best time to break through. He swallowed a transformation spirit pill. His spiritual power had been at the 8th level of qi refinement for quite some time. Today, with the help of this pill, he intended to step into the 9th level. Boom. As soon as the pill was ingested, an overwhelming surge of spiritual power erupted within him, far stronger than that of an ascension spirit pill. After all, the transformation spirit pill was based on the ascension spirit pill, but much more potent. Ning Changge remained calm and composed internally. Practicing the eternal evergreen technique daily, he had reached a state of ease where he could effortlessly utilize it. The evergreen internal strength turned into vortices, vaguely reminiscent of the Beiming swallowing technique, but many times more advanced. The powerful medicinal energy of the pill was swiftly absorbed and refined into spiritual energy, which then flowed into his dantian. His spiritual energy grew visibly, and strands of it began to show signs of transforming into a liquid state. Having long studied the foundation establishment chapter of the Eternal Evergreen Technique, Ning Changge understood the direction of the foundation establishment stage. One key aspect was to transform spiritual energy into liquid, thereby unleashing even greater power. This was not difficult for him. The spiritual energy cultivated from the Eternal Evergreen Technique was far purer than that of ordinary techniques. Now it was already showing signs of transforming into liquid. Perhaps, before reaching the foundation establishment stage, his spiritual energy would fully liquefy. With these thoughts passing briefly through his mind, Ning Changge continued refining the pill's energy. As the moon reached its zenith, a terrifying spiritual pressure suddenly burst forth from Ning Changge, expanding and then contracting rapidly. He slowly opened his eyes, revealing a look of joy. Qi refinement 9th level successfully broken through. Step by step, Ning Changge felt immense satisfaction on his path to immortality. Perhaps this was the allure of the Tao. He felt his Tao heart strengthen subtly. Suddenly, he sensed something and scanned with his spiritual sense. Outside the scripture pavilion, a thin figure was kneeling respectfully. Occasionally, it glanced at the scripture pavilion with determination and reverence. This was not one of the third-generation disciples of Wudang. It was the spiritual monkey that had offered a treasure in the forest that day. Ning Changge's mouth curved into a smile. Well, let's see how determined this little spiritual monkey is in seeking the Tao. The concept of cause and effect was at play. Ning Changge's natural actions were the cause. The monkey's determination to seek the Tao and its sincere nightly visits were also causes. To bear fruit in the end, the monkey's sincerity and determination had to be tested. The law is not to be lightly passed on. To obtain true teachings, one must endure trials and tribulations. After observing the figure outside the pavilion for a moment, Ning Changge retracted his spiritual sense and resumed his meditation, paying no further attention. The occasional sound of kowtowing was a testament to the monkey's determination. As the second watch passed and dawn approached, Ning Changge slowly opened his eyes. He sensed that the figure outside had staggered away, its aura considerably weakened. Even a strong body like the monkey's would suffer from prolonged kneeling. Ning Changge was unmoved. From then on, every night at the midnight hour, after the Wudang disciples had gone to sleep, the spiritual monkey would come to the scripture pavilion to kneel and kowtow. Its eyes were steadfast, even as its aura weakened day by day, it never wavered. Ning Changge's eyes gradually showed admiration, but he still did not meet the monkey. 3 days passed. Zhang Sanfeng summoned Ning Changge first. Seeing his pupil's aura subtly stronger, Zhang Sanfeng's eyes were filled with admiration. Changge, it seems your cultivation has improved again. Ning Changge smiled lightly. Just a bit of luck. What does Master have for me this time? Zhang Sanfeng replied slowly. Last night, I had a sudden inspiration while gazing at the moon from the mountain. I captured a thread of opportunity for my advancement to earthly immortal. If I follow this opportunity deeply, there is great hope. Ning Changge felt happy for his master. This is great news. Master should seize this chance to go into seclusion and advance to the earthly immortal stage. That way you can support your disciples in the future. He laughed and made a playful remark. Zhang Sanfeng appeared a bit guilty. Considering the time, your eldest senior brother and the others should reach Shaolin in a few days. Although they have your methods to protect them, I've been worried. Originally, I wanted to wait for Song Yuanqiao and the others to return to the mountain before going into seclusion. Ning Changge's expression turned serious. Opportunities for enlightenment do not wait. If missed, they will fade and it will be too late to regret. Master, do not worry. With me in Wudang, nothing will happen. As long as the senior brothers return safely, I will handle everything. You can go into seclusion with peace of mind. He understood Zhang Sanfeng's concerns. He was worried about Song Yuanqiao and also felt it was unfair to place the responsibility on Ning Changge. Master feels ashamed. Ning Changge chuckled. Isn't it said that when the master has something to do, the disciples should bear the burden? If even such a small matter makes you feel distant, you might as well have left me at the foot of Mount Hua to be eaten by wolves. Zhang Sanfeng couldn't help but smile. He admired his little disciple even more. The trip to Mount Hua was indeed his opportunity, Otherwise, how could he have received such an outstanding disciple? He was deeply attached to Song Yuanqiao and the others. But deep down, he also yearned for a highly talented disciple to inherit his legacy. Ning Changge perfectly met his requirements and even exceeded them. In that case, Wudeng will be entrusted to you. I will go into seclusion for several months at the shortest, a year at the longest, and I am confident of success. Zhang Sanfeng was full of heroic spirit. Ning Changge smiled. Then I wish Master a swift achievement of the earthly immortal stage. He watched Zhang Sanfeng enter the forbidden area and felt his own determination rise. He didn't envy the earthly immortal stage of martial arts. He aimed to achieve true immortality, eternal and free in the heavens and earth. After Zhang Sanfeng went into seclusion, Wudeng became more quiet. Without the public teachings, the third-generation disciples could only cultivate independently. Each one was determined to work hard to make a good impression on their next trip down the mountain with their master or senior uncles. The atmosphere on Wudeng Mountain was fervent. Ning Changge didn't have to worry about mundane affairs. He only needed to oversee Wudeng, ensuring no uninvited thieves dared come. With the reputation of Master Zhang of Wudeng, usually no one dared to cause trouble. Ning Changge stayed in the scripture pavilion with little difference except fewer visitors. No, there was one visitor, or rather, a monkey, who remained persistent. 7 days had passed since the monkey first came to kneel at night. During these 7 days, the monkey came punctually. Perhaps it had observed the behavior of the Wudeng disciples. It increasingly resembled a human, with all manners in place. It believed that if it persisted one day, it would move the immortal. However, in these 7 days, the monkey visibly weakened. With Ning Changge's spiritual pressure affecting it, daily kneeling and kowtowing would be detrimental even to steel and iron bones. An ordinary human would have been near death long ago, but the monkey persevered. During the second watch, the monkey staggered, about to leave. Suddenly, the doors of the scripture pavilion opened, and a faint voice came from within. "You little monkey, come in." There, inside the pavilion, was the figure it had yearned to follow for a lifetime. As it walked in slowly, the spiritual monkey curiously looked around and soon saw a young Taoist in a white robe sitting on a meditation cushion, eyes slightly closed, exuding an ethereal aura. Filled with respect and admiration, it didn't know how to speak. It simply knelt before Ning Changge and kept kowtowing. Ning Changge slowly opened his eyes and looked at the spiritual monkey before him. Compared to a few days ago, the monkey's condition had undoubtedly worsened, but his spiritual sense quickly noticed that its bones were even stronger than after its transformation in the forest. "Your aptitude is indeed excellent. No wonder out of so many beasts, only you could develop spiritual intelligence and gain spiritual power," Ning Changge thought to himself, nodding slightly. He had no idea how many such spiritual beasts existed in this world. However, the spiritual monkey in front of him had gained its intelligence because of him. Now, its determination to seek the Tao was strong, and it had never shown any aggression towards humans. Therefore, he didn't mind guiding it a bit, seeing it through to the end. With a smile, he raised his hand and infused a stream of evergreen spiritual energy into the monkey's body. The fatigue and weakness of the past days vanished instantly. The eternal evergreen technique, which focused on longevity and vitality, had top-notch healing abilities. The monkey regained its vigor, extremely excited, but it still respectfully kowtowed to Ning Changge. Having secretly observed the Wudeng disciples every day, it had learned some manners which it now displayed impressively. Ning Changge chuckled. "Why did you kneel outside my scripture pavilion for 7 days?" The monkey's eyes showed longing. It suddenly became very solemn, pointed to the sky with its right hand, and then carefully pointed to Ning Changge. "You want to learn my arts of flying and traversing the earth?" The monkey nodded repeatedly. Its instincts told it that if it relied solely on this opportunity to survive in the wild, it could later fight tigers and dominate other beasts. But that was the extent of it. Becoming the king of beasts was not its desire. Having awakened its spiritual intelligence, it sought more. The opportunity before it was its chance. Therefore, after Ning Changge left that day, it resolved to find him. Ning Changge said, "The immortal arts cannot be lightly passed on. Seeing your sincerity, you can follow me in cultivation and serve as my attendant. In the future, you will need to protect Wudeng's safety. Can you do that?" The monkey's eyes filled with immense excitement, and it nodded vigorously. "Since that is so, you must curb your arrogance and impatience, learn to read and write, and study the Taoist classics with me." Ning Changge pondered for a moment, then continued. You were born in the wild and have now gained spiritual intelligence with a heart for the Tao. This is a new beginning for you. Your fur is golden, so I'll name you Jin Ling, Golden Spirit. The monkey was so excited it couldn't help but flip a few somersaults. Realizing it had been a bit too exuberant, it quickly knelt and kowtowed again. Ning Changge laughed. In the future, you will learn to restrain your wild nature. With a wave of his hand, a gray Taoist robe appeared. Spiritual energy swirled around, transforming it into a brand-new, fitted robe, which Jin Ling respectfully received and put on. A spiritual monkey Taoist boy now stood before Ning Changge. He couldn't help but laugh heartily. Excellent! The next day, some third-generation disciples came to the scripture pavilion to borrow Taoist classics. From a distance, they saw a small figure sweeping the ground with a round, furry head. They were surprised to see a new sweeper in the scripture pavilion and were about to approach. The small figure turned around, and the disciples were shocked. It wasn't a small boy, but a monkey. Covered in golden fur, with round eyes, pointed ears, a face full of hair, a thin body, a sharp mouth, and a shrunken chin, it wore a gray Taoist robe appearing quite peculiar. What is this? Where did this wild monkey come from? How dare it scare people? The disciples were first shocked, then angry, and couldn't help but shout. The golden monkey bared its teeth in response, showing a fierce expression. At this moment, Ning Changge's calm voice came from the scripture pavilion, causing everyone to bow respectfully. Don't be alarmed. This is Jin Ling, my newly accepted attendant. He has gained spiritual intelligence, so you must not treat him as an unintelligent beast. He is your junior brother. The disciples were taken aback. This was the voice of their little martial uncle. Looking again at Jin Ling, they saw clarity and intelligence in his eyes. The disciples, being reasonable, immediately realized their previous thoughtless words had angered the monkey. Ah, so it's junior brother Jin Ling under little uncle's tutelage. We were ignorant and spoke rudely. Please forgive us, junior brother. The disciples' eyes showed apology as they bowed to apologize. Jin Ling, feeling a bit embarrassed, returned the bow repeatedly before moving to another area to continue sweeping. However, a strange feeling rose in its heart. This was something it had never felt while reigning in the mountains and forests. Seeing that Jin Ling could indeed understand human speech and even new manners, the disciples were even more amazed. They couldn't help but marvel at their little martial uncle's ability to take a spiritual monkey as an attendant. It didn't take much thought to realize that such a spiritual monkey was no ordinary creature. Ning Changge watched all this, smiling and shaking his head. This was a necessary process. Jin Ling would eventually need to integrate into Wudang, and the Wudang disciples also needed to adapt to having such a unique junior brother. After the disciples finished borrowing the Taoist classics, they left one by one. However, the news that their little martial uncle had taken in a spiritual monkey as an attendant quickly spread throughout Wudang. Soon, third-generation disciples came to the scripture pavilion under the pretense of borrowing Taoist classics. Ning Changge, finding the situation both amusing and frustrating, eventually waved his sleeve, driving out the curious disciples. Subsequently, he arranged a time to publicly teach the Tao. During this period, Jin Ling served as an attendant, officially entering the view of all Wudang disciples. Jin Ling, being intelligent and knowing manners, quickly learned whatever he was taught. Feeling the goodwill of the Wudang disciples, he soon integrated with them, and the disciples were thrilled to have such a unique junior brother. With this, the scripture pavilion finally returned to its peaceful state. The bright moon hung high. Ning Changge, eyes filled with surprise and contemplation, watched Jin Ling absorbing the essence of the moonlight. He hadn't taught Jin Ling any immortal arts yet, only human knowledge and basic martial arts with the Wudang disciples. However, Jin Ling, being extremely intelligent and gifted, learned everything quickly. As for absorbing the essence of the moonlight, Jin Ling had figured it out by himself. Of course, in Ning Changge's eyes, this technique was very crude and inefficient. While it did absorb some essence of the moonlight, it was merely breathing deeply towards the moon, occasionally resonating with the strands of moonlight energy and the spiritual energy within Jin Ling, allowing a bit to enter his body and strengthen his bones. At this rate, if Jin Ling relied on such rudimentary techniques to cultivate, he would never achieve the Tao. At most, he would become a steel-boned monkey king. As for transforming into a demon or achieving immortality, even 1,000 years of such cultivation would be futile. Ning Changge observed for 3 days and gained some insights. He began contemplating how to tailor his teachings to Jin Ling's unique circumstances. Jin Ling's situation was extremely unique. Over the past few days of close observation, Ning Changge had gained a more detailed understanding of Jin Ling's condition. The initial spiritual energy storm, combined with Jin Ling consuming the spiritual fruit, had created his current semi-spiritual body. This kind of opportunity couldn't be replicated. Even if another monkey were placed in a spiritual energy-rich environment and given spiritual pills and fruits, it wouldn't transform as Jin Ling did. It could only be said that this was Jin Ling's own good fortune. Ning Changge had been contemplating how to cultivate Jin Ling over the past few days. Directly giving him a cultivation method was unrealistic. The eternal evergreen technique was a method Ning Changge had created for himself, unsuitable for others. As for creating a new technique specifically for Jin Ling, that was also impossible. With Ning Changge's current foundation, it wasn't that he couldn't create one, but it would take a significant amount of time, perhaps a year, to create a universal cultivation method. This was why he hadn't taught his master or senior brothers any cultivation methods yet. It was more practical to first improve his own cultivation. Once he advanced to the golden core stage, creating new methods would be much easier, and the resultant techniques would be even better. Initially, Ning Changge planned to let Jin Ling cultivate martial arts first, and then join his senior brothers in cultivation. However, Jin Ling's self-devised method of swallowing the essence of the moonlight gave Ning Changge a new idea. Absorbing the essence of the moonlight to enhance the physical body and spiritual energy might be a good choice. Jin Ling already has some spiritual energy within him. Maybe he can start cultivating earlier, Ning Changge thought as he observed closely. Under the scrutiny of his heavenly eye, each thread of moonlight entering Jin Ling's mouth was clearly visible. The moonlight intertwined with the spiritual energy, continuously strengthening his muscles and bones. Although the efficiency was low, the enhancement was real. Interesting. Ning Changge's interest grew stronger. With his extraordinary talent for understanding, he loved to explore the essence of things. His celestial phenomena spirit tempering technique also had the effect of absorbing the essence of the moonlight, but it was used to temper spiritual sense. Now, seeing Jin Ling absorb the moonlight to temper his body gave him new inspiration. The essence of the moonlight, the purple energy of the rising sun, the power of the stars, all belong to celestial phenomena. If the moonlight can temper the body, then the purple energy and the power of the stars should also be able to do so. Unconsciously, Ning Changge's mind began to spark with inspiration. 2 days passed. Ning Changge woke from his meditative state, as if awakening from a dream, with a smile in his eyes. It was the time when the purple energy of the rising sun was ascending. Behind him, a vortex of spiritual energy manifested, and the purple energy rolled in from the sky, entering his body. Once inside, it split into 2 parts, one to strengthen the spiritual sense and the other to temper the body. The effect was even better than when he previously only strengthened his spiritual sense. Wonderful, Ning Changge laughed heartily. You observed the spiritual monkey swallowing moonlight, gained further insight into the essence of moonlight, and understood the uses of celestial phenomena's power. Your celestial phenomena spirit tempering technique has advanced further, and you have created the celestial phenomena body refining technique. Celestial phenomena spirit tempering and celestial phenomena body refining. This aligned perfectly with the Tao of yin-yang coexistence, achieving a synergy greater than the sum of its parts. For a moment, Ning Changge felt his understanding of the Tao of yin-yang deepen. He called Jin Ling over. Jin Ling stood respectfully in front of him. During his days in Wudang, he had been exceptionally happy. He had learned many things, and the Wudang disciples treated him well. He felt unprecedented respect and a growing sense of belonging to Wudang. Of course, he was most grateful to Ning Changge. Without Ning Changge, there would be no Jin Ling today. Today, I will teach you the celestial phenomena body refining technique. This technique was created based on your method of swallowing moonlight. I hope you will diligently cultivate it. In the future, you may awaken supernatural abilities and become a powerful demon king, Ning Changge said solemnly. He was indeed curious to see how far Jin Ling could go, but it ultimately depended on Jin Ling's own fate. A master leads you to the door. Cultivation is up to the individual. Ning Changge pointed a finger, sending a stream of spiritual light containing the information of the celestial phenomena body refining technique into Jin Ling's mind. Jin Ling moved to tears, knelt, and kowtowed. Though he could not speak, he could distinguish between good and evil. He gestured animatedly, trying to express his gratitude. Ning Changge chuckled, "I don't need you to protect me. If one day I am no longer in this world, just watch over Wudang for me." Jinling nodded earnestly. "All right, go and cultivate well. This technique requires diligent practice over time. Also, don't neglect your martial arts. Combined with your spiritual body, it will also offer protection," Ning Changge advised as he watched Jinling respectfully leave. Ning Changge shook his head slowly. Taking in Jinling was partly to fulfill karma. It was also a calculated move. Jinling's unique physique had already provided inspiration for Ning Changge to create the celestial phenomena body refining technique, from which he had greatly benefited. If Jinling ever awakened some supernatural ability, Ning Changge would also benefit. With his extraordinary talent for comprehension, Ning Changge needed more references to grow faster. This was mutually beneficial. On Wudang Mountain, life went on peacefully, with the only change being the addition of an intelligent little monkey. Ning Changge maintained his steady progress, and with the help of the Ascension Spirit Pill and Transformation Spirit Pill, his cultivation advanced rapidly every day. Meanwhile, the 7 heroes of Wudang and many third-generation disciples finally reached the Xianxia territory. In the martial world of the Ming dynasty, news of the dragon-slaying assembly was spreading like wildfire. Xianxia and the others witnessed a lot of bloodshed on their journey. There were even massacres, with anyone connected to the dragon-slaying saber meeting a tragic end. Some reckless individuals even attacked the Wudang group. Fortunately, with their high cultivation levels, everyone at least at the innate stage, they managed to eliminate all attackers. "Senior brother, something doesn't seem right. When the dragon-slaying saber appeared a few years ago, it wasn't this exaggerated. Why does it seem like everyone has gone mad now?" Zhang Sanfeng frowned as he shared his thoughts. Xianxia nodded. "You're right, fifth brother. I've been thinking these days that there might be some hidden conspiracy behind this. Perhaps someone is trying to stir up chaos in the martial world. What could be their purpose? How would causing chaos in the Ming martial world benefit the person behind this?" Everyone pondered, frowning. The various killings they had seen along the way left them feeling uneasy. "No matter what, we hope the dragon-slaying assembly proceeds smoothly. Finding the dragon-slaying saber could prevent many innocent deaths." The 7 heroes of Wudang had hearts of chivalry, and Zhang Sanfeng had always taught them so. At this moment, a swift figure entered the room. It was Mo Shengu. He spoke urgently. "Senior brothers, I've heard that someone is spreading the news that the heavenly sword and the dragon-slaying saber are keys to the Yang Gong treasury of the Sui dynasty." The news was so shocking that everyone was stunned for a moment. Then Xianxia's stern voice rang out. "Nonsense. Though the Sui and Ming dynasties border each other, the heavenly sword and dragon-slaying saber appeared 100 years ago. How could they be keys to Yang Gong's treasury?" It was obvious that someone had deliberately spread this news to provoke greed. It might even be an attempt to disrupt the martial worlds of both dynasties simultaneously. Mo Shengu smiled wryly. "The problem is that too many people believe it. Their eyes have been blinded by greed." For a moment, everyone felt a sense of helplessness. This seemed like an unsolvable situation. Human greed sometimes even surpasses one's own control. The dragon-slaying saber, with its own legend, was enough to tempt people. Furthermore, rumors of the Yang Gong treasury only intensified the allure. Legend has it that the Yang Gong treasury was filled with countless weapons, gold, secret martial arts manuals, and even the legendary evil emperor's relic. Such a treasure trove would stir the hearts of both the martial world and ambitious court officials alike. The only solution now is to find traces of Zai Zun, retrieve the dragon-slaying saber, and preferably destroy it in front of everyone. Perhaps this might quell the current turmoil, Xianxia finally said after a long pause. This might be the only way, eliminate the source of greed to gradually calm the disputes and killings in the martial world. The dragon-slaying assembly will be held in a few days. Let's see what plans Shaolin has then. Everyone was deeply concerned. If the turmoil continued, even Wudang wouldn't be able to stay unaffected. A few days later, more and more martial artists gathered in the Shaolin territory. The 5 Mountain Sword Sects Alliance arrived the day before and joined Wudang. Yue Buquan and others, after switching to the techniques created by Ning Changge, had made significant progress in their strength. Seeing the Wudang group now, they naturally showed utmost respect and looked to Wudang for guidance, which surprised the other martial sects. Unconsciously, Wudang's reputation rose another level. In addition, various major forces sent representatives. Kongtong Sect, Kunlun Sect, Divine Sword Manor, Crescent Moon Villa, Imei Sect, and other renowned righteous sects all sent disciples, and even the Dragon Guard Villa under the Iron Courage Marquis had representatives, giving Shaolin ample face. Shaolin was known as the sacred land of martial arts, with countless eminent monks and branches in various dynasties, holding a significant position in the martial world. However, the Shaolin Temple in the Ming Dynasty didn't have a good relationship with Wudang. Early on, Zhang Sanfeng had some connections with Shaolin, leading them to believe that Wudang's founding was stolen from Shaolin. This notion only subsided when Zhang Sanfeng ascended to the level of heaven and man, though it remained buried in their hearts. In the grand Shaolin Temple Hall, an impressive number of martial experts with notable reputations gathered. Abbot Kongwen of Shaolin looked around and proclaimed loudly, "Fellow martial artists, today Shaolin has called everyone here to hold the dragon-slaying assembly for the good of our Ming martial world. We are grateful for your presence, and this old monk thanks you in advance." His kind demeanor prompted everyone to return the courtesy. "Abbot Kongwen, there's no need for such words. Shaolin monks are known for their compassion. It is only right for us to gather here in response," said the Imei sect's Master Jingguang with a smile. Master Jingguang, with his impressive cultivation, represented Imei this time. Usually it was Master Miayu who led them, but given the sensitivity of the dragon-slaying saber and Imei's heavenly sword, they decided to avoid suspicion and sent someone else instead. Master Jingguang seemed quite enthusiastic. After some pleasantries, Kongwen got to the point. "Since everyone has gathered here, I won't beat around the bush. A few days ago, our Shaolin temple captured Zai Zun. We have invited everyone here to witness and discuss a proper resolution. How should we deal with the golden-haired Lion King and the dragon-slaying saber? We don't want the turmoil surrounding the dragon-slaying saber to continue, nor do we want the martial world to think that Shaolin is secretly coveting the saber." As Kongwen finished speaking, the hall erupted in chatter. Song Yuanqiao and the others exchanged glances, surprised that Shaolin had already captured Zai Zun. With this, they only needed to properly deal with the dragon-slaying saber. They observed quietly, feeling that things wouldn't be so simple. Clearly, Shaolin had also sensed that something was amiss. In the shadows, secretive glances were exchanged. Not everyone shared Song Yuanqiao's view of destroying the dragon-slaying saber. Many were eager to claim it for themselves. Master Jingguang laughed heartily. "I didn't expect Shaolin to have already accomplished such a great deed in secret and to bring it out for everyone to discuss. Imei is impressed by such magnanimity." He was the happiest. If the dragon-slaying saber could be destroyed, it would lose its function as a key, and Imei's heavenly sword would be safe. During this period, Imei had also faced considerable pressure. Someone posed a question. "May I ask, Abbot, where are Zai Zun and the dragon-slaying saber?" Kongwen smiled faintly, understanding that he needed to show proof. He led the group outside the hall. "Everyone, please follow me." They walked through the Shaolin temple, crossing 2 squares and several halls, finally stopping under a lush bodhi tree. There, a large iron cage was prominently placed. Inside, it was a burly, blind man with wild golden hair, none other than the golden-haired Lion King, Zai Zun. Several monks guarded the cage, and upon seeing the group, they bowed in greeting. Zai Zun, sensing the approaching footsteps, roared furiously, "Who is it? Which Shaolin bald donkeys have you invited this time? A filthy place like Shaolin should know that I, Zai Zun, will never submit." Kongwen ignored him. A monk respectfully brought forward a magnificent giant saber. Its blade was domineering, with a dragon's mouth enveloping the hilt, exuding an extraordinary aura that left everyone in awe. No wonder it's the legendary dragon-slaying saber, truly extraordinary. Gui Hai Yidao from Dragon Guard Villa, a blade lover, was particularly fascinated, recognizing its exceptional nature at a glance. It was the same for other martial experts. But the most shocked were the Wudang group. Under the effect of the heaven-watching talisman, Song Yuanqiao and the others felt an overwhelming surge of spiritual energy almost blinding them. What intense spiritual energy! The materials of this dragon-slaying saber are incredibly precious spiritual items. The 7 heroes of Wudang exchanged astonished glances. They had seen powerful spiritual items before, like the human-sized spirit-gathering stone in the 5 Mountain Sword Sects Alliance, and the natural sword embryo brought by Yue Buquin and others. But the spiritual energy of the dragon-slaying saber surpassed them both. For a moment, they couldn't help but breathe faster. Such a spiritual item, if brought back to little martial uncle, would make him extremely happy. Kongwen's voice was full of authority. Everyone, both the man and the saber, are here. What do you think we should do? The saber can be either suppressed in our Shaolin or destroyed. As for Zai Zun, though he has caused killings, it was not his true intention. Shaolin wishes to convert him to Buddhism. What do you all think? Everyone had mixed feelings. Shaolin wanted both the man and the saber. It seemed they had invited everyone to the so-called dragon-slaying assembly just as a formality, intending to keep both the saber and Zai Zun themselves. Song Yuanqiao spoke up. The saber will only bring more trouble if kept. It's better to destroy it. Though he coveted the saber's rich spiritual energy, it was currently in Shaolin's possession, and he couldn't just take it by force. Just as Kongwen was about to speak, a strange laughter echoed. Hehe, what sanctimonious Shaolin monks! You imprison our Ming cult's king and steal our treasure saber. Now you want to make the Lion King your lackey. Disgusting, I spit on you. Lion King, we're here to save you. Voices came from all directions. Everyone was startled and instinctively looked around. At that moment, a monk who had been guarding Zai Zun revealed a sinister look and swiftly opened the cage. Zai Zun, like a ferocious tiger unleashed, extended his hand, and the dragon-slaying saber in another monk's hands flew directly into Zai Zun's grasp as if it had a life of its own. With the dragon-slaying saber in hand, Zai Zun's aura surged as he roared furiously to the sky. Cheng Kun, you bastard, come and face your death. The 7 heroes of Wudang drew their swords and secretly prepared their talismans, shielding the Wudang disciples. Meanwhile, sounds of fighting erupted outside, revealing the attacker's identity as the Ming cult. Although fragmented, many powerful figures still respected the golden-haired Lion King Zai Zun and had come to aid him, including the green-winged Bat King, the white-browed Eagle King, and the Sack Monk. Unexpectedly, Zai Zun didn't plan to escape or join forces with the Ming cult outside Dot. Instead, he shouted, Cheng Kun, prepare to die, and charged towards a monk in Shaolin Temple. Yuan Zhen? Seeing Zai Zun's target, the Shaolin monks were puzzled. They didn't understand why Zai Zun wanted to kill Yuan Zhen while shouting Cheng Kun's name. But there was no time to ponder. The situation quickly descended into chaos, with battles breaking out everywhere, leaving Shaolin Temple in disarray. Shaolin monks rushed to stop Zai Zun, seeing Zai Zun's murderous intent. Cheng Kun panicked, deeply regretting his arrogance in revealing everything to Zai Zun the previous day. He realized if he hadn't bragged, he could now watch the drama unfold safely rather than face this dire situation. Zai Zun, you're insane! Cheng Kun roared, finally unleashing his famed skill, the heaven-shattering thunder hand. Though blind, Zai Zun's hatred fueled his lethal intent. His wild saber energy forced Cheng Kun to dodge frantically, unable to confront the dragon-slaying saber's unparalleled sharpness directly. Cheng Kun, you killed my family, betrayed us to the Mongols, and caused chaos in the martial world. You deserve to die. Zai Zun's roar shocked everyone, including Song Yuanqiao and the others. They were stunned to learn that the turmoil in the martial world was orchestrated by the Mongol Yuan dynasty. Though unconfirmed, it seemed credible. The Mongols had always eyed the Central Plains hungrily, and they had every motive to sow chaos. What shocked everyone more was a Shaolin monk's involvement, raising suspicions of hypocrisy. They looked at Abbot Kongwen with newfound distrust. Enough! Shaolin is a place of purity, don't slander it with your nonsense. Many monks were enraged and attacked Zai Zun together, aiming to quickly subdue him. Zai Zun roared in anger. Instead of striking others, he swung the dragon-slaying saber at himself, severing his left arm. His blood soaked the saber, turning it a sinister red and making it even sharper with a formidable aura that kept the monks at bay. This was a technique Zai Zun had discovered by chance, using his blood to strengthen the bond with the dragon-slaying saber, enhancing its power. If Ning Changge were here, he would recognize this as a crude form of blood refinement. Brothers, you should leave. Staying here for me isn't worth it. Zai Zun shouted to his Ming cult allies, appearing like a madman. He was ready to die with only one goal in mind, to kill Cheng Kun. Saber light flashed, slicing through several Shaolin monks. Finally, no one stood between Zai Zun and Cheng Kun. With a resolute swing, Zai Zun decapitated Cheng Kun. Everyone was stunned. The Ming cult members retreated. Watching from a distance, the rest watched Zai Zun, blood tears in his blind eyes, holding the saber with his severed arm. I've finally avenged you. Zai Zun's roar moved everyone. Once leading a happy life, his family was destroyed by Cheng Kun. His wife violated, his son killed. His hatred was boundless. Now, everyone understood the situation. A Shaolin monk with a grudge against Zai Zun had caused his family's massacre. Zai Zun's return to the martial world for revenge led to the killings, while the monk secretly allied with the Mongols, creating chaos. Everyone's eyes flickered with realization. Kongwen, looking at the dead monks, shouted in anger, "Zai Zun, you must die for your crimes today." But Zai Zun's face twisted into a strange smile. He laughed bitterly. "I, Zai Zun, have killed countless and bear heavy sins. Now that my revenge is complete, I have no face to live on. I know you want the dragon-slaying saber, so take it." Laughing wildly, he struck his chest, blood trickling from his mouth as his strength waned, falling. His face showed deep disdain. In his final moment, he threw the saber high into the air. Everyone's eyes followed the saber, their hearts racing. The memory of Zai Zun's ruthless massacre was fresh, and now the masterless saber tempted them all. Finally, someone couldn't resist. "The dragon-slaying saber causes chaos. Only I, Ding Peng of Crescent Moon Villa, the demon blade, can suppress it. This saber should be taken back to prevent further bloodshed." A master from Crescent Moon Villa leaped towards the airborne saber, moving swiftly to grasp it. But others wouldn't allow it. Most attendees of the dragon-slaying assembly had ulterior motives. People like Song Yuanqiao, who genuinely wanted to destroy the saber, were rare. "How dare you? Ding Peng is called the demon blade. How can the dragon-slaying saber fall into his hands? This saber pairs with the heavenly sword. It should be kept by a Mei sect for everyone to study. Shaolin found the saber. How can you take it? Shaolin's scandalous behavior makes them the least qualified to keep the dragon-slaying saber. By order of the Marquis, we will take the saber to destroy it before all the heroes, ending the chaos." In an instant, experts from various sects attacked, their greed overtaking reason, with a plausible excuse, even those who once wanted to destroy the saber. Like Master Jingguang, fought to seize it. Chaos reigned. The 7 heroes of Wudang exchanged glances, their eyes burning with determination. They weren't after the saber's sharpness. Their own swords, forged by Little Martial Uncle, were equally fine. They coveted the saber's immense spiritual energy. "This saber will be invaluable to Little Martial Uncle. We should take it back to Wudang and destroy it before everyone, ending the turmoil and providing him with rare materials." "This is a win-win." Transmitting their thoughts secretly, the 7 heroes of Wudang nodded firmly. "Attack!" Zhang Quizhen, channeling his yin-yang energy, used his peerless lightness skill, floating cloud rainbow feathers, to leap tens of meters, reaching for the dragon-slaying saber under his companion's cover. After Ning Changge's spiritual power had cleansed him, Zhang Quizhen's aptitude had soared. His strength was growing every moment. He had now reached the mid-stage of the Grandmaster level, surpassing even Song Yuanqiao, solidifying his position as the foremost of the 7 heroes of Wudang. At this moment, with yin-yang infinity technique in full swing, Zhang Quizhen was brimming with vigor, instantly standing out from the chaotic melee with a swipe of his sword. The boundless Qinglong sword Qi burst forth, clearing a path. His floating cloud rainbow feathers technique was as ethereal as a celestial being. Under the gaze of all, Zhang Quizhen seemed to ascend to heaven, leaping several dozen feet into the air and grabbing the dragon-slaying saber. The scene fell silent. Moments ago, many had fought fervently, yet none had touched the saber now. Wudang's sudden action, with their stunning lightness skill, caught everyone's eyes, even surpassing the Qing-winged Bat King's agility. Wei Yixia was dumbfounded. What the hell is that body technique? Everyone could only watch as Zhang Quizhen, moving elegantly, returned with the dragon-slaying saber to the Wudang faction. Inside, Zhang Quizhen felt a thrill. It was exhilarating. The floating cloud rainbow feathers technique was created by Ning Changge, based on Wudang's ladder cloud vertical, with an effect similar to hovering and gliding, far superior to the original. With the dragon-slaying saber now in Wudang's hands, all eyes turned to them. The 7 heroes of Wudang stepped forward, a surge of Grandmaster aura instantly erupting behind them. Disciples revealed their innate cultivation, their gazes cold and piercing. The crowd gasped. Wudang's previous low profile had masked this. Unbeknownst to everyone, Wudang had developed such a deep foundation. It was terrifying, especially with the Huashan sect and others rallying around Wudang, advancing and retreating together. It made others wary. Yet the allure of the dragon-slaying saber was substantial, and the crowd clearly wouldn't let Wudang leave so easily. The white-browed Eagle King of the Ming cult spoke gravely. We have always respected Zhang Zhenren. The dragon-slaying saber was the weapon of our law king. Now that he has passed, does Wudeng intend to seize the saber like these other louts? The crowd implicitly surrounded Wudeng. Despite Wudeng's strength, the place was filled with experts, including many grandmasters and even elites. Leaving easily wasn't realistic. Song Yuanqiao, scanning the crowd, spoke with unwavering composure. The dragon-slaying saber has existed for over a century, coincidentally falling into Zai Zun's hands. Now that he's gone, whoever holds it owns it. Teagle King. Your words are unreasonable. Should we then ask the saber's owner from 100 years ago? The crowd's expressions shifted. The Ming cult members were about to retort when Song Yuanqiao continued. Indeed, Wudeng desires the saber, but not for selfish reasons. Everyone heard the Lion King and the Shaolin monk's conversation clearly. The turmoil surrounding the dragon-slaying saber involves the Mongol Yuan dynasty, aiming to watch our Ming martial world fall into chaos. If the Mongols were to invade due to this, it would result in unimaginable suffering. Our master often taught us to discern right from wrong and understand propriety. Wudeng is willing to take the risk and temporarily keep the dragon-slaying saber. In a month, we will invite all heroes to Wudeng to witness its destruction together. Only then will the killings in the martial world cease. I vow on my master's century-old reputation that Wudeng will not keep the saber for ourselves. Song Yuanqiao's words were grand and firm, his gaze serene, instilling trust in everyone. Behind him, the Huashan sect members shouted in agreement. Indeed, now, in the Ming dynasty, we only trust Wudeng and Zhang Zhenren's character, unlike some who appear righteous but have hidden agendas. This veiled swipe at Shaolin darkened Kongwen's face. Hearing Song Yuanqiao's pledge on Zhang Sanfeng's name, everyone exchanged glances. Now, anyone trying to seize the saber would be seen as acting out of selfishness. Song Yuanqiao cleverly positioned himself on the moral high ground. For a moment, many contemplated retreat and gradually returned, and they saw this as the most rational solution. Since they couldn't obtain the saber, its destruction was a viable option. However, not everyone accepted this easily. Wudeng's 7 heroes. Though I respect the title, apart from Zhang Sanfeng, does Wudeng have anyone noteworthy? The dragon-slaying saber should be entrusted to us for safekeeping. An elder from Crescent Moon Villa suddenly attacked. Despite Wudeng's increased prowess, many still doubted them. This elder, fierce and cunning, aimed a demonic blade at Zhang Quizhin. The blade, energy dark and sinister. Ding Peng. The demon blade was a heaven-man-level master, and his discipline's techniques carried a demonic aura. Zhang Quizhin snorted, handing the dragon-slaying saber to Mo Shengu and stepping forward. For the first time, he fully exerted the yin-yang infinity technique. Grandmaster level yin-yang energy surged, forming a faint Taiji diagram before him, reflecting Zhang Sanfeng's essence. The demonic blade energy shattered upon contact with the Taiji diagram. With a swing of his sword, Zhang Quizhin's Qinglong sword Qi slashed the elder, cutting him in multiple places and aiming for his throat. The elder's face changed dramatically, retreating with a startled cry. The sword energy followed him, stopping only after cutting a fine line on his throat. The elder, shaken, bowed with respect and fear. I spoke rashly. The 7 heroes of Wudeng live up to their name. Zhang Zhenren's teachings are exceptional. Thank you, Zhang Daxia, for sparing my life. He led the Crescent Moon Villa members away, withdrawing from the contest. The scene fell silent. Everyone looked at Zhang Quizhin in shock. A fellow grandmaster was defeated so easily, showcasing frightening strength. This battle ensured the 7 heroes of Wudeng's reputation would spread throughout the Ming world. But some remained unconvinced. Wei Yixao gritted his teeth and attacked. If Wudeng takes the dragon-slaying saber, our Ming cult will be ridiculed. With ghostly agility, he lunged. Yin Liding snorted, using floating cloud rainbow feathers. Among the 7 heroes, he excelled in lightness skill. The 2 shadows danced, mesmerizing the onlookers. A dull thud echoed. Wei Yixao, blood at his mouth, retreated, his eyes filled with shock. Wudeng's lightness skill is peerless. Wei Yixao, concede. The Ming cult withdrew. The Amei sect's master Jingguang couldn't resist, realizing that even if Wudeng took the saber, they needed to show their strength to avoid later rumors of Wudeng's dominance over all sects. In that moment, everyone attacked. The 7 heroes of Wudeng met each challenge. A grandmaster swordsman from Divine Sword Manor attacked, but Yin Liding, with his Qinglong sword technique, defeated him swiftly. Gui Hai Yidao from Dragon Guard Villa tried to intercept, but was also bested by Zhang Songxi's blade skills. Each battle left onlookers stunned. Wudang's 7 heroes displayed unparalleled skill in lightness, swordsmanship, and martial arts, defeating opponents effortlessly. It was astonishing. Seeing the calm Wudang disciples, everyone fell silent. This battle had shown them Wudang's true power. With no more challengers, Song Yuanqiao, smiling, clasped his hands and said, "Since no one objects, Wudang will take the dragon-slaying saber dot in a month. We will invite all heroes to Wudang to witness its destruction, preventing the Mongols from using it for more bloodshed." The crowd remained silent. As Wudang prepared to leave, several Buddhist chants echoed, appearing instantly before the crowd. 3 elderly monks stood there, saying, "Master Song, please leave the dragon-slaying saber in Shaolin Dot. It is most fitting for us to destroy it." Their aura erupted, shocking everyone. 3 Heavenman-level masters. The crowd had been engrossed in the skirmishes, with most combatants being of the Grandmaster level at most. But now, with the sudden appearance of 3 Heavenman-level masters from Shaolin, everyone was stunned. Each person silently marveled at Shaolin's deep foundation. Abbot Kongwen finally breathed a sigh of relief. He had refrained from stopping Song Yuanqiao and the others, secretly sending for reinforcements instead. Upon seeing the 3 elder monks, he respectfully greeted them. "Greetings, masters unbearable, calamity, and difficulty." These old monks, who appeared suddenly, had deeply sunken cheeks and were extremely gaunt. One had a yellowish complexion, another was darker, and the third was pale. Blocked by the monks, the Wudang contingent tensed up Heavenman-level masters rarely intervened, typically leaving grandmasters to display their prowess in the martial world. However, today had been a disastrous day for Shaolin. Their plan to elevate their prestige had backfired with the scandal involving Yuan Zhen. If they allowed Song Yuanqiao and the others to leave with the dragon-slaying saber, Shaolin's reputation would be tarnished, while Wudang's would soar at Shaolin's expense. Such an outcome was unacceptable to Shaolin. Song Yuanqiao's eyes showed a hint of gravity as he slowly said, "So it is Masters Dudji and Dunnan. My master spoke of meeting you decades ago and regretted not hearing of you since. To learn that you've reached the Heavenman level is a cause for celebration." The crowd now recognized the trio. Some recalled their identities and looked astonished. Strictly speaking, Zhang Sanfeng and these monks were of the same generation. It had been assumed they had passed away. But instead, they had achieved Heavenman-level mastery, extending their lifespans significantly. However, Song Yuanqiao sensed that their aura was far weaker than his master's, likely at the lowest Heavenman levels, the 1st or 2nd rank. Once he processed his shock, he regained his composure. He touched the warm talisman in his pocket, calming himself. What was there to fear from mere 1st-rank Heavenman masters? "My junior brother said this talisman could withstand a Heavenman master, so it will." Song Yuanqiao had unwavering faith in Ning Changge. The 7 heroes of Wudang unleashed their aura, countering the 3 monks' pressure, their eyes sparkling with determination. The crowd was amazed. Wudang showed no fear even before Heavenman masters. The yellow-faced chanted a Buddhist mantra softly. "We have been away from the martial world for decades, yet we are still remembered. Since your master once paid respects before Buddha, surely he would not wish for you to take the dragon-slaying saber, inciting further bloodshed." His words subtly belittled Zhang Sanfeng. Zhang Quizhin immediately protested. "Master's words are inappropriate. My master did not practice martial arts at Shaolin, as widely known. My brother's actions reflect our master's teachings. Even if my master were here, he wouldn't allow the dragon-slaying saber to roam the martial world, causing more killings. If Shaolin intends to bully us, let it be known." This accusation of bullying turned Shaolin monks' faces pale with frustration. But they had no choice. Shaolin's disciples couldn't compete with the 7 heroes of Wudang, hence why they summoned the 3 monks. The hot-tempered, black-faced Dunnan was enraged. "The dragon-slaying saber was found by Shaolin today. Your Wudang seeks to take it without following the rules and dares speak of bullying." Brothers, Shaolin need not consider this trifling 3rd-rate sect founded by a Shaolin reject. The dragon-slaying saber must remain with Shaolin. If it is to be destroyed, Shaolin will do it. Tension escalated instantly, and even the bystanders moved back, sensing the brewing conflict. The 7 heroes of Wudang were furious. "You bald monk dare insult our master." Calling Zhang Sanfeng a Shaolin reject was a direct affront to them. The youngest, Mo Shengu, couldn't hold back his rage anymore. His eyes blazing, he unleashed a sword chi. But Dunnan shattered it with a casual finger, showcasing the vast gap between Heavenman and Grandmaster levels. Excellent today. We'll capture you and have Zhang Sanfeng come to Shaolin to beg for your release. Dunnan's face was cold, and golden light began to emanate from his body. The Buddhist golden body was imposing. The oppressive sensation spread, making the onlookers' faces pale. Some sneered at the seven heroes' ignorance. Even grandmasters were like infants before heaven-man masters. However, Yue Buquan and others watched with anticipation. They remembered the terrifying Qinglong sword Qi on Mount Song, understanding why the seven heroes of Wudang were so confident. Sure enough, Mo Shengu exploded. His eyes blazing, he drew a talisman. If you want my master to apologize, we'll first crush you baldies. Behold my junior brother's talisman magic. Tearing the talisman, the world appeared to change color. Yimu Qinglong sword Kai, Kaian Hue vermilion bird sword Qi. Roar. Cry. The roars of dragons and cries of phoenixes echoed terrifying sword Qi materialized. Vivid green Qinglong sword Qi and fiery red vermilion bird sword Qi, fiercely attacking the three heaven-man monks. The crowd was dumbstruck, unable to comprehend the source of such fearsome sword Qi. Although the talismans could only manifest about 30% of Ning Changge's spell power, their sheer quantity was overwhelming. Countless sword Qi filled the sky, transforming into Qinglong and vermilion bird forms, roaring towards the monks. The three monks' expressions changed drastically. The invisible force of the world was shredded facing such ferocious sword Qi. They immediately assumed their golden body forms, filling the air with golden light, clashing with the Qinglong and vermilion bird forms. Bang, 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 bang. The deafening clashes forced the onlookers to retreat repeatedly. The Crescent Moon Villa Elder and Wei Yixiao, who had previously fought the seven heroes, swallowed hard, eyes wide with horror. If they had used this sword Qi earlier, wouldn't we have been instantly killed? Who is this junior brother? Rumor has it that Zhang Zhenren took an eighth disciple. Could he be this miraculous? Mo Shengu's proclamation was clear to all, prompting speculation about Wudang's mysterious junior brother. Each person was deeply shaken. When had Wudang begun to transform so profoundly? Only Yue Buquan and his group watched with bright eyes, each demonstration of the talisman's magic leaving them in awe. At this moment, the field was filled with golden light, but under the sword Qi's bombardment, it dimmed visibly. The seven heroes of Wudang intermittently tore talismans, bombarding the monks, causing Shaolin monks to turn pale but not daring to intervene. The sword Qi's power was too overwhelming. When the bombardment finally ceased, the crowd saw that the three monks were in dire straits. Their bodies were covered in dense wounds, bloodied. They had formed a circle at some point, their golden light almost gone, but still with some residual force, beginning to coalesce again. Song Yuankeo squinted. The diamond, demon-subduing circle, remarkable skills. I advise you three monks, refining your golden body is no easy task. Do not waste it here. The monks had survived thanks to the diamond, demon-subduing circle, combining their powers, nearly equal to a fourth-rank heaven-man master. Yet even so, they had almost lost their combat ability. The monks' eyes blazed with fury. Their mindsets shattered. Hearing Song Yuankeo's advice only angered them more, convinced that Wudang had exhausted their tricks. Today you will not leave Shaolin. Song Yuankeo shook his head, his eyes cold. He drew a white jade talisman, saying icily, if you won't listen to reason, then taste my junior brother's pure yang true fire and see your inferior golden body burned away. He crushed the talisman. In an instant, a deep blue pure yang true fire appeared, its terrifying heat shocking everyone. The moment the deep blue flame appeared, even Song Yuankeo and the others felt a bone-chilling fear. The onlookers were even more terrified, feeling an inexplicable dread that made them instinctively step back. It was as if even a slight touch from the flame would lead to their immediate demise. The crowd stared intently at the flame, their hearts trembling. What is that? Did Song Yuankeo call it pure yang true fire? Who on earth is this junior brother, even without being present? He can so easily stir up the world and even suppress heaven-man masters. Could he have already reached the level of an immortal on earth? Is this Wudang's eighth disciple really that terrifying? Why have we never heard of him? What kind of martial art is this? So bizarre and astounding. The crowd was utterly shocked and full of speculation. In this way, Ning Changge made his grand entrance into the martial world of Ming. But the most noticeable reactions came from the three monks, Dudji, and Dunnan. Initially, they thought Song Yuankeo's advice was just a stall tactic, an attempt to bluff his way out. They never expected him to produce such a terrifying talisman so quickly. They had seen talismans before. The old heavenly master of Longhu Mountain and some legendary sword immortals could embed a fraction of their sword intent into a person, unleashing immense power. But for the 7 heroes of Wudang to casually pull out a bunch of talismans and pose a threat even to Heavenman masters was beyond their imagination. As the pure Yang true fire emerged, the 3 monks felt an intense tingling throughout their bodies. Their golden bodies trembled, as an unprecedented sense of doom washed over them, making their scalps tingle. "Not good," the 3 monks cried out internally. They wanted to speak, but it was too late. Song Yuanqia was not one to be indecisive. "If you won't heed advice, then taste my fire." With a cold expression, he activated the true fire through the talisman. Bzzz. The pure Yang true fire surged, transforming into various phenomena: a true dragon, a fierce tiger, an immortal pointing the way, and a demonic wolf devouring the moon. Under everyone's shocked gaze, the pure Yang true fire engulfed the 3 monks. "Ah!" Horrific screams echoed from within the flame, sending chills down everyone's spines. Even during the earlier barrage of sword chi, the monks had not uttered a sound. But now, with the fire barely touching them, they couldn't endure. The pure Yang true fire, being true essence fire, not only burned the body but also consumed the true essence and protective chi. The 3 monks didn't sit idly by. They formed a peculiar stance, maximizing the effectiveness of their diamond demon-subduing circle. Golden light filled the air, making the very void seem to tremble. The full power of their golden bodies combined, showcasing the ultimate might of Buddhist martial arts. The golden light morphed into various Shaolin techniques: fists, claws, palms, all entangling with the pure Yang true fire. Masters like the white-browed Eagle King and Golden Light Master watched in silence, awed by the power of the golden body, but even more so by the terrifying pure Yang true fire. Without comparison, one cannot grasp the magnitude of the difference. Despite the golden body's immense power, it slowly melted under the fire's intense heat. The fire's various phenomena continually tore through the golden light, causing the monks' screams to intensify. The pain of having their true essence burned was unimaginable. The blue flame seemed inexhaustible, growing stronger as it consumed the golden body's protective chi. The 3 monks, once epitomes of enlightenment, now looked utterly twisted and screamed in agony. Bang! With a crisp sound echoing through the sky, everyone's attention fixed on the scene as Doe's golden body was the first to shatter. Bang! Bang! 2 more crisp sounds followed, as Dudgy and Dunnan's golden bodies also broke. Not only that, but the pure Yang true fire also burned away their Heavenman true essence. In other words, after this ordeal, the 3 Heavenman monks were reduced to mere husks. The scene fell into a deathly silence, filled only with the sound of shocked and horrified gasps. Song Yuanqiao calmly dissipated the pure Yang true fire, looking at the now pitiful and aged 3 monks without a shred of pity. They had insulted Zhang Sanfeng and deserved their fate. As for why he didn't kill them outright, it was unnecessary. With their true essence burned away, they would not survive more than 3 days without their martial prowess. No need to carry the burden of such a reputation. Song Yuanqiao's actions were impeccable. The martial experts present dared not speak. Wudang's overwhelming aura made them feel intense pressure. Gui Hai Yidao from Dragon Guard Villa couldn't help but mutter, "Is such martial art truly of this world?" His words echoed the thoughts of many. They didn't realize Ning Changge practiced immortal arts, merely thinking it to be peerless martial arts, stored temporarily for the 7 heroes to use. Unknowingly, the crowd began to have a mix of reverence and fear for the unseen 8th disciple of Wudang. Meanwhile, Shaolin's monks glared in anger but dared not speak out. "What a display! Wudang certainly has impressive tactics, truly a righteous sect," Dunnan croaked, his voice hoarse, devoid of prior arrogance. Mo Shengu sneered, "Wudang is indeed a righteous sect, not like Shaolin, a place harboring filth. Look closely, your grandpa Mo doesn't care for the dragon-slaying saber." He drew his sword with a clang. "This sword is named Yao Guang." The blade gleamed coldly using the floating cloud rainbow feathers technique. He appeared to flash like an immortal before the Shaolin monks, his sword light flickering without the use of any true essence. After a series of crisp sounds, all the iron staves held by the Shaolin monks were cleanly cut in 2, the cuts smooth as if encountering no resistance. This display of sharpness left the crowd wide-eyed. Such a treasured sword was nearly on par with the dragon-slaying saber. The 7 heroes of Wudang stepped forward, their swords drawn. "Sword name Tian Shu. Sword name Tian Quan. Sword name Kai Yang. 7 peerless swords gleamed, and without any true essence enhancement, people realized just how sharp their swords were. The crowd fell silent. As Mo Shengu said, with such swords in hand, they truly had no need for the dragon-slaying saber. This further confirmed that the 7 heroes aimed to destroy the saber to prevent more chaos, making Xiaolin's actions seem even more disgraceful in comparison. Wudeng's heroes' high righteousness. Gui Haiyadao genuinely admired, others also praised. Seeing his goal achieved, Song Yuanqiao smiled, glanced at the silent Xiaolin monks, and addressed the crowd. In that case, we invite everyone to Wudeng in a month, to prevent any claims that Wudeng would keep the dragon-slaying saber. He gave a look towards the Xiaolin monks before leading the Wudeng disciples away, with everyone watching, none daring to stop them. The Xiaolin monks' faces turned ashen. The 3 monks spat blood and collapsed. Xiaolin descended into chaos again. What was meant to bolster Xiaolin's prestige turned into a disastrous conclusion, with Xiaolin suffering significant losses. After leaving Xiaolin, Song Yuanqiao and the others, to avoid any ambushes, used 5 elements escape talismans and wind-riding cloud talismans to speed their journey. In no time, they understood what it meant to fly and escape, marveling at Ning Changge's techniques. In just 2 days, they returned to Wudeng. Upon learning that Zhang Sanfeng was in seclusion, Song Yuanqiao and the others' expressions changed. They immediately sought Ning Changge, explaining everything in detail. "Junior brother, this is the dragon-slaying saber." They realized that in a month, Wudeng would be the gathering place for all heroes. They silently cursed their own rashness. What had been a satisfying victory at Xiaolin now seemed like a burden for their junior brother. Ning Changge listened and merely smiled. He gazed at the dragon-slaying saber, its dual-colored aura shining, and exclaimed in amazement, shaking his head, "What a waste of a treasure." Wasting a treasure? Song Yuanqiao and the others looked at Ning Changge, puzzled by his exclamation. They were still anxious about how to handle the situation in a month, fearing any unforeseen events. They could only use the talisman of heaven's insight to see that the dragon-slaying saber was made of material rich in spiritual energy, surpassing even the previous spirit-gathering stones and the naturally formed sword embryos. This prompted them to bring the dragon-slaying saber back. This way, after destroying the dragon-slaying saber, they could justly keep the materials at Wudeng. In this manner, they could prevent further bloodshed in the martial world and provide their junior brother with a valuable treasure. However, they didn't know that the dragon-slaying saber was even more useful to Ning Changge than they had imagined. At this moment, Ning Changge's eyes were filled with joy. With the talisman of heaven's insight activated, the material of the dragon-slaying saber was laid bare through its exterior. He could see that it was filled with 2 types of spiritual light, rich gold and wood element spiritual energy comparable to the Xianxia sword. If he extracted them, he could undoubtedly forge 2 spiritual swords, each no less than the Xianxia sword. A gold element spiritual sword and a wood element spiritual sword. This was why Ning Changge lamented that it was a waste of a treasure. The person who forged this blade had merely used the original spiritual ore as a hard material to create a sword, akin to using fine jade to prop up a table leg. For Ning Changge, the value of 2 spiritual swords was far beyond this. He aspired to the Tao of the 5 elements. Using the 5 elements to evolve a perfect Tao foundation, he would eventually reach the foundation establishment stage. He had already grasped the 5 elements escape technique. If he could forge 5 spiritual swords to complement the 5 elements sword chi, it would be a sure thing. He already had a fire element spiritual sword, the Xianxia sword. The dragon-slaying saber would solve the gold and wood elements, leaving only earth and water elements needed, saving him much effort. Hence, Ning Changge was very pleased. In contrast, he was indifferent to the concerns that Song Yuanqiao and the others had. Song Yuanqiao and the others were anxious. "Junior brother, what do you think we should do? In a month, heroes from across the realm will gather at Wudeng. If anything goes wrong and disturbs Master's seclusion, we will be the sinners. Should we send the saber away or announce to the world that we will destroy it after Master comes out of seclusion?" Ning Changge couldn't help but laugh. Just now, he had been engrossed in examining the dragon-slaying saber and had overlooked his senior brother's anxiety. He waved his hand to reassure them. "Why the need for such measures? Since we've already announced to the martial world that we will invite them to Wudeng in a month. We cannot go back on our word. It would only invite more idle talk, and there's no need for that. Master's seclusion won't be affected. I'll handle everything." Ning Changge's voice was filled with strong confidence, which immediately eased Song Yuankeo's anxiety. He sighed. "Junior brother, we've caused you trouble." Ning Changge laughed and said, "What are you talking about? Senior brother, the dragon-slaying saber is of great help to me. A little trouble is nothing. With me here, there's no need to worry." During this time on Mount Wudang, he hadn't been idle. Not only had his cultivation reached the 10th level of qi refining, but he was also getting closer to the great perfection stage of qi refining. His spiritual energy was incredibly dense, and even his physical body had improved significantly. The heavenly phenomenon body refining technique and the heavenly phenomenon spirit refining technique complemented each other, rapidly advancing both his spiritual awareness and physical body, greatly enhancing his combat power. As of now, he could easily take on 3 Zhang Sanfengs at once. So, whether Zhang Sanfeng was in seclusion or not made little difference to him. Compared to the benefits brought by the dragon-slaying saber, this minor trouble was negligible. Senior brothers, don't worry. However, it indeed requires careful preparation, senior brother. During this month, you must train the disciples well to avoid losing face when others come. Deal with the small fry yourselves. If you can't handle them, leave it to me. Ning Changge's calm attitude finally eased Song Yuankeo and the others. Smiles returned to their faces. Naturally, this is a great opportunity for Wudang to make a name for itself. If we destroy the dragon-slaying saber in front of all the heroes, our Wudang disciples will be revered in the martial world. This was a certainty. Ending the strife and stopping the killing would save countless lives invisibly. With this weight off their minds, the 7 heroes of Wudang began to boast to Ning Changge about their exploits at Shaolin, especially Mo Shenggu, who recounted their victory with great enthusiasm. When he described how the pure yang true fire shattered the golden bodies of the 3 monks, his saliva was flying everywhere. Ning Changge couldn't help but smile at the corners of his mouth. Indeed, Wudang was livelier with his senior brothers around. A figure in a gray robe entered, serving them spiritual tea. Jin Ling, having initially mastered the heavenly phenomenon body refining technique, could now manipulate spiritual energy. Usually, he helped Ning Changge with tasks like watering the spiritual tea tree refining pills and tempering materials, especially the spiritual tea he brewed, which was exceptional. Mo Shenggu reached out to take the tea, ready to continue his bragging, but his peripheral vision caught sight of a long-haired face standing beside him. Startled, his hand shook, and he jumped up. A strange cry escaped him. "Eek, where did this little monkey come from?" Only then did everyone notice Jin Ling, their eyes turning mechanically towards him. Jin Ling looked a bit aggrieved. Ning Changge tapped his monkey head and smiled at the others. "Senior brothers, don't be alarmed. I was just about to introduce him. This is Jin Ling, a new disciple. He is quite intelligent and understands people well. Jin Ling, greet your senior uncles." Jin Ling quickly set down what he was holding and respectfully bowed to Song Yuankeo and the others, his demeanor humble. His actions and behavior were no different from a human. After mingling with the Wudang disciples for some time, Jin Ling had learned a lot. Song Yuankeo and the others were amazed, especially Mo Shenggu, who circled around Jin Ling several times. He laughed heartily, threw an arm around Jin Ling, and said cheerfully, "Little Jin Ling, it was your uncle's ignorance earlier. I'll find you some big peaches to make up for it. If anyone dares to bully you at Wudang, just tell your uncle." Everyone showed kind smiles. Though they were surprised, nothing seemed strange in front of their junior brother anymore. An intelligent little monkey was rather fascinating. Jin Ling was touched and kept bowing to them. Though he couldn't speak, he had a sharp sense of good and evil. After some discussion, everyone left. Ning Changge shook his head with a smile and then instructed Jin Ling, "Work hard in your cultivation. Over the next month you'll need to assist your senior uncles and brothers afterward." Jin Ling nodded repeatedly and left. Ning Changge watched Jin Ling's departing figure, nodding in approval. He had been very pleased with Jin Ling's performance. With his firm resolve to seek the Tao, he had practiced the heavenly phenomenon body refining technique diligently every day, earning Ning Changge's satisfaction. Now with a body of steel and the ability to manipulate spiritual energy, Jin Ling could be considered the 3rd strongest in Wudang. Ning Changge shook his head, gazing at the horizon, and slowly put away the dragon-slaying saber. In a month, chaos would surely arise. Though he was unafraid, it was best to make thorough preparations to ensure everything went smoothly. He closed his eyes and began to meditate quietly. At the same time, news of the dragon-slaying conference at Shaolin Temple spread rapidly through the martial world. The 7 heroes of Wudang had shown great power, and the 3 monks Duji and Dunnan had perished. In a month, Wudang had invited heroes from all over to gather at Tianzhu Peak to witness the destruction of the dragon-slaying saber. For a time, the conflicts and killings sparked by the dragon-slaying saber began to subside, with everyone's focus shifting to Wudang with the cautionary tale of the Shaolin dragon-slaying conference. Everyone looked forward to seeing if Wudang could successfully destroy the saber and restore peace to the martial world of Ming. The martial world was in upheaval, and all major forces turned their attention to Wudang. At Yihua Palace, 2 peerless beauties sat facing each other. The one in the chief seat wore a white dress. Her appearance was stunning, but her expression was frosty, like ice. The one in the lower seat wore a yellow dress, also exceptionally beautiful, but with a more lively expression, less cold and more animated. They were the chief and second masters of Yihua Palace, Yayu and Liangxing. These 2 were among the most extraordinary women in Ming. Liangxing's cultivation was impressive, but Yayu's was not inferior to the 3 Shaolin monks, a peerless genius. She even had some hope of ascending to the level of an earthly immortal in the future. Liangxing, with a charming smile, asked, "Sister, those bald monks at Shaolin suffered a huge loss this time. 3 Heaven Man masters passed away. I fear Shaolin will decline significantly. Who would have thought Wudang had such hidden power? It's truly astonishing. Wudang has invited the heroes of the world to witness the destruction of the dragon-slaying saber. Shall we go?" Yayu, expressionless, pondered for a moment and said, "We shall go. A mere dragon-slaying saber is not worth mentioning. Only fools believe in treasures and unparalleled martial arts. I only believe there are no strongest martial arts. Only the strongest people. However, I am somewhat interested in that pure yang true fire." Her eyes revealed a rare curiosity. True fire refining the golden body. Wudang's 8th disciple forced 3 Heaven Man monks to their demise, without even showing his face, having not witnessed it herself. She was eager to see if the pure yang true fire lived up to its reputation. There were many rumors about the dragon-slaying conference at Shaolin Temple that day. Some said Zai Zun used the dragon-slaying saber to kill Yuan Zhen. Others marveled at the astounding martial skills of the 7 heroes of Wudang, showcasing their peerless techniques. The green dragon sword Qi and vermilion bird sword Qi caught the attention of swordsmen everywhere, who wanted to witness such terrifying sword Qi that could overpower Heaven Man masters. But the most legendary tale was undoubtedly about the pure yang true fire, the fire that refined the golden bodies of the 3 monks, leading to their demise, added a layer of mystique to the story. The golden body technique was exclusive to Heaven Man monks, making them invulnerable to blades and Qi. Yet the unseen 8th disciple of Wudang, with just a flame brought by his senior brother, shattered the golden bodies of the 3 monks, forcing them to perish. Naturally, this left everyone in awe. Yao Yue, a person who thrived on strength, rarely took action unless necessary. Hearing about the pure yang true fire, she was intrigued and wanted to witness it herself. She was also curious about the mysterious 8th disciple of Wudang. Lian Xing, covering her mouth, giggled. "It's rare to see you so interested. Sister, I'll go make preparations if you're going out. We must not let Yihua Palace lose face. I wonder if those 12 Zodiac members will show up." Yao Yue said indifferently, "In a month, Wudang will be full of turmoil. The dragon-slaying saber is coveted. And so is Wudang's foundation. Zhang Sanfeng has been quiet for a long time. He might be in seclusion, trying to reach the level of an earthly immortal. Some people may not want him to succeed." She saw beyond the obvious. If Zhang Sanfeng became an earthly immortal, it would change the dynamics of the martial world in Ming. Lian Xing nodded in surprise, not having considered this angle. She had thought everyone's focus would be on the dragon-slaying saber, perhaps with some trying to seize it. At Divine Sword Manor, a handsome young man stood with his hands behind his back, listening to his subordinates' reports. He had an air of both a wandering swordsman and a king. He was Zai Feng, the 3rd young master of Divine Sword Manor. "3rd young master, should we go to Wudang in a month?" a subordinate asked respectfully. Zai Feng turned around and asked, "Did you say that the sword Qi at Shaolin that day transformed into a green dragon and vermilion bird?" His eyes showed intense interest. This subordinate, a master swordsman who had fought Wudang at Shaolin, couldn't help but reveal a look of amazement. "Yes, I saw it with my own eyes. The overwhelming sword Qi was like a storm. The 3 monks could barely resist it and were ultimately burned by the pure yang true fire." Zai Feng shook his head slowly. Ordinary people only saw the terror of the pure yang true fire, but as a heaven man swordsman, he saw the wonder of the sword chi. Sword chi transforming into spirits. I wonder what it would be like if Wudeng's 8th disciple wielded it himself. Wudeng often attended my sword trial conference in the past. I should go to Wudeng and meet the master of this sword chi. Swordsmen shared a mutual appreciation. Zai Feng felt lonely. He wanted to see different swords, knowing the path to becoming an earthly sword immortal was arduous and required constant accumulation. At the Sun Moon Holy Cult. On Blackwood Cliff, a group of demonic cult experts knelt before a red-robed figure, who had a soft androgynous face. Dongfang Bubai giggled softly. I heard Zhu Lengchen and Ren Waxing were both killed by Wudeng. Even Yue Buquan and the 4 factions of Mount Hua have pledged allegiance to Wudeng. Ren Yingying's eyes filled with anger and hatred. Reporting to the cult leader, Ren Waxing was a traitor to our holy cult, but he was still one of us. Wudeng killed him without regard for our holy cult. Please, cult leader, make a decision. A ghostly figure suddenly flashed by. Ren Yingying felt a stinging pain on her cheek as if touched by electricity, making her shiver with disgust. A strange, eerie voice whispered in her ear. Ren Yingying, do you want revenge for your father? Wudeng has such a deep foundation with Zhang Sanfeng and that low-profile 8th disciple both being heavenman masters. Do you want me to go to my death? I wouldn't dare. Ren Yingying, sweating profusely, knelt and kowtowed. Dongfang Bubai snorted. You better not, as the saintess. I don't want to punish you. Reflect on your actions. He looked down at his slender fingers, muttering to himself. But I should still go see the excitement at Wudeng. I'm not interested in the dragon-slaying saber, but I want to see what that 8th disciple who killed Ren Waxing looks like. At the Imei sect. The atmosphere was tense. Imei's 4 great masters were gathered, and many disciples bowed their heads, not daring to speak. Imei's leader was Dugu Yihi, whose depth was unfathomable. The other 3 were Golden Light Master, Taoist Shenzai, and Abbess Miayu, all top experts in the martial world. They had also heard about Wudeng's invitation in a month, making Imei feel awkward. The dragon-slaying saber and the heaven-reliant sword were both famous. Recently, the emergence of the dragon-slaying saber had caused a bloody storm, affecting Imei as well. Many coveting the heaven-reliant sword came to Imei Mountain, trying to probe the situation. Many bodies were thrown down the mountain, staining it with blood. Wudeng's decision to destroy the dragon-slaying saber in front of everyone drew even more attention to Imei. Look at Wudeng's magnanimity. They chose to destroy the dragon-slaying saber for peace, while Imei kept the heaven-reliant sword, guarding it closely. In comparison, Wudeng seemed more generous, and Imei faced criticism. Golden Light, your actions at Shaolin were inappropriate. Imei already struggles with having the heaven-reliant sword. If you had taken the dragon-slaying saber, it would make us a target. Duguye, he said slowly, with a hint of blame. Golden Light Master looked troubled but nodded silently. His greed had clouded his judgment at the time, and now he realized his mistake. Abbess Miayu, with a fiery temper, snorted. Leader, although Brother Golden Light's actions were unwise, the root cause lies with Wudeng. With their foundation, they could have kept the dragon-slaying saber. Instead, they play the magnanimous act of destroying it publicly, making us look petty. Not using a divine weapon? What fools! She was naturally displeased, holding the heaven-reliant sword herself. Duguye shook his head slowly. Given the situation, we cannot attend Wudeng's conference, otherwise we'll become the target. Lock the mountain gates. I have a bad feeling. Taoist Shenzai wanted to speak but was stopped by Duguye. Everyone bowed and left. Duguye watched their departing figures, silent for a long time. At Shaolin Temple, the atmosphere was somber. Shaolin's status in Ming had plummeted. What was supposed to be a grand dragon-slaying conference turned into a disaster. First, Yuan Zhen, a ruthless villain, brought shame to Shaolin by committing massacres and causing chaos in the martial world. Then the 3 monks, Duji and Dunnan, had to intervene, leading to their demise. Shaolin lost face and suffered heavy losses. The senior monks of the Kong generation gathered in the Great Buddha Hall, their expressions grim. Though Buddhism taught detachment, they couldn't achieve it. Brother Kongwen, are we just going to watch Wudeng flaunt their power? If their conference to destroy the saber goes smoothly, Wudeng will trample all over us. A hot-tempered monk cursed. Zhang Sanfeng was once a Shaolin disciple. Such ingratitude, forcing the 3 monks to perish, is truly despicable. Kongwen didn't scold the monk for breaking precepts. He remained silent. After a long pause, Kongwen finally spoke, his eyes firm. In a month we will go to Wudeng. The monks were shocked. But The unspoken words were clear to everyone given Shaolin's current strength. Causing trouble at Wudang seemed suicidal. Kongwen's eyes were distant. I will visit the Song Dynasty Shaolin. The monks' faces changed. Shaolin's legacy was long with branches in various dynasties. Though competitive, they rarely sought help from each other unless necessary. But now it seemed the only option. Asking for help from other branches was better than being oppressed by Wudang. The monks' eyes burned with anger, their fists clenched. The martial world was in turmoil. Countless experts and factions turned their attention to Wudang, awaiting the grand event in a month. Some were curious about Wudang, eager to see the eighth disciple and their skills. Others wanted to witness the destruction of the dragon-slaying saber firsthand. Some harbored ill intentions, hoping to cause trouble. Various factions discussed this major event in secret. Dragon Guard Villa, Crescent Moon Villa, the Ming Cult, 10,000 Plum Manor, the 12 Zodiacs, Evil Valley, and even some forces from the Sui dynasty were all in motion. It was clear that Wudang would be bustling in a month. Compared to the undercurrents among other factions, the atmosphere on Mount Wudang was somewhat peculiar. A little monkey was single-handedly sparring with numerous third-generation disciples, while Song Yuanqiao and the others watched, occasionally offering pointers with serious expressions. After discovering Jin Ling's steel-like physique, the 7 heroes of Wudang had enlisted him as a training partner for the third-generation disciples. As a result, the disciples were quickly pushed to their limits, crying out in pain. Jin Ling's strength was no joke. Take this seriously. We have just over half a month before the other sects arrive at Wudang. Don't embarrass us. Show them the spirit of Wudang disciples. Song Yuanqiao shouted. The disciples' faces were resolute, while Jin Ling chuckled. The training was easy for him, providing a good opportunity to hone his combat skills. After Ning Changge's advice, he had been diligently practicing day and night. Jin Ling, understanding human nature, felt a strong sense of belonging to Wudang as they treated him well. Ning Changge, observing through his spiritual sense, couldn't help but smile. He soared into the sky on a sword light, heading towards the back mountain. Unlike Song Yuanqiao and the others, who were meticulously preparing for the conference, Ning Changge took it in stride. Though he made some preparations, he mostly let things unfold naturally. With his current cultivation, he wasn't worried about any problems. He treated it as any other day. Daily cultivation, enlightenment, reading scriptures in the library, refining pills, and occasionally sitting on the cliffs, watching the sunrise and sunset. The clouds rolling by with his deepening cultivation. His understanding of the natural phenomena grew. Time passed slowly. Ning Changge's mind became more tranquil, unaffected by the impending gathering of heroes. On a rainy night, amidst pouring rain and thunder, Ning Changge held a Tao scripture. Deeply immersed in study, he had already comprehended the Taoist texts of Wudang and the 5 Mountain Sword sect, transforming them into a foundation that would emerge at critical moments, guiding him in creating new techniques. He was engrossed in the Xianxia Thunder Crystal Hidden Book. 2 hands form the thunder array, the tongue is the thunder axe, the gallbladder is the thunderbolt, the heart is Marshal Deng, the gallbladder is General Xin, the kidneys are Marshal Zhang. The 5 organs are the 5 thunders. The 8 characters of Gulu Jai Li Deng Seng De Si are the names of the 8 trigrams thunder gods, guarding the body with the fire of the trigrams. The hands and feet are the 8 pillars. His understanding of the thunder in the world deepened. There are 5 thunders in the world: heavenly thunder, earthly thunder, water thunder, dragon thunder, and societal thunder. There are also 10 thunders: jade pivot thunder, divine firmament thunder, great cavern thunder, immortal capital thunder, North Pole thunder, supreme unity thunder, purple mansion thunder, jade morning thunder, supreme firmament thunder, and supreme ultimate thunder. Although thunder techniques are a variant of the 5 elements, their mysteries are unique yet closely related to the 5 elements, thus forming the 5 thunders. These 5 thunders have both yin and yang aspects, thus forming 10 thunders. As the various thunder techniques and Taoist texts he had read came to mind, Ning Changge suddenly felt inspired. He used his escape technique to ascend high into the sky, facing the thunder directly. In the sky, thunder flashed, deep purple thunderbolts like divine axes, seemingly ready to split the sky in half, evoking awe. Mortals feared the heavens, but immortals did not. Ning Changge stood with his hands behind his back, looking up with pride. With the talisman of heaven's insight activated, the essence of the thunder gradually revealed itself. The intense energy made his eyes sting. But he was unafraid. A cultivator must be fearless, seeking immortality to attain the Tao. The thunder seemed enraged, Crack, boom! A thunderbolt struck towards Ning Changge as if to punish this audacious being. Ning Changge's body emitted a blue spiritual light intertwining with the thunder, gradually neutralizing it. Boom! This action seemed to provoke the thunder. Furthermore, thunderbolts danced. Engulfing Ning Changge, the power that even Heavenman masters feared did not intimidate him. He entered a state of profound enlightenment. The essence of the thunder was being analyzed. The blue spiritual light on his body evolved rapidly, becoming more resilient and mysterious. This was a protective technique. Occasionally, thunder penetrated, but Ning Changge's body withstood it. The heavenly phenomenon body refining technique had made his body strong. He didn't know how long had passed. His insights blossomed and bore fruit, solidifying into reality. You have thoroughly studied thunder techniques and comprehended the thunder in the world. You faced the thunder directly, analyzing its essence, and during a rainy night, you achieved enlightenment, creating the immortal technique Jade Pivot Heavenly Thunder Method. You have comprehended part of the thunder's essence. During a great thunderstorm, you tested yourself against the thunder, revealing the mysteries of evergreen spiritual power. Your heavenly phenomenon body refining technique has advanced, and you have created the Kwai-Wood Blue Light Shield. The golden sun rose. Tianzhu Peak welcomed the morning's purple aura. The torrential rain of the previous night had long disappeared. Ning Changge slowly opened his eyes. They were filled with joy. Enlightenment in the rainy night. One was a thunder technique, the other a shield technique. One was the most potent and destructive technique in the world, the other a technique for self-preservation. One offensive and one defensive, complementing each other perfectly. Looking at the sunny Wudang after the rain, Ning Changge couldn't help but laugh heartily. Such a beautiful scene called for a grand celebration. Hearing Ning Changge's joyous laughter, the Wudang disciples felt their tension and anxiety dissipate. Song Yuanqiao and the others exchanged glances, seeing relief and admiration in each other's eyes. The entire Wudang was on edge. Only their junior brother remained calm, treating it as a normal day. Such a high level of composure commanded their respect. A few days passed in a blur. The month flew by and the day arrived. The Wudang disciples donned new robes and the entire mountain was refreshed. All preparations were in place. Song Yuanqiao glanced towards the library and shouted, "Open the mountain gates, welcome the heroes of the world." "Two, by the order of my master, great senior brother, welcome the heroes of the world to the mountain," Song Yuanqiao commanded. All the Wudang disciples shouted in unison, their voices thunderous. At the peak of Tianzhu, the steps spiraled upwards with a Wudang disciple stationed at intervals, continuing all the way to the foot of the mountain. As the resounding shouts echoed from the mountain peak, the Wudang disciples passed the call with their internal force, creating an impressive display. The crowd couldn't help but look astonished. As expected of the sect founded by Zhang Zhenren, every Wudang disciple is truly a dragon among men, each a talent. The 5 elders of Kongtong exchanged glances and couldn't help but praise. The strength of the Kongtong sect was on par with the Hueshan sect, with the headmaster only at the level of a master. But now, looking at the Wudang disciples, who were mostly innate experts and some even approaching the level of masters, one couldn't help but be amazed and shaken. Yao Yue, seated on a flower palanquin, also displayed a hint of surprise. A solemn middle-aged man from Dragon Guard Villa poked his head out of a carriage. Equally astonished Zhu Wuxi couldn't help but marvel at Wudang's foundation, already showing signs of becoming a holy land of martial arts. He silently measured Wudang's status, unconsciously elevating it even higher. "Honored guests, please proceed up the mountain." The Wudang disciples maintained a respectful yet confident demeanor, showing their grace. Even in the face of many grandmasters and even Heavenman realm experts, they were entirely composed. The thought of their profoundly talented junior uncle and the founder in seclusion, attempting to reach the level of an earthly immortal, filled them with confidence. Many martial artists couldn't help but admire this. Climbing the steps of Tianzhu Peak, each displayed their skills, but no one dared to cause trouble first. The foundation Wudang showcased had everyone intimidated. This was in stark contrast to the chaos during the dragon-slaying conference at Shaolin. At Shaolin, various sects mixed and created disorder, giving the Ming cult an opportunity to exploit. But now, everything was orderly. Even when encountering Shaolin monks, the Wudang disciples showed no discrimination, treating everyone equally, displaying great magnanimity. As the crowd ascended, they soon saw Wudang's various courtyards and pavilions. Along the way, Wudang disciples stood tall and focused, their presence making them stand out. Such talents would be core disciples in any other sect. But at Wudang they were everywhere. Soon enough, the crowd's admiration grew as they met the 7 heroes of Wudang. Today, Song Yuanqiao and the others wore Taoist robes, exuding grandeur. Song Yuanqiao laughed heartily. Honored guests, welcome to Wudang to witness the destruction of the dragon-slaying saber. It is our great honor. My master is in seclusion, so I, Song Yuanqiao, will host you today. If there's any lack in our hospitality, please forgive us. His demeanor was calm, completely devoid of the previous anxiety. A late-night chat with Ning Changge had made him fully understand Wudang's strength. Thus, he directly informed everyone that Zhang Sanfeng was in seclusion. As soon as he said this, reactions varied. Some eyes started to gleam with Zhang Sanfeng, the powerful Heaven-Man master. Absent, perhaps they could exploit the situation. However, the sharper ones quickly realized and couldn't help but ask in astonishment, dare I ask, is Zhang Zhenren in seclusion to break through to the earthly immortal realm? For a moment, the scene fell silent. Heaven-Man masters like Zhu Wuxi, Yao Yue, and Zai Xiaofeng were all visibly shaken. An earthly immortal was the ultimate pursuit of every martial artist. Song Yuanqiao humbly responded, "My master had some insights a few months ago." He didn't finish his sentence, instead loudly proclaiming, "Let's get back to the matter at hand today. We've invited you to discuss the dragon-slaying saber. This saber has caused bloody conflicts in the martial world. We, Wudang, have taken it upon ourselves to destroy it today, hoping to restore peace to the martial world of Ming. Please bear witness. Everyone, please proceed." The crowd snapped back from the shock of Zhang Sanfeng's potential breakthrough, their hearts racing. The dragon-slaying saber was the real reason everyone was gathered here today. At the martial arts arena, under the guidance of Wudang disciples, everyone took their seats. On the high platform, a Taoist altar made of spiritual grasses caught everyone's attention. Its appearance was so remarkable that Yao Yue's eyes flickered, feeling a strong life force from it. Some people quietly inquired with the Wudang disciples. Upon learning the origin of this spiritual altar, their gazes turned peculiar. An altar formed when teaching the Tao? How is that possible? They dismissed it as Wudang's flashy trick to impress. However, when they learned it was related to the legendary 8th disciple of Wudang, their eyes froze. Especially the Heaven-Man experts who came for Ning Changge, they couldn't help but scrutinize the altar, gradually showing serious expressions. Only Heaven-Man experts could sense the faintly terrifying aura from the altar. A mere altar of green grass contains the essence of the world? Zhu Wuxi's eyes were filled with shock. Once everyone was seated, someone finally couldn't hold back and asked, "Today's purpose is to witness the destruction of the saber. May I ask, where is the dragon-slaying saber?" Song Yuanqiao could guess everyone's thoughts but didn't mind. He smiled at the crowd and said, "Please be patient. The dragon-slaying saber is here at Wudang, but it's a divine weapon. Made of extraordinary material, I am unable to do it justice. Today, my junior brother will use pure yang true fire to refine and destroy the saber. Please watch." Everyone was immediately intrigued. Many had come specifically for the 8th disciple of Wudang, curious about the rumored pure yang true fire that refined Buddhist golden bodies. Hearing Song Yuanqiao's words, they eagerly anticipated. As Song Yuanqiao's voice fell, the Wudang disciples respectfully chanted in unison, "Please, junior uncle, come and refine the saber." Such a display made everyone instinctively look towards the library of Wudang. Inside the library, Ning Changge, undistracted, was reading a Tao scripture. Volume on thunder techniques had been particularly insightful, making him smile. The gathering of strong individuals at Wudang seemed like a trivial matter to him. It didn't disturb his mind at all. Hearing the Wudang disciples' calls, he couldn't help but stretch lazily. Beside him, Jin Ling immediately put the scripture away respectfully. Ning Changge smiled lightly, exuding an air of carefree transcendence. He placed his hands behind his back and said, "Let's go meet the heroes of the world." Jin Ling respectfully followed, carrying the dragon-slaying saber with excitement. Ning Changge walked leisurely out of the library, appearing before everyone. In an instant, silence fell over the world. The wind blew, the clouds drifted, and the martial artists murmured, but the moment Ning Changge stepped out, the focus shifted. The wind still blew, the clouds still drifted, but the martial artists fell silent, their eyes filled with astonishment as they gazed at Ning Changge. What kind of young Taoist was this? Dressed in a moon-white Taoist robe, he seemed otherworldly, as if not belonging to the mortal realm. He looked like he was born to be favored by the heavens, embodying the essence of nature. Every move he made carried an inexplicable aura, something not seen even in the strongest martial artists. Though he appeared far away at first, in the blink of an eye that celestial figure was on the altar, sitting down, as if he had shrunk the ground to an inch, leaving everyone in awe. Yao Yue's gaze turned solemn. "What kind of movement technique is this? There's no visible ripple at all." She was shocked. Her sect's movement techniques were superior, but what Ning Changge had displayed was beyond comprehension. "Wudang's Ning Changge greets you all." Ning Changge sat cross-legged on the altar, speaking softly. His voice flowed like a clear spring, yet clearly reached everyone's ears, snapping them out of their shock. They hurriedly returned the greeting. "We greet Ning Zhao Zhenren." Such an extraordinary demeanor, calling him Zhao Zhenren, was not an exaggeration. No one felt it was inappropriate for him to sit on the altar. Jin Ling stood respectfully beside Ning Changge, holding the dragon-slaying saber. Only now did the martial artists realize that the little attendant following Ning Changge was a golden monkey. The monkey's eyes were clear and intelligent. Even when facing experts like Zai Xiaofeng, it showed no fear, startling everyone. Such an extraordinary scene was beyond belief. All eyes were on Ning Changge, filled with admiration. Seeing is believing. This Wudang Zhao Zhenren truly lives up to the reputation of a peerless expert who can refine golden bodies with true fire. He's undoubtedly a true Taoist master, even more remarkable than Zhang Zhenren in his youth. Nature's favored son, the spiritual monkey presenting the saber. This scene would be etched in everyone's memory. However, no one felt anything odd about Jin Ling. They found it intriguing and amazing. After all, monkeys were clever animals. With some training, it wasn't impossible for them to perform human-like actions. Such sects existed in the martial world. Ning Changge slowly closed his eyes, his mind filled with enlightenment. Today, he only needed to oversee the event and finally refine the saber with true fire. Everything else was not his concern. The Wudang disciples gazed reverently at the figure on the altar. Song Yuanqiao could sense their awe and couldn't help but smile. The dragon-slaying saber is now here. Before destroying it, I'll show it to everyone, so no one can accuse us of substituting the real saber with a fake one. He took the dragon-slaying saber from Jin Ling. Holding it high, he let everyone see it. The saber's majestic design, with a wide blade and a dragon-mouth hilt, was eye-catching. Fiery gazes fell upon the saber, some tinged with hidden greed. Song Yuanqiao first stopped before the Shaolin monks, smiling. "Abbot Kongwen, your Shaolin has dealt with the dragon-slaying saber. Is this the genuine article?" Kongwen looked pained, but he extended his hand and felt the saber, replying in a muffled voice, "It is genuine." Song Yuanqiao chuckled and moved to Yao Yue. "Palace Master Ye, you please verify." Yao Yue's eyes showed surprise. Then she infused some energy into the saber, feeling its toughness. She said coolly, "This material is undoubtedly genuine." Song Yuanqiao then approached Zai Xiaofeng. "Third young master, please verify." Zai Xiaofeng lightly touched the saber with his sword finger, smiling kindly. "It is indeed genuine. Wudang's reputation is unquestionable." Song Yuanqiao, maintaining a calm expression, walked past several Heavenman experts and grandmasters. The heads of various factions confirmed it was the genuine saber. Everyone was amazed by Wudang's thoroughness. By doing this, Wudang essentially had several experts and faction leaders vouch for them. Some eyes showed complex and regretful expressions. Is this divine saber truly going to be destroyed today? Not everyone wanted the dragon-slaying saber destroyed. Some coveted the treasures it was said to hide. The lives of ordinary people were not their concern. Song Yuanqiao spoke loudly. "Since everyone has confirmed its authenticity, my junior brother will now refine the saber with true fire. Please bear witness." He then returned to the high platform and handed the saber to Jin Ling. At that moment, a sudden change occurred. Several powerful attacks, including saber chi, sword chi, and palm imprints, were launched at Song Yuanqiao. Some also aimed at the dragon-slaying saber. Finally, some couldn't hold back. These ambitious individuals didn't want to see the dragon-slaying saber destroyed and made their move. Several grandmasters attacked simultaneously, their internal force surging. Besides, master-level experts also tried to take advantage, making the scene chaotic. Song Yuanqiao's eyes flashed with anger. Seeing the attackers, he shouted, "The 12 Zodiacs, Evil Valley, and the Gold Coin Gang, you dare to snatch the dragon-slaying saber." With heroes from all over the world gathered at Wudang, no distinction was made between righteous and demonic sects to avoid criticism. But some had come in disguise, revealing their identities now by using their distinctive martial arts. Wei Wuya, the head of the 12 Zodiacs, laughed sinisterly and launched a fierce palm strike. I can't stand hypocrites like you. You clearly want the dragon-slaying saber but pretend to destroy it. In that case, give the saber to me. Du Sha, the leader of Evil Valley, stared at the saber with burning eyes, his bloody hands emanating a nauseating stench. He silently reached for the saber. You dare? Zhang Sanfeng quizzed him. And the others, seeing their senior brother besieged, were furious and attacked. The sound of swords clashing filled the air as the 7 heroes of Wudang formed a formation, attacking the saber snatchers. For a moment, the scene was chaotic. The 7 heroes of Wudang and many skilled third-generation disciples engaged in fierce battles. Sword chi and saber chi flew everywhere. Many neutral observers retreated. The sudden turn of events was unexpected, though anticipated. Few imagined so many would attempt to snatch the saber. Unlike Xiaolin's event, which didn't broadcast having the saber, resulting in fewer attendees, this time a month allowed many to come. Yao Yue, Zai Xiaofeng, and others focused on Ning Changge on the altar. They knew the attackers were not a real threat. The key was Ning Changge, yet they were surprised he showed no intention of intervening. Ning Changge sat with eyes closed, seemingly in a deep sleep. With his spiritual sense, even in a state of enlightenment, he couldn't be unaware of the surroundings. Because of Song Yuanqiao's request the night before, he agreed not to intervene unless necessary. Junior brother, destroying the saber is not just about the saber. We need to show Wudang's foundation and strength. The world must know that Wudang is not just you and our master, but also the 7 heroes and our disciples. His voice was solemn. Bringing back the dragon-slaying saber was his decision, and logically, he shouldn't let his junior brother bear the burden alone. Moreover, his junior brother created many supreme techniques and purified the disciple's spiritual power, but strength couldn't be nurtured in a greenhouse. Wudang disciples needed to experience trials. Hence, even knowing there would be trouble, he requested Ning Changge hold back unless an unbeatable enemy appeared. Thus, he remained unchanged, only using his spiritual sense to ensure the disciple's safety. On Mount Wudang, amidst the chaos, the observers' expressions changed. The 7 heroes of Wudang faced many strong foes but held their own, even gaining the upper hand. The 7 stars formation, 7 swords, gleamed before the world. Wei Wuya had an arm cut off by Zhang Quizen's sword. Du Sha was pierced through the chest by Song Yuanqiao. Nearly dying Shangyuan Jinheng, leader of the Gold Coin Gang, was besieged by 3 heroes, the indomitable green dragon sword Qi overpowering him. One by one, the notorious evil experts were defeated. Even the 3rd-generation disciples of Wudang formed sword formations, slaying many enemies. The crowd fell silent. Wudang's power had been affirmed. Today's gathering to witness the saber's destruction revealed the profound foundation of Wudang, astonishing everyone. For during the dragon-slaying conference at Xiaolin, although the 7 heroes of Wudang displayed impressive skills, their brilliance was overshadowed by talismans and divine abilities, especially when pure Yang True Fire was used at the end. Many people forgot the prowess of the 7 heroes of Wudang. As word spread in the martial world, everyone's focus inevitably shifted to the mysterious 8th disciple of Wudang, overshadowing the 7 heroes. But now, with the heroes of the Ming martial world gathered at Wudang, witnessing firsthand, the 12 Zodiac Masters and the experts from Evil Valley were notorious figures in the demonic path. Even the Gold Coin Gang was a prominent force in the martial world. One by one, they were defeated by the 7 heroes of Wudang, showcasing undeniable strength. The 7 star swords in the hands of the 7 heroes began to shine brightly. Everyone was shocked to discover that the 7 heroes of Wudang were far more powerful than they had imagined, each possessing combat strength beyond their cultivation level. Furthermore, the 3rd-generation disciples were equally fierce, their combined sword formations capable of contending with and even killing masters. Seeing the fear on the faces of the lower-ranked members of the 12 Zodiac Masters was telling. Everyone was shaken. Wudang has Zhang Zhenren and Ning Xiao Zhenren at the top, the 7 heroes of Wudang in the middle, and countless talented disciples at the bottom. Such power and foundation are terrifying. TLN, Ning Xiao Zhenren mean Ning Little Immortal. In time, it will surely become a holy land of martial arts. No, once Zhang Zhenren reaches the earthly immortal realm, it can already be called a holy land of martial arts. Such praise turned the faces of the Xiaolin monks dark as the bottom of a pot. Seeing Wudang in chaos initially made them secretly happy, but they never expected these usually fierce demonic experts to become mere stepping stones for Wudang. In the past, Zhang Sanfeng held Wudang together. Although the 7 heroes of Wudang weren't particularly strong, in just a few years, they had transformed so significantly. Now completely overshadowing Shaolin, how could they not be both angry and envious? It felt like Wudang was stepping on Shaolin to rise. The crowd had mixed feelings. On the battlefield, the situation heavily favored Wudang experts trying to snatch the saber were intercepted and killed. The coordination among the Wudang disciples was impeccable. Whenever a disciple was injured, they would be safely transferred through the sword formation. The efforts of the past month had not been in vain. Ning Changge, his spiritual sense covering the entire scene, felt gratified. He initially thought he might need to step in to save the third-generation disciples, ensuring their safety. But it turned out he didn't need to. He had an epiphany. Song Yuanqiao's decision made him realize that not everything requires personal intervention. Sometimes, letting things take their natural course yields better results. You observed the Wudang disciples in battle. By understanding the wisdom of following the natural course, your comprehension of the essence of karma deepens, and your minor karma technique improves. A smile appeared on Ning Changge's lips. Under the observation of heaven, the originally faint lines of karma became clearer. He felt more in control of the bonds between himself and others. Following the natural course leads to distant shores. Until transcending, prudence is no bad thing. Suddenly, he raised an eyebrow. A new change occurred on the battlefield. Just as the 12 Zodiac Masters and the experts from Evil Valley were heavily injured, and everyone thought the commotion was about to end, a strong presence enveloped the Wudang disciples. A Heavenman Realm expert had made a move. Despite the fierce battle, the main goal was still to seize the dragon-slaying saber. The foundation of Wudang is indeed impressive, but this dragon-slaying saber interests me greatly. I'll take it first. A sly, eerie laugh echoed. The figure moved swiftly, like a ghost dot. It was vaguely visible that the person had an androgynous appearance, covered in rouge and powder with an eerie aura. Someone recognized him. The leader of the Sun-Moon sect, Dongfeng Bubai. Zhu Wuxi's face changed slightly. The Sun-Moon sect used to be low-key, overshadowed by the Ming cult, but after Yang Dingshan's death, Dongfeng Bubai reached the Heavenman realm. Dongfeng Bubai cultivated the sunflower true qi after self-castration. His progress was unbelievably fast, and his martial arts became bizarre and unparalleled, defying logic. He was likely even more terrifying than the 3 monks of Shaolin. He glanced at the seemingly indifferent Ning Changge, ultimately deciding against making a joke dot instead. He bypassed the Wudang disciples and reached for the dragon-slaying saber. Song Yuanqiao and the others were furious. Dongfeng Bubai, how dare you? As Dongfeng Bubai made his move, many experts from the Sun-Moon sect also sprang into action, especially Ren Yingying, who harbored deep hatred. Her father, Ren Waxing, died at Wudang, and she sought revenge. However, Huashan sect's Yue Buquan and others intervened to stop them. Since they now followed Wudang's lead, they naturally had to help at critical moments. Moreover, they had great confidence in the little celestial on the altar. They believed this situation was merely a test set by the little celestial. The 7 heroes of Wudang wielded their 7-star swords, seemingly drawing on the power of the stars to delay Dongfeng Bubai. Dongfeng Bubai snorted coldly. His embroidery needle, paired with his bizarre swordsmanship, flew out, imbued with sunflower true qi, carrying terrifying penetration power, as if to pierce through the void. The 7 heroes of Wudang exchanged solemn glances and formed their sword formation for the first time. The 7 stars sword formation. 5. This mystical sword formation, created by Ning Changge within the past month, combined with their 7-star swords, could draw on the faint power of the stars, granting them a boost close to the natural force, allowing them to contend with Heavenman Realm experts. Its first appearance left everyone astonished. Dongfeng Bubai was taken aback. The 7 heroes of Wudang's sword momentum enveloped him, allowing them to face off against a Heavenman expert and several grandmasters together without falling behind. Their combat power was terrifyingly formidable. Song Yuanqiao and the others felt exhilarated and couldn't help but laugh heartily. After today, Wudang's name would surely resonate throughout Ming. They felt they had lived up to their junior brother's efforts and their master's years of guidance. Everyone was full of admiration. To think the 7 heroes of Wudang could withstand the pressure after a Heavenman expert made a move. From now on, whenever the seven heroes appeared together, it would be equivalent to facing a heaven man expert, and not a weak one at that. Zhang Sanfeng watched the seven-star sword formation intently, his eyes filled with eagerness and enthusiasm. As a supreme swordsman, seeing such an unparalleled sword formation related to swords naturally excited him. However, he wouldn't take advantage now. He would seek advice later, as Wudang was already in enough chaos. Dongfang Bubai's face darkened. He didn't expect to become someone else's stepping stone despite being a heaven man expert. Damn it! He continuously unleashed sunflower true chi, trying to suppress the natural force, but the seven stars sword formation of the seven heroes of Wudang disrupted it. What kind of sword formation is this? He was utterly shocked. There was a fundamental difference between heaven man experts and grandmasters. When the natural force was unleashed, ordinary grandmasters were lambs to the slaughter. But now, the seven heroes of Wudang defied that understanding. Who created this sword formation that can draw on the power of the stars to break the natural force? Yao Yue couldn't help but glance at the figure on the altar, her intuition telling her that this supreme sword formation was likely related to him. The battle had been ongoing for a while, but the figure remained unmoved as if it was none of his concern. Suddenly, Yao Yue's spirit shook. She felt two more Heaven Man forces erupt, indicating two more Heaven Man experts had joined the fray: Devil Blade Ding Peng, the master of Round Moon Villa, and a masked figure. Devil Blade Ding Peng was even more formidable than Dongfang Buba. His gaze was indifferent and determined, exuding a sense of dominance. The dragon-slaying saber is useful to me. I'll borrow it today and return it later. The masked figure remained silent, his true chi exuding a fierce and domineering aura, his body extremely sturdy, capable of withstanding sword and palm strikes. His goal was clear. He wanted the dragon-slaying saber, ignoring the seven heroes of Wudang. Once again, the situation turned chaotic. With two more Heaven Man experts joining, Song Yuanqiao and the others' faces finally turned grim. The Seven Stars sword formation was powerful, but it couldn't withstand three Heaven Man experts. Their own cultivation levels weren't particularly high. In the face of this crisis, the onlookers couldn't help but breathe faster, eager to see who would claim the dragon-slaying saber. Even Zhu Wuxi considered joining the fray. But a glance at the still Ning Changge made him hesitate. Having absorbed the inner force of many, his senses were keen. Ning Changge was unfathomable, so he dared not act rashly. Yao Yue's gaze remained on Ning Changge. Then, for the first time, she heard Ning Changge speak. "Jinling, go assist your senior uncle." Following that, she couldn't help but widen her eyes as the small golden monkey, previously overlooked as merely a trained pet, slowly walked forward. After 16 steps, Jinling's body had grown to over 2 yards, resembling a small mountain. At this moment, Jinling no longer appeared docile as it did under Ning Changge. Its 2-yard true form had bulging muscles, golden fur standing on end, and lantern-like eyes looking extremely ferocious. Oddly, the gray Taoist robe it wore remained intact without any signs of tearing. This robe was specially crafted by Ning Changge, adjustable in size. Yao Yue, Zhang Sanfeng, and others couldn't help but gasp. What kind of monster is this? This was no mere trained monkey. It resembled a demon king from legends. When the 2-yard true form manifested, it was terrifying. Sensing the shock of the martial artists, Ning Changge smiled slightly. During this period, Jinling had been diligently practicing the astral body refining technique, absorbing purple chi, swallowing moonlight, and even refining thunder, tempering its true form, stepping onto the path of bloodline power. This 2-yard true form carried a hint of divine ability. Ning Changge had been observing Jinling's bloodline, noticing some similarities with the divine abilities of legendary demon kings. He might find inspiration to comprehend mythical physical abilities. Abilities like rebirth from a drop of blood, 3 heads and 6 arms, and clairvoyant and clairaudient vision. Boom, boom, boom. Jinling stopped behind the Wudang disciples, instantly giving them unparalleled security. The 7 heroes of Wudang were first stunned, then overjoyed, laughing heartily. Good, Jinling, you're amazing. Only now did everyone learn that the monkey was named Jinling. All eyes were on Jinling. Its appearance was so striking, like a mythical demon king, that people instinctively felt fear. They unconsciously glanced at the still Ning Changge, unable to look directly at him. If Jinling was a mythical demon king, then what was this little celestial? A Tao ancestor. Everyone shuddered, not daring to think further. Deep down, it felt more appropriate to call Ning Changge a little celestial rather than a little true person. Devil Blade, Ding Peng, and the masked Heaven Man were blocked by Jin Ling. They couldn't help but pause. The two exchanged glances, seeing the seriousness in each other's eyes. After Jin Ling's true form appeared, they felt an overwhelming pressure. But having reached the Heaven Man realm, their will was strong. They wouldn't retreat without a fight. They instantly reached a consensus. Let's join forces temporarily. Ding Peng's eyes were filled with a demonic coldness. His curved blade was the top demonic blade in Ming, the round moon curved blade. Logically, with such a demonic blade, even a divine weapon like the dragon-slaying saber wouldn't catch his eye. But that day at Shaolin, Zai Zun had used the blood-refining technique to activate the demonic nature of the dragon-slaying saber, revealing its true power. Ding Peng saw the demonic potential within it. He wanted to delve deeper, hoping to elevate his demonic blade further. Demon Blade Slash! Ding Peng swung his blade, the natural force moving with it, pouring his soul into the slash. A demonic blade enslaves its wielder, making them a slave to the blade, with the blade embodying their soul. The demonic nature was unimaginable. Zai Feng's expression changed. Ding Peng had always been his rival. They had fought many times with mixed results. But now, he saw that Ding Peng's blade had become even more terrifying. I might not be able to block this slash. His eyes were solemn. However, Jin Ling suddenly roared, the sound shaking the mountains and valleys as if it could bring down the sun and moon. Its enormous body leapt, casting a shadow over the sky. Its giant palm, surrounded by spiritual light, manifested lightning, and the sun and moon. It slammed down, colliding with the demonic blade. Jin Ling roared again, breaking 1,000 techniques with sheer force. No matter how demonic or divine the blade, it shattered under its palm. The terrifying force surged, Ding Peng's face changed, and he was forcibly slapped out of his supreme demonic blade state by Jin Ling. His eyes were filled with fear, looking at Jin Ling with a complex expression. Fortunately, at this moment, the masked Heaven Man finally made a move. This time, unleashing his full power, his martial arts revealed some of his origins with explosive fist and leg force. It sounded like a dragon's roar, full of fury. Zhu Wuxi's eyes narrowed, finally recognizing the person's identity. Dragon Elephant Prajna skill, this person is a divine monk of esoteric Buddhism. His heart couldn't help but skip a beat. During the Shaolin dragon-slaying conference last month, before Zai Zun's death, he had mentioned that Yuan Zhen had connections with the Mongolian Yuan dynasty. Although it raised suspicions, there was no concrete evidence. Now, with an esoteric Buddhist divine monk appearing here, it was practically a confession. Everyone knew that esoteric Buddhism was now under the Mongolian Yuan dynasty, serving as a powerful martial force. The martial artists speculated. Zhu Wuxi considered assisting Wudeng, although he coveted the Ming throne. It had to be an intact throne. Internal strife was one thing, but facing external enemies was another. But at this moment, Jin Ling displayed immense power, fighting 2 Heaven Man experts without falling behind. Everyone could clearly see. Jin Ling's body was like diamond, filled with immense divine power. Every move scattered spiritual light, shocking everyone. The esoteric Buddhist monk had cultivated the Dragon Elephant Prajna skill to a profound level, possessing unmatched strength. But before Jin Ling's 2-yard true form, it was insignificant. What was more shocking was that this intelligent golden monkey wasn't just relying on brute force. Every move had clear martial art traces, specifically the Supreme Fist technique. The Tu-I Ching Combat Fist, created by Ning Changge. The 7 heroes of Wudeng had used it before, but compared to Jin Ling's display, they were like children playing. Boom, boom, boom. Jin Ling's giant palm collided with the monk's body, making dull thuds. The monk felt his bones about to break, his blood boiling, and couldn't help but spit out blood. Devil Blade Ding Peng fared no better. An intelligent monkey knowing martial arts couldn't be resisted. His demon blade slash, which dominated the Ming martial world, relied on a captivating demonic nature. But Jin Ling's pursuit of the Tao was firm, his mind pure and sincere. Unaffected by demonic nature, waves of divine power made Ding Peng feel like he was in heaven and hell. He couldn't fight back, it was impossible. Facing such a peerless physical body, skilled in fist techniques and even lightness skills, anyone would be at a loss. Their full power only barely matched Jin Ling. Watching this shocking scene, everyone fell silent, their hearts filled with turbulent waves. Everything before them felt like a dream. Everyone watched in stunned silence at the unbelievable scene unfolding before them. The clash of true qi and raw physical power was unending, with Jin Ling displaying a ferocity akin to a mythical beast or demon king. Such power was enough to establish him as a supreme force in the martial world. The 7 heroes of Wudang had already dealt with the remaining masters and were now focusing all their efforts on Dongfang Bubai. Seeing Jin Ling's sheer ferocity, their eyes widened in shock. The third-generation Wudang disciples were equally astonished, unable to believe their eyes. They knew Jin Ling was strong, but they never imagined he could be this powerful. It was almost absurd. Was this really the same gentle little monkey who played around with the senior brothers, unfazed by their teasing? In that moment, the Wudang disciples felt a surge of emotion. Jin Ling considered Wudang his home and loved the senior brothers and uncles, which was why he had restrained himself. His affection for Wudang was evident. Dongfang Bubai, on the other hand, broke into a cold sweat. Neither Devil Blade, Ding Peng, nor the esoteric Buddhist monk was weak, but they could barely hold their own against Jin Ling when working together. He felt a tinge of relief. If he had faced Jin Ling alone, he would have been crushed in no time. The spiritual light enveloping Jin Ling indicated that his own bizarre techniques might be useless against him. Jin Ling's movements seemed slow, but his eyes occasionally flashed with light, almost as if he was developing spiritual vision. This made Ding Peng and the esoteric Buddhist monk's actions appear slower in his eyes, one of the key reasons he could fight 2 opponents at once. The scene grew eerily quiet as the 3 supreme experts clashed, with everyone's gaze fixed on their figures. Zai Xiaofeng stood silently, his hand gripping his sword hilt, his expression complex. Ding Peng, his longtime rival, had improved since their last duel, yet he couldn't gain any advantage against Jin Ling. This realization meant that he himself wasn't a match for Jin Ling either. As someone who prided himself on his swordsmanship, this revelation was a blow to his confidence. He had hoped to witness Ning Changge's sword techniques, but now he wondered if he was even worthy. Yao Yue felt similarly. Usually calm and composed, her expression had changed more in one day than in an entire year, matching her internal shock. Jin Ling's ferocity surpassed that of the Heaven Man realm experts present, leaving them uncertain of their chances against him. Even Zhu Wuxi, usually unfathomable, looked serious. Although he hadn't made a move, he sensed that even using his absorption technique, his chances of victory were only 50-50, if that. The 3 experts, standing at the pinnacle of the Ming martial world, now found themselves feeling inferior to a mere monkey. Their internal turmoil was evident, but that wasn't the most crucial point. The most crucial point was that everyone knew this intelligent monkey was merely a servant to that figure seated on the altar. Thinking about this made it difficult for them to breathe. Their eyes involuntarily drifted to the figure of the celestial-like Taoist priest, Ning Changge, who appeared to be in a transcendent state, unaffected by the terrifying clash below. With such a powerful servant, what kind of unimaginable strength did Ning Changge possess? Could it be? Has he already reached the earthly immortal realm? This thought crossed everyone's minds, making their pupils contract. An earthly immortal was an exalted figure, standing at the peak of martial arts, making even Heaven Man experts seem insignificant in comparison. No, that's impossible. If an earthly immortal had appeared, there would be signs in the heavens and earth. All Heaven Man experts would have sensed it. They shook their heads immediately. So what realm is this person in? The curiosity in the hearts of the experts grew. Jin Ling's presence made Ning Changge seem even more mysterious. Even the previous rumors about him refining golden bodies with pure yang true fire hadn't made them anticipate his actions as much as they did now. Yet Ning Changge sat with his eyes closed, showing no intention of intervening. This left them feeling as if their hearts were being scratched by a cat. The battle on the field grew more intense. The Wudang disciples had captured or killed those trying to seize the saber and were now retreating to leave the arena to the top-tier experts, avoiding the fallout of their clash. The battlefield divided into 2 groups. One group consisted of the 7 heroes of Wudang fighting Dongfang Bubai. Though their strength had waned, they could still hold their own against him. The air was filled with the clashing sounds of swords and needles. The other group saw Jin Ling battling Ding Peng and the esoteric Buddhist monk. Though fewer in number, their battle was far more intense. The monk, having activated his dragon elephant golden body, seemed as if cast in gold, even more formidable than the 3 monks from before. Their fists and strikes resounded like thunder, causing weaker spectators to turn pale. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the three Heaven Man experts seemed to be in a tight spot, unable to withdraw, as the mysterious Wudang Celestial had yet to make a move. It was hard to imagine what would happen if he did. Realizing the situation was hopeless and that seizing the dragon-slaying saber was no longer possible, the esoteric Buddhist monk made a swift decision, his voice hoarse as he shouted, "We must join forces, or we won't escape today." Delaying any longer could lead to unforeseen complications, especially if any other Heaven Man experts decided to support Wudang. Ding Peng and Dongfeng Bubai silently nodded in agreement. At this point, dignity was the least of their concerns. In the next moment, the three unleashed their full power. Dongfeng Bubai's sunflower needle rain, Ding Peng's demon blade slash, and the monk's dragon elephant golden body, all aimed at the third-generation Wudang disciples. The 7 heroes of Wudang and Jin Ling might be able to hold them off, but they couldn't protect everyone from such a wide-ranging attack. Prioritizing their lives over their pride, the 3 Heaven Man experts decided to target the weaker disciples. The 7 heroes of Wudang were furious, despicable. They desperately tried to intercept the incoming attacks with their 7-star sword Qi. Jin Ling roared to the heavens, his eyes frantic as he used his body to block some of the attacks. Zhu Wuxi chose to stay out of it, while Zai Xiaofeng hesitated but ultimately decided not to intervene, torn between his conflicting loyalties. Only Yao Yue stepped forward, her voice cold. "You disgrace the Heaven Man realm?" Though usually indifferent, she couldn't stand by and watch the strong bully the weak. Her graceful palm sent out a powerful wave, intercepting part of the attack. But the combined assault of Dongfeng Bubai, Ding Peng, and the monk was too widespread. Even after being partially blocked, a significant portion still threatened the remaining Wudang disciples, posing a lethal danger. The 7 heroes of Wudang and Jin Ling were desperate. Seizing the opportunity, the 3 Heaven Man experts tried to escape. The crowd sighed, finding it hard to believe that such esteemed experts could be so dishonorable. All eyes turned to the celestial-like figure seated on the altar. Ning Changge had opened his eyes at some point and was now quietly watching the fleeing trio. What kind of eyes were those? Calm with no ripples, as if containing the 5 elements and the cycle of yin and yang. One look was enough to make anyone avert their gaze, afraid to even glance sideways. "How dare you?" With those 2 casual words, the world seemed to change in an instant. Everyone felt as if the heavens themselves were shaking in anger. Zhu Wuxi and the others were terrified. Why is the natural force so overwhelming? To the 3 Heaven Man experts, this force felt 10 times stronger than theirs. It was impossible. Even the most powerful Heaven Man experts they had encountered were only 2 to 3 times stronger, not like this. They watched in stunned silence as green spiritual light, accompanied by the natural force, swept across the battlefield. The rain of true Qi left by the 3 experts froze in place, as if time itself had stopped. Then came a crisp cracking sound, as the frozen true Qi shattered into countless points of light, which gently fell over the Wudang disciples, filling them with joy and gratitude. The disciples turned to Ning Changge, bowing deeply. "Little martial uncle's power is invincible." Jin Ling, previously raging, became docile in an instant. He shrank back to his original 4-foot size and stood respectfully by Ning Changge, but no one dared to underestimate him now. The memory of him thrashing 2 Heaven Man experts was still fresh. Song Yuanqiao and the others breathed a sigh of relief, exchanging embarrassed glances. They had been so engrossed in the fight that they had almost forgotten about their junior brother's presence. With him around, there was nothing to fear. The shift in the disciples' demeanor was astonishing. Yue Buquin and the others were thrilled to finally witness Ning Changge in action, their eyes wide with excitement, not wanting to miss a single detail. All eyes followed the green spiritual light as it descended like a mountain on the 3 fleeing experts. Their speed plummeted. Dongfeng Bubai was terrified, desperately trying to summon his own force, but it was like a child compared to the overwhelming power that had just descended. Immortal techniques refined spiritual energy. When spiritual energy moved, the natural force followed. Martial arts couldn't compare. Dongfeng Bubai gave in, his voice trembling. "Wudang is the holy land of martial arts. I, Dongfeng Bubai, admit defeat. I will go back to Blackwood Cliff and not descend for 10 years. I will avoid Wudang disciples at all costs." Ding Peng's lips quivered, but he couldn't bring himself to beg like Dongfeng Bubai. His eyes grew more demonic as he looked at Ning Changge. his battle intent rising. The esoteric Buddhist monk remained silent, knowing the situation was hopeless. He was ready to face death, hoping to force Ning Changge to reveal his strength. Ning Changge finally spoke again, his voice calm and indifferent. "You must be punished." By attacking the third-generation Wudang disciples, the three experts had signed their death warrants. Their expressions changed drastically. "Fine, if you think you can bully me, then I'll show you what I'm made of." Dongfang Bubai's face was dark, true qi surging. Ding Peng's curved blade exuded even more intense demonic energy. In the face of life and death, he sought to rise from the ashes, using the immense pressure to elevate himself. It was a risky move, but he had no other choice. Ning Changge hadn't even made a move, yet the three experts were already on high alert. Everyone watched in anticipation. Finally, Ning Changge acted. He opened his mouth, and to everyone's shock, a crimson light appeared, quickly transforming into a crimson spiritual sword. The sight of him spitting out a spiritual sword left everyone in awe. Such a technique was beyond mortal means. With a gentle flick of his hand, he spoke calmly, as if stating a simple fact. "This is the carefree sword technique." In an instant, the crimson spiritual sword turned into a streak of light, slashing toward Dongfang Bubai. The speed was unmatched, leaving Dongfang Bubai feeling like a turtle in comparison. He felt a deep sense of powerlessness. Ning Changge then turned to Ding Peng, forming two more sword seals. These two sword techniques, one is the azure dragon of wood, the other is the vermilion bird of fire. You shall die with no regrets. In a flash, two immense sword energies crossed the sky, one green, forming an azure dragon, and the other red, forming a vermilion bird. The dragon and the bird soared together, attacking Ding Peng. Ding Peng's face grew solemn, fear and panic filling his heart. But he had already become a slave to his blade, letting the demonic blade take over, hoping to unleash his strongest attack. Zai Feng watched in stunned silence, the techniques of controlling a sword and transforming sword energy into spirits leaving him in awe. He had come hoping to challenge Ning Changge, but now he realized how foolish he had been. These techniques were the work of a sword immortal. His eyes were filled with the brilliance of the sword energy, even as his own sword trembled in response. Ning Changge continued. He turned to the esoteric Buddhist monk, his gaze briefly drifting toward Shaolin before he formed another seal. "This is pure Yang true fire. It will refine your dragon elephant golden body and help you ascend to the Western paradise." With those words, a deep blue flame appeared out of nowhere, its terrifying heat seemingly capable of burning the void itself, creating twisted waves. Everyone was shocked. As the pure Yang true fire appeared, they felt their true qi and inner strength evaporating. Those who had witnessed the Shaolin dragon-slaying conference shivered in terror. Compared to the pure Yang true fire Ning Changge had displayed through talismans back then, the current fire was several times more terrifying. The deep blue fire flashed and landed on the esoteric Buddhist monk. The roaring flames burned brightly, reflecting the shock in everyone's eyes. When Ning Changge finally acted, it was earth-shattering. Such techniques are like those of a true immortal. Today, we are fortunate to witness this. People couldn't help but mutter to themselves as they witnessed the astonishing scenes unfolding before their eyes. Everyone was stunned. The scene before them felt like a dream. Ning Changge sat high on his altar, not even bothering to stand. With just 3 flicks of his fingers, he unleashed 3 supreme martial arts techniques that shook the heavens and earth, leaving everyone in awe. The 3 top-tier Heaven Man experts were now in a desperate struggle for their lives. Such techniques, like a god, like a demon. Ning Changge didn't plan to continue attacking. He just watched calmly, his composed and confident demeanor swaying everyone's hearts. People couldn't help but turn their gaze toward Dongfang Bubai and the other 2. What they saw made their pupils contract in shock. In just a few moments, Dongfang Bubai was already on the brink of death. Over by Dongfang Bubai's side, the rapid sword light was dancing all around. The fiery red strands were beautiful yet terrifying, filled with lethal intent. The red sky sword, imbued with a spirit of its own, moved according to Ning Changge's carefree sword technique, slashing at high speed. It occasionally split into multiple sword lights, forming a sword array, and at other times accelerated suddenly, leaving only red shadows in its wake. Dongfang Bubai was filled with fear and helplessness. Once, this was his domain. After castrating himself, his progress with the Sunflower Manual was astonishing, allowing him to develop bizarre true qi that made him incredibly fast. He used to toy with his opponents, easily defeating them with unmatched speed. Even when tangled with the 7 heroes of Wudang, he hadn't fallen behind. It was just the power of the stars that limited his speed. But now, the speed of the red sky sword was entirely beyond his own. He had become the toy. Clang, clang, clang. The dense sound of collisions filled the sky as sword light clashed with sunflower needles. Amidst the chaos were the sounds of flesh being cut, with blood spraying everywhere. Obviously, the sunflower needles couldn't withstand the rapid sword light. Dongfang Bubai was terrified, the overwhelming sword aura making it hard for him to breathe. With each cut of the sword light, he felt his sunflower true chi nearing collapse. He glanced at Ning Changge, wanting to beg for mercy. He couldn't even withstand a casual strike. He had no right to fight back. But he couldn't say a word. At that moment, he deeply regretted his actions. Why had he tried to show off? The dragon-slaying saber meant nothing to him. The root cause was his desire to avenge Ren Wuxing's death at the hands of Wudang. Slash, slash, slash. The dense sound of flesh and blood exploding resounded. Dongfang Bubai's true chi was completely exhausted, and the sword light turned him into a blood-soaked figure, life quickly fading. The red sky sword flew back to Ning Changge's hand, transforming into a palm-sized spiritual sword that spun around. Everyone gasped. Though it seemed long, it was only a matter of a few breaths. The first Heaven Man expert had fallen. Yao Yue shivered with cold. Dongfang Bubai wasn't weak, and she herself was only slightly stronger. She had no confidence in facing that sword light. She looked at the red sky sword, her eyes filled with dread. Everyone's gaze shifted. They turned to look at Ding Peng. Ding Peng's situation was even more spectacular than Dongfang Bubai's. 2 towering sword energies transformed into a green dragon and a vermilion bird, lifelike and majestic, tearing toward Ding Peng. The power was even more domineering than the giant golden monkey, Jin Ling. Ding Peng's eyes had turned completely black, with no whites visible. Under the pressure of life and death, he had sacrificed his essence, spirit, and energy to the demonic blade, becoming its slave for greater power. Dongfang Bubai's death made his heart tremble. How long had it been? A Heaven Man expert equal to him had just been obliterated. It was terrifying. Even if an earthly immortal had attacked, it wouldn't have been as horrifying. The intense killing intent made his skin tingle. As the green dragon and vermilion bird sword energies clashed with his black blade energy, causing powerful shockwaves and scattering true chi and spiritual energy everywhere. Bloody cuts appeared on his body deep enough to reveal bone. Initially, he thought, as terrifying as these sword energies were, they had no root. If he endured, he might have a chance at survival. But now, these rootless sword energies were more enduring than he was. If this continued, he'd be the one to die. He roared at the sky, demonic energy surging. Unlike Dongfang Bubai, he never regretted his actions. His life had been dedicated to the path of the blade. He wanted the dragon-slaying saber to elevate his demonic blade and glimpse a higher realm. Now, seeing these towering sword energies under the pressure of life and death, he felt enlightened. To hear the Tao in the morning, one could die in the evening. Today, I, Ding Peng, offer my blade to a true immortal, he roared, expressing his blade's will with his last ounce of humanity. Then, his entire being turned pitch black, as if completely consumed by the demonic energy. Hum, 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 swords in the hands of nearby swordsmen trembled as if paying homage to the blade immortal. Zai Xiaofeng's expression was complex. He realized that Ding Peng was sacrificing his life to deliver the ultimate strike. Madman! He's a madman! He whispered, shocked to the core, but also filled with anticipation. Could this extraordinary, life-sacrificing strike pose a threat to Ning Changge? Ning Changge was too terrifying, like a mountain weighing on everyone's hearts with no end in sight. They hoped someone could touch that limit so they wouldn't feel so hopeless. A visible mountain and one with no peak were 2 entirely different concepts. Boom! What kind of terrifying strike was this? Combining Ding Peng's lifetime of blade mastery and his essence, spirit, and life force, it was unstoppable, supremely powerful, earth-shattering. The pitch-black blade energy aimed to decapitate the green dragon and vermilion bird, then kill Ning Changge. This was Ding Peng's defiance. Why should your 2 sword energies decide my fate? I refuse. Ning Changge raised his eyes slightly, seemingly intrigued. But that was all. The dragon and bird made of sword energy roared toward the sky. To everyone's shock, the green dragon suddenly dove into the vermilion bird's mouth. The bird held the dragon. Red fire engulfed the green wood. Boom. A sound like heaven collapsing rang out. The dragon and bird merged, then both disappeared, returning to pure sword energy. In the eyes of the astonished spectators, a green and red sword energy appeared in the sky. Its power was unmatched, even more terrifying than the separate dragon and bird sword energies. Ning Changge smiled slightly. He hadn't been idle recently. Though he hadn't perfected the 5 elements sword energy, he could still merge 2 sword energies. Boom, the pitch-black demonic blade clashed with the green and red sword energy, causing a massive explosion on Heavenly Pillar Peak. Everyone stood frozen in fear. But soon, they calmed down, feeling a gentle force dissipate the shockwaves, isolating them from harm, deepening their awe. They eagerly looked on. Where Ding Peng had stood, only his clothes remained. He had burned his life and essence to deliver his strongest strike, but he still hadn't moved Ning Changge an inch. Zai Feng fell silent, a deep sense of helplessness rising within him. The second Heaven Man expert had fallen. In such a short time, 2 Heaven Man experts had perished, leaving everyone in shock. In front of Ning Changge, Heaven Man experts were like children, powerless to resist. Ding Peng's final strike had been breathtaking, but it still couldn't shake Ning Changge. Everyone couldn't help but turn their gaze to the last man standing, the esoteric Buddhist monk. For some reason, Zhu Wuxi found himself hoping this monk could withstand Ning Changge's true fire, if only to show that Ning Changge wasn't invincible, that there was still hope for improvement. All eyes were on the monk. Covered in deep blue pure yang true fire, the monk activated his dragon elephant golden body, surrounded by golden Buddhist light and the sound of chanting, with visions of dragons and elephants appearing. His true form was revealed, a thin figure with a high nose bridge and deep-set eyes, clearly not a native. He closed his eyes, fully focused, enveloped in the true fire, not daring to be distracted, using all his strength to resist the fire, his senses burning and warping. He hadn't noticed the other 2 Heaven Man experts had fallen. At that moment, the monk's heart was filled with endless fear. He had heard the rumors of true fire refining golden bodies at the Shaolin dragon-slaying conference, but hadn't taken them seriously. Though esoteric Buddhism and Shaolin shared the same roots, they didn't get along. He thought the Shaolin monks were just famous in name, wasting the reputation of the Buddhist golden bodies. He believed his dragon elephant golden body would shatter the so-called pure yang true fire. But now, he was dumbfounded. The overwhelming pure yang true fire covered the sky, manifesting various visions, from a white tiger devouring the sun to mountains sinking and floating, from myriad swords singing to divine thunder descending. The flames were incredibly terrifying. Only by facing it directly could he understand the fire's true horror. Pure yang true fire was the true fire of vital essence, burning vital energy. It could burn even the spiritual energy of cultivators, let alone the true chi of martial artists. The burning felt like dimensional reduction, and the pain was real, like being cut into pieces. The monk's face contorted in agony, but he gritted his teeth, not making a sound, his will strong. The Shaolin monks couldn't help but look at Abbot Kongwen, who had fallen silent. His silence was for Ning Changge as well as the esoteric Buddhist monk. They could see. The monk's dragon elephant golden body was a level higher than the golden bodies of the 3 Shaolin monks, combining the power of the dragon and elephant, entering the second stage of the Buddhist golden body. This showed that Shaolin had become stagnant, even lagging behind esoteric Buddhism. But most of all, they were silent in the face of Ning Changge's terror. To them, the monk's golden body was awe-inspiring, but it was melting under the pure yang true fire, with drops of dragon elephant true chi turning to ashes. Kongwen touched his chest, his eyes growing resolute as if he had found clarity. "Ah!" The monk finally couldn't hold back a roar, the pain unbearable. Everyone's expressions changed. The sight of the golden body burning was horrifying enough to shake them to their core. Golden light surrounded the monk, with visions of dragons roaring and elephants stomping, and the chanting of Buddhist prayers. But it was all in vain. In the face of Ning Changge's pure yang true fire, it was all useless. The golden light shrank, the visions collapsed, and the dragon elephant golden body began to peel away, revealing flesh and bone. Ning Changge's expression shifted slightly. The monk shouldn't have lasted this long, nearly 10 breaths, longer than Dongfeng Bubai and Ding Peng. He observed carefully, his eyes reflecting the cycle of yin and yang. "I see. Pure yang true fire is the true fire of vital essence, burning true chi with ease. But this monk's dragon elephant golden body is a step higher, cultivating the power of the dragon and elephant in his flesh. His vital essence is strong, so his body is tough. Ning Changge felt enlightened. He wanted to create a true divine ability, the Samadhi true fire, with pure yang true fire as one component. Observing the fire refining the golden body gave him more insight into the true fire of vital essence. However, the monk was nearing his limit, unable to sustain this learning experience. If the true fire of vital essence were complete, such a body would burn in an instant. Ning Changge smiled inwardly. I need to burn more Buddhist golden bodies. That way I can complete the true fire of vital essence. Then I can comprehend the true fire of the soul, and Samadhi true fire will be within reach. With that thought, he regretted not personally going to Shaolin and refining the three monks' golden bodies. It might have helped him achieve his goal, but it was just a fleeting thought. He wasn't eager to leave the mountain. Divine abilities could be comprehended slowly. There was no rush, as he pondered. The esoteric Buddhist monk finally couldn't hold on. Wudang, little immortal, your ruthless actions will bring disaster in the future. With a hoarse roar, the monk passed away. Only a faint golden skeleton remained, shining in the sunlight. Ning Changge smiled faintly, ignoring the monk's final words of warning. If anyone dared to come, they would face him. He pointed, and the pure yang true fire slowly dissipated. All that remained were the shocked and complex gazes of the onlookers, fixated on three items left behind. A bunch of sunflower needles, a curved moon demonic blade, and a faint golden skeleton. Just a moment ago, these three Heavenman experts had been invincible. Now, they were ashes, leaving behind only traces of their existence as proof of their power. Everyone's eyes turned to the young, celestial figure on the altar. Reverence and fear filled their hearts. Even Zhu Wuxi and Zai Xiaofeng were no exceptions. Such techniques were simply too terrifying. Calling it a flip of the hand to create clouds and a wave to summon rain wasn't an exaggeration. Heavenman experts were like children before Ning Changge, easily subdued with a flick of his fingers. What realm is this little immortal in? Not an earthly immortal, yet killing heavenmen like chickens and dogs. Unfathomable. At least heavenman perfection, maybe even glimpsing the supreme realm of earthly immortals. Such techniques, beyond human comprehension, each one a completely different path. The sword techniques, the spiritual sword energy, and the pure yang true fire, all unheard of and terrifying. What martial arts could possess such power? If this unparalleled genius becomes an earthly immortal one day, wouldn't all other earthly immortals bow before him? People couldn't help but gasp, shocked by their own thoughts. Ning Changge's casual display of power was overwhelming. What had been a fierce battle for the 7 heroes of Wudang and Jinling was effortlessly resolved by him. It felt like a child's brawl, quickly ended by an adult. Yes, a farce. The stronger they were, the more they felt this way. The Wudang disciples looked at Ning Changge with worship in their eyes, shouting in unison, "Little martial uncle's power is invincible." To every Wudang disciple, Ning Changge was like a god, even surpassing their founder, Zhang Sanfeng, in their hearts. The 7 heroes of Wudang smiled and bowed. "Thank you, little brother, for your help." Their admiration was almost tangible. Jinling bowed his head, quietly picking up the dragon-slaying saber and stepping back. The martial artists could only watch in awe. Then they heard Ning Changge speak calmly. "I wish to establish a tomb of supreme heavenmen. From now on, any supreme heavenman who falls at Wudang shall be buried there." Everyone was stunned, their hearts filled with turbulent waves. A tomb for heavenmen to bury heavenmen. Just hearing the name, numerous experts felt an overwhelming sense of dread and lethal menace surge towards them. Heavenmen? What kind of people are they? In the martial world, they are enough to become the lord of a supreme force, the absolute foundation of a top-tier power. Under normal circumstances, they would not easily appear in the martial world. Hence, the top combatants walking the martial world are usually just grandmasters. Even the profound Shaolin of the Ming dynasty had only the 3 heavenmen monks, Du Yi, Du Nan, and Du Jai. And now, Ning Changge was talking about establishing a tomb for heavenmen. What an incredibly terrifying concept. In an instant, Yao Yue, Zai Xiaofeng, Zhu Wuxi, and even some hidden heavenmen experts couldn't help but shudder. Zai Xiaofeng felt an impulse to dash down the mountain, as if staying another second would get him buried in that tomb. The disciples of Wudang gazed at Ning Changge with admiration. A tomb for heavenmen, what magnanimity! Such magnitude is rare in the world. And this is their little martial uncle. The 7 heroes of Wudang were initially shocked, but soon understood Ning Changge's intentions. Ning Changge has always enjoyed tranquility. However, The events that transpired at Wudang would inevitably spread throughout the martial world, making Ning Changge's prowess renowned and Wudang's foundation well known. This has its advantages, but also its disadvantages. The downside is the disturbance it would bring. People in the martial world chase fame and fortune, and there are bound to be martial maniacs who, upon learning of Ning Changge's extraordinary talent, would come to challenge him. Wouldn't that be bothersome, hindering Ning Changge's ability to study scriptures and comprehend the Tao? Establishing a tomb for heaven men would act as a deterrent. Those who want to challenge Wudang should first consider if they are tough enough. If they dare to cause trouble, they should be ready to be buried in the tomb for heaven men. Moreover, the establishment of a tomb for heaven men would elevate Wudang's prestige to an unprecedented level. It could even become a wondrous sight in the 9 provinces. For a moment, Song Yuanqiao and the others looked at Ning Changge with immense admiration for his vision and courage. Ning Changge's thinking was indeed different from the rest. His vision extended to realms beyond what ordinary people could see. His thoughts aligned with the great Tao, exuding an ethereal demeanor akin to a true immortal. However, Song Yuanqiao and the others did not fully understand one thing. Ning Changge wasn't entirely averse to being bothered by heaven men. In fact, he had gained much from subduing the 3 heaven men experts just now. Dongfang Bubai's speed had refined his sword control technique, adding more variations to his free and unfettered sword technique. Ding Peng's life-sacrificing slash had made the integration of his Azure Dragon sword energy and Vermilion Bird sword energy even more perfect. The esoteric Buddhist monk had given him insights into creating the true fire of vital essence, reading countless books and traveling thousands of miles. For someone with Ning Changge's extraordinary comprehension, studying scriptures and understanding the heavens and earth was one way to grow. Fighting strong opponents was another. Martial celestial heaven men could inspire him as well. He had realized this during his duel with Zhang Sanfeng. In martial realms, anyone below heaven man was of no use to him. Heaven men and earthly immortals could serve as his nourishment for growth. This was one fundamental reason for establishing the tomb for heaven men. However, not all heaven men could provide insights to Ning Changge. Only those who had forged their own unique path were qualified. Thus, the tomb for heaven men must have a threshold. Ordinary heaven men like the 3 monks Du Yi, Du Nan, and Du Jai wouldn't qualify. The tomb for heaven men would only bury the top heaven men experts. Song Yuanqiao and the others looked at Ning Changge and smiled. Since junior brother has such ambition, how can we, senior brothers, fall behind? After today, everyone in Wudang will put all their efforts into building the tomb for heaven men, creating a marvel in the 9 provinces. With determination in his heart, he resolved to fully support Ning Changge in accomplishing this great task. Just the thought of it made him tremble with excitement. The disciples of Wudang were equally excited, shouting in unison, "We will fully support little martial uncle in building the tomb for heaven men." The momentum was overwhelming, and Wudang seemed to exhibit an extraordinary phenomenon, making the martial experts around them pale. This was the power of unity, with all the disciples of Wudang connected in spirit, showing aspects of a sacred land. Ning Changge couldn't help but laugh heartily, showing such apparent emotion for the first time in front of everyone. He said, "There's no need to be so troublesome." Since he intended to establish the tomb for heaven men, he naturally had a plan in mind. Everyone was puzzled, turning their gazes to Ning Changge. Suddenly, a green spiritual light from his body shone brightly, radiant like never before. Ning Changge remained seated on his altar, his eyes fixed on Wudang's back mountain, his fingers forming a series of incantations. He chanted in a long voice, resembling the sound of the Tao. "Evergreen awakens wisdom, ancient trees bury heaven men." Rumble. Streams of ancient, evergreen spiritual energy descended on the back mountain, entwining around pines and cypresses. Next, under everyone's petrified gaze, that area, bathed in spiritual light, began to transform mysteriously. The rich vitality could be felt by everyone. The originally common pines started growing at a visible rate. The ancient evergreen spiritual energy, dense with vitality, catalyzed the trees easily. Rumble. It felt as if the heavens and earth were shaking, making it hard for people to stand steadily. The originally ordinary pines began to twist, rooting deeply into the earth, their trunks expanding tenfold, their heights growing rapidly, surpassing 10 zhang in the blink of an eye and still growing. 20 zhang, 30 zhang, 40 zhang. Finally stopping at a mystical number, 49 zhang. The Tao gives birth to 50, but takes away one, making 49, leaving one hidden. This number aligns with the celestial truth. In an instant, ancient trees formed a canopy, shielding the sun, forming a marvelous sight at the back mountain, with an inexplicable aura that isolated it from the outside world. Everyone looked at it in disbelief. With the wave of his hand, ancient trees formed a forest. His words carried divine power. This was almost like the work of an immortal. They vaguely understood Ning Changge's intent. Using ancient trees as graves was far more profound than any human construction. One by one, they felt today's experiences were more wondrous than their entire lives combined. The Wudang disciples were awestruck. Song Yuanqiao bitterly smiled, realizing this divine power was 100 times more effective than his previous thoughts. Ning Changge looked satisfied at the ancient forest, or rather, the tomb for heaven men. He slowly said, "The tomb for heaven men will only bury the top heaven men. Others have no qualification to be buried here." With a wave of his hand, the relics left by the 3 heaven men experts on the sparring ground ascended with spiritual light, entering the tomb for heaven men. The bunch of sunflower needles merged with the first ancient tree, disappearing. Words began to appear on the ancient tree. Tomb of Dongfang Bubai, leader of the Sun-Moon Holy Cult. Below the name, smaller characters detailed his expertise and life events. As the last word appeared, the tomb was complete, emanating a strange aura. Yao Yue couldn't help but step forward, feeling Dongfang Bubai's ruthless sunflower needles flickering between the branches. Her beautiful eyes widened in shock, sensing the lingering will of a heaven man, before she could think further. The curved moon blade flew into the second ancient tree, merging. Tomb of Ding Peng, owner of the demonic blade at Curved Moon Manor, similar to Dongfang Bubai's. Zai Feng's eyes widened, seeing traces of the demonic blade intent within the green leaves of the ancient tree. The last one. The faint golden skeleton merged with the third ancient tree. Unknown monk of esoteric Buddhism. Words appeared. Tomb of the anonymous heaven man monk of esoteric Buddhism, with a blank space below. Everyone was silent, only faintly hearing Buddhist chants as the ancient tree swayed, the leaves seemingly glowing with gold. Finally, those who understood couldn't help but see the deeper meaning. Complex emotions filled their gazes, realizing the tomb for heaven men wasn't just for honor, but to encapsulate the path of these heaven men. This tomb for heaven men is meant to preserve the path of heaven men within Wudang. What grand gesture, what vision, what magnitude! Zhu Wuxi's voice was raspy with shock. A tomb typically symbolizes death, but Ning Changge used the vitality of the evergreen spiritual energy to create ancient trees as gravestones, combining life and death, yin and yang. This complex transformation would capture the paths of the buried heaven men. This revealed another reason for Ning Changge's establishment of the tomb for heaven men. It was to lay down Wudang's foundation. The Wudang Foundation. Ning Changge laughed freely, the green spiritual light swirling around his fingertips, slowly dissipating. The newly established tomb for heaven men seemed isolated, silently swaying with ancient trees stretching endlessly. Could Ning Changge intend to bury thousands of heaven men? The tomb for heaven men had already begun transforming, making it inaccessible to outsiders. Anyone daring to trespass would meet their end. Perhaps the tomb for heaven men would produce miracles beyond his imagination, becoming a true place for enlightenment. He turned to Wudang's disciples, smiling. In the future, any Wudang disciple reaching the level of Grandmaster can enter the tomb to seek enlightenment and comprehend the Tao. The Wudang disciples were thrilled beyond measure. Such prowess resembled the tales of immortals. By now, how could they not understand Ning Changge's good intentions? The paths of heaven men were precious, but they had the opportunity to approach them closely. The jealousy and envy from others were palpable. Emotions of gratitude overwhelmed the Wudang disciples, and they shouted in unison, "Thank you, little martial uncle, for the heritage." Song Yuanqiao and others smiled warmly, tears subtly glistening in their eyes. Never had they imagined such prosperity for Wudang. 9 years ago, the ethereal infant brought back by their master was heaven's gift to Wudang. They performed a half-bow, showing their respect to Ning Changge. Ning Changge smiled, his heart feeling equally joyful. This tomb for heaven men will be beneficial to martial arts and also to the immortal path I will pass on to my disciples. Establishing the tomb for heaven men fulfilled multiple purposes. His state of mind transformed, feeling the connection when the ancient trees formed the tomb. The insight guided him towards mastering the art of formations. By following this, he could potentially master formation arts. With this thought in mind, he felt a desire to return to the scripture pavilion for deeper study. On the sparring ground, everything was silent, with martial artists engulfed in shock, stupor, and various other emotions. Ning Changge's method of establishing the tomb for heaven men was truly astounding. Even the most experienced veterans of the martial world hadn't heard of such a profound concept. Previously, when they heard stories from Wudang disciples about the origin of Ning Changge's altar, they thought it was exaggerated. But now, no one thought that anymore. Compared to the marvel of the tomb for heaven men, the spiritual grass altar seemed insignificant. Little immortal. No, little true immortal's techniques are indeed peerless. Everyone looked at him with reverence and respect. Even a heaven man expert like Yao Yue felt no desire to challenge him. They were completely on a different level. For a moment, they even forgot their primary purpose for being there, destroying the dragon-slaying saber. Ning Changge chuckled. Everyone snapped out of their daze, hearing him speak casually. Everyone came today to destroy the dragon-slaying saber. Since my senior brother has already shown you the real saber, I shall proceed to refine it. Does anyone object? Does anyone wish to verify it further? Everyone shook their heads quickly. What a joke! After witnessing Wudang's profound foundation, who would think Wudang needed to covet a mere dragon-slaying saber? Destroying the saber was for the benefit of the martial world of the Ming dynasty. Otherwise, Wudang could have stayed out of it entirely. We trust little true immortal, everyone shouted in unison. At this point, destroying the saber was the least important task. They couldn't wait to spread the events at Wudang today, imagining the uproar it would cause. Ning Changge nodded slightly. Jin Ling stepped forward to present the saber. Just then, a resolute voice suddenly echoed. Wait! Everyone turned in surprise, wondering who would dare to stop Ning Changge from destroying the saber at this moment. Upon seeing who it was, their curiosity turned to confusion. It was Abbot Kongwen of the Ming Shaolin Temple. The monks behind Kongwen closed their eyes, chanting softly with sorrowful expressions. No one could understand. After witnessing Ning Changge's effortless defeat of heaven men, why would Kongwen, an ordinary grandmaster, dare to intervene? Kongwen's face was stern, suppressing his fear as he looked at Ning Changge, catching a hint of anticipation in Ning Changge's eyes. The fear intensified as he touched the item in his chest, gradually calming down. His raspy voice rang out, startling everyone with his first words. Only a few vaguely understood his intent. I do not intend to stop little true immortal from destroying the saber, Kongwen continued. Wudang's act of destroying the saber is righteous, for the martial world of Ming and its people, and I admire it from the bottom of my heart. However, as a monk of Shaolin, after decades of diligent practice of Buddhism, I realized that I have never truly entered the path, unable to let go of my inner obsession. His voice grew more passionate. Years ago, the 7 heroes of Wudang visited Shaolin, and pure yang true fire burned the golden bodies of my 3 senior uncles, forcing them into nirvana. Their century-long cultivation turned to nothing, and Shaolin's 1,000-year reputation tarnished. I cannot let it go. The karma of the past bears fruit in the present. I am here not to seize the saber, but to fulfill the karma. His words caused an uproar. Unimaginable that Kongwen would dare to challenge Ning Changge at this moment. Regardless of his hidden trump card, what would it change? Kongwen stepping up only meant one thing: he would perish at Wudang. The monks behind him displayed mournful expressions, some younger monks silently weeping, bowing their heads. Ning Changge studied Kongwen and said indifferently, Karma is endless. Today's karma is a result of the past, and today's actions will become karma for the future. If you cannot let go, be prepared to face the consequences. Facing Kongwen, Ning Changge gained further insights into karma. Kongwen, filled with righteous indignation, finally dared to meet Ning Changge's gaze, loudly declaring, Only death will suffice. If I do not enter hell, who will? Ning Changge shook his head, his expression cold. Not enough. After today, Shaolin of the Ming dynasty will be disbanded, its scriptures and treasures transferred to Wudang. Kongwen's demeanor changed drastically, looking at Ning Changge with fury. Does little true immortal truly intend to annihilate us completely? Ning Changge said. This is mercy, sparing only your life. Kongwen took deep breaths, finally regaining his resolve. In that case, let the battle decide, he shouted. Throwing off his monk's robe, golden light burst forth, illuminating the skies with the sound of loud Buddhist chants. As the golden light slowly faded, the martial artists eagerly looked on, seeing a relic embedded in Kongwen's chest, fused with his flesh. Yao Yue and others' expressions changed drastically, sensing an overwhelming aura from it, retreating in shock. A Buddhist relic, an earthly immortal.